Kai receives good news about the sprouting wheat and leaves, overwhelmed with impatience to prepare for the harvest. At home, several girls warmly welcome Kai and invite him to sit and join the dinner. Abyss nervously presents the dish she prepared with her own hands and looks hopefully to see if Kai will like it. Kai tastes the food, his eyes widen from the unexpected flavor. He enthusiastically praises Abyss, and the others smile contentedly. They excitedly look at their sturdy stone house and remember that just 3 months ago the island was empty. In his previous life, he loved creating quiet, cozy villages in his favorite pocket farming game. He was born weak, spent his whole life in the hospital, and quietly passed away before reaching 20. Lonely and bedridden, he found solace in the game, shaping an ideal world from his dreams. In his final moments, he quietly accepted death, surrounded by love and peaceful silence. His soul rose upward, regretting the past and quietly dreaming of a second chance in life. A small hand twitched on the cold stone floor. His new life was just beginning. Under foreign skies and among unfamiliar buildings, the reborn infant lay alone near the chapel on the riverbank. Waking up confused, he realized that this was not a hospital. His body was now that of an infant. Frightened, he crawled upwards, trying to get up, and with horror noticed another abandoned infant nearby on the street. He froze from the realization he himself was still just a baby, helpless to help another infant. A man in a robe approached and gently extended his hand, showing kindness, although he spoke in incomprehensible words. Though the language was unfamiliar, his warm smile in the quiet night inspired trust. When he was laid in bed next to the other infant, he joyfully understood that rebirth had truly happened. Striving to adapt, he decided to learn the language of this world, its customs and daily survival skills. Although his body was still young, he tirelessly copied unfamiliar symbols, determined to understand everything about this world. 2 years passed. The kind man adopted them and gave the children names, Kai and Rukia. Kai suddenly realized that the world was full of magic, unfamiliar powers, and possibly even gods. Rukia caught Kai daydreaming. He jumped in fright, and she jokingly threatened to report him again. Kai's adoptive father was a priest, and taught him that the god of this world was called Farley. There were 13 other gods. Some children were lucky to receive blessings, holy seals that granted them divine power, completely unlike destructive magic. Consecrated children receive holy seals at 12 years old and, until then, their true personalities remain completely unknown. Kai secretly came across a forbidden book. It contained a list of the names of gods known only to the high priest. Although Kai lived in comfort, he regretted not having magic. Fervently dreamed of powers to protect and help. Once he cried from disappointment, but Rukia's kindness warmed him and gave him the strength to smile again. Their playful swimming turned into chaos when Rukia suddenly joined and enthusiastically started washing everyone indiscriminately. Kai was rushing urgently to report. During their bathing on Rukia, a sacred seal appeared. Kai, looking at his chest, noticed that the same shining mark was beginning to appear on it. The priest nodded. The seal was genuine. Rukia smiled proudly, and Kai loudly celebrated their shared fate. The father hugged them tightly, overwhelmed with emotions, called them wonders, and sincerely thanked them. While the celebration continued, the priest interrogated Kai, suspecting that he had previously sneaked into the forbidden office. Now Kai began to call the names of the gods, but there was no response. Only silence. He thought thoughtfully, does his god belong to that mysterious triad hidden in the book? Rukia noticed his persistence, and Kai realized that she herself had not yet tried the names of spells. Kai gently asked if Rukia wanted to reveal her god earlier, and she smiled and agreed. Together they repeated several names from memory, hoping that finally one would evoke a response from the gods. When Rukia pronounced that name, divine energy burst from her chest and shone with bright light. In admiration, Rukia heard a voice. She was blessed by the idea, the god of truth. Kai asked her to use divine power to find out which god had blessed him. Activating her power, Rukia summoned the Eye of Truth, its gaze fixed directly on Kai. Rukia pronounced the name of the god Olamira. Kai froze. His connection with the god was just confirmed. Kai confirmed and enthusiastically praised Rukia's talent. While pondering Olamira, her name had never appeared in secret notes. Rukia admitted that she only understood the name, and Kai reminded himself to keep his reincarnation a secret. Kai felt that he had taken a step closer to becoming a blessed person. Glad Rukia's ability helped reveal the truth. He firmly decided to become a good son, dreaming that both of them would repay their adoptive father. Kai activated the power of Olamira, called upon his unique ability, and a village appeared on his palm, which came to life and began to rapidly expand. Kai stood before a wide fenced wasteland, amazed at how his new world was being born before him. He presented it as Tenohira Village, an incredible ability that gives full control over a fantasy world. Under the bright sun, the empty land stretched into infinity, and his divine gift was filled with unused potential. The interface in Japanese told about the state of the village and confirmed his power was created just for him. Kai realized this place was like a dream that grows stronger with each completed task. Under the sun, raising his hands high, Kai resolutely declared that he was starting to cultivate the land. Kai accidentally dropped a coin, greeted an elderly person, and then excitedly rushed through the crowded market. Returning home, Kai shouted Tenohira Village, and eagerly prepared to enter his mysterious new place. He pulled out the newly purchased tool, explained where he had put the money, and read what was needed to level up the village. Kai began to dig the earth, looking excitedly at the smooth soil in his personal world, gifted by God. Forgetting the seeds, Kai rushed back, recalling the divine rules governing the hidden forces of the village Tenohira. Kai sneaked into the nearby forest, gathering materials, but realized one field was not enough. While planting seedlings into the ground, Kai mentally reviewed the tree, stone, and fertile soil, everything needed for the village to grow. Immersed in development, Kai noticed how incredibly fast the crops grew thanks to the generous blessings of the gods. Kai anxiously tested whether people could be brought, but only objects passed through. Ruchin offered her support. Although Kai was wildly happy, there were limits. One could only stay briefly linger, and the gods' village would expel you. Days passed, and Kai noticed that the trees had already grown beyond the village boundary. This caused him anxiety. He surveyed the forest and worriedly wondered whether the divine changes were seeping beyond the village limits. Kai found the crops destroyed, dried up, and Dedi panicked because he could not understand this sudden devastation. Kai checked the soil and fertilizers, irritated that the plants were dying as if nothing was wrong, yet everything still died. He suddenly realized the truth. There were no clouds and no rain. This world was completely devoid of natural weather. Kai thought long about the weather problem. There was no natural rain, so he decided to summon it himself. He lit a controlled fire, hoping that the smoke and heat would affect the sky above them. Although he was not sure if it would work, Kai believed that smoke from the forest fire could make the sky send divine rain. Looking up, Kai reached out to something invisible, believing that his efforts would somehow resonate. Finally, the rain poured down. Kai, filled with joy, danced alone, celebrating the miracle he had caused himself. Kai returned home soaking wet and happily announced that the rain problem was solved, and his sister greeted him with a smile. With new ideas in his head, Kai imagined himself digging ditches to let full-flowing rivers run across the land. After a whole year of working in the field, Kai proudly admired the fertile field he had grown with his own hands. He harvested a huge crop and, rejoicing, celebrated his first harvest with increasing confidence. The system loudly announced success. The village level rose, the first harvest was gathered, and the cultivation rank changed to reclaimed land. Kai heard another divine voice. As the village fence widened, it was another step in the village's growth. Excited by the progress, he read the next goal: to raise the population to 10 to advance to the second level. Despite plans for the future, Kai relaxed, baked potatoes, and savored his first successful dish from his own harvest. Suddenly, a mysterious elf appeared before Kai, smiling kindly and radiating some incomprehensible purpose. She cautiously approached and handed Kai something in his hand. He took it, puzzled but intrigued by her. Kai curiously asked who she was, and she in bliss praised the taste of his dish. She introduced herself as Enal, a spirit helper, who watches over the village created by Kai and Will. Enel asked for more food from outside and promised happiness if Kai continued to supply resources to their private world. As a reward, Enal gave Kai a mysterious seed of creation only for use outside. Suddenly, primitive villagers appeared, barefoot and cautious, marking the beginning of Kai's plan to increase the population. Kai greeted the villagers, but they could not see Enal. She explained that he was like a god. Kai asked how to increase the population, and El answered simply, "Life must be made better, primarily by taking care of food." Kai chose hemp. It is versatile. From it, you can make food, clothing, and oil, and this is exactly what is needed for the growing village. He decided to bring river shrimp and fish to diversify their table, not just potatoes and beans. Thanks to Anal's help, cultivation flourished. Time passed, the villagers got used to it, and soon a solemn blessing ceremony was to take place. Rukia enthusiastically showed her outfit, while Kai jokingly worried that her zeal would attract insects. They discussed the blessing ritual. The awakening was connected with names, and very soon they would become disciples of the priests. Before entering the sacred hall, Rukia asked Kai to protect her. He promised he would do so. Inside, Kai prepared to remove the holy bandage that had concealed his mysterious seal for 10 years. When the cloth fell, the elders froze in shock, staring at the strange mark on Kai's chest. During the sacred ritual, the boy trembled, and the priest suddenly felt something here was dangerously wrong. The Inquisitor in a mask burst in unexpectedly, whispering to the senior priest and intently looking at the bewildered boy. The Inquisitor accused the boy of harboring an evil god, and his accusation stunned everyone present. Without any explanation, the temple guards cruelly seized the boy, forced him to be silent, and dragged him away. Locked in a cell, then thrown onto a ship, the boy realized he had been expelled. Bound and confused, the boy on the ship panicked, feared death, and thought about his family. Docking near a remote island, the sailors released him. 2 locals, without saying a word, extended a helping hand. They were fed and released. The boys came out stumbling only to see the ship already sailing away. Left alone, he stood silent on the ruined pier and silently watched the waves. Looking at the huge rocky island, he could not comprehend the absurdity of the situation suddenly imposed on him. Kai found himself on a deserted beach and confusedly wondered how to survive in this unfamiliar new world. Delving into the forest, Kai finds no peasants, only deaf silence and growling. Suddenly, a huge beast appears, and Kai is gripped by panic. He is completely unarmed and unable to resist it. The lion rushed into attack. Kai barely escaped. He rolled back down the slope near the trees. Exhausted and sweating, Kai is noticed by a concerned elf woman who offers him water. Kai explains that he is here only temporarily, and Nell suddenly realizes the situation is much more serious than she expected. Due to restrictions, Kai can only be out for 3 hours a day and then must wait a whole day. Without real weapons, Kai learns the bitter truth. In the village, there are only agricultural tools and no one knows how to hunt. They understand this cut-off world will give no help from outside, so Kai must risk everything to survive. Inspired by Enel's trust, Kai grabs a hoe, determined to protect everyone despite the gods' misunderstandings. Kai made sure the lion was gone and cautiously moved on, carrying only his farming tool. Suddenly, a terrifying giant boar emerges before Kai. Kai is frightened but grips the shovel and prepares to fight. Kai swings, but an invisible and mysterious force pushes him back, and suddenly someone intervenes with stunning strength. Kai, shocked, realized that a girl had saved him. People live here. The girl explains that monsters guard a great tree and warns Kai not to approach carelessly. Kai watches as the boar retreats. The girl disappears, leaving him alone with the unknown. He clenches his heart and thinks about how the monsters look at him, as if asking why he was abandoned on this lonely island. But as soon as he remembered his family, Kai became resolute. Now his only goal is to survive. Kai accepts his reality and decides to stay here until he finds a way out. Exhausted, he collapses to sleep near the tree root, while the morning light slowly rises. Kai wakes up cold. The night's chill pierces to the bone and makes him doubt whether he has enough resolve to survive here. Feeling danger, Kai immediately decides to build a shelter. Enel offers warmth and fresh water. Enel explains what simple materials are at hand, and although Kai has no tools, he can gather wood, ropes, and bark. Kai collects logs, lianas, and stone tools, unsure if this will be enough for construction. He begins to plan. With Enel nearby and new opportunities in the village, he prepares to build himself a refuge. Kai starts digging, though the ground is hard and stubborn. His goal is simple: to find a place to sleep. Calmly and persistently, Kai builds a shelter from logs and lianas, using primitive tools, fully focused and determined. Though simple in design, this hut does not let rain through. A warm fire now remains impossible. Kai again notices that mysterious girl watching him and recognizes her from a previous meeting. He asks why she ran away earlier. She is silent, hiding behind leaves, not knowing what to answer. Kai finished the shack and rested inside on a natural bed made of material that repels insects. Sun rays break through the roof. Kai lies calm and satisfied, proud of the shelter he built himself. Enel warmly greets him. Kai does not want to leave. His cozy bed comfort overwhelms him. Kai enjoys breakfast. The village is now flourishing. There is food, water, and fields. Now life is easier. He understands that he must grow food on the island in case teleportation ever stops working. Enel asks Kai to return with new discoveries. When he shares them, everyone on the island will only benefit. Kai agrees. Enel's optimism calms him. Her positivity helps him endure the difficult situation. Despite concerns for safety, Kai sincerely loves working in the field. Farming gives Kai a sense of purpose and helps him cope with survival risks. Kai finds mysteriously placed oranges nearby and wonders who could have brought them to his shelter. Kai suspects that the girl with horns might have helped, so he rushes after her, trying to catch up and speak before she runs away. Filled with gratitude and determination, Kai shouts thank you. He is firmly resolved to survive and thrive. Fleeing into the forest, the boy panics when a terrible monster rushes at him. The horned girl, accused and rejected, falls to the ground, full of guilt and sorrow. Later, the boy receives an unfamiliar fruit and hesitates with fear, whether it is safe or could be dangerous. He offers the fruit to his friends, worried not knowing its taste or if it will cause side effects. They try the fruit together and are amazed its deep bittersweet taste could help the whole village. They discussed planting the fruit and realized that the swift passage of time in the village would help it grow. The boy divided the duties. He entrusted one part to the bell and he himself tended this island. After a few days, he went out to the fields, inspected them, and prepared to plant the rest of the potato tubers. Noticing that fruits were being left every night, he finally caught that mysterious girl and sincerely thanked her. While eating, he noticed a lurking beast, and immediately they talked about needing to take up arms for protection. He suggested reproducing weapons as tools, but she reminded him, in this world there are no enemies. She jokingly proposed releasing monsters from the island onto the village, and he feared this would lead to total collapse. They agreed that weak weapons are useless, while nearby villagers in Kai were actively discussing work in the fields. She directly put him in his place for forgetting something important. holding before him a mysterious thing he could not even recognize. It was the seed of creation, incredibly powerful, and she now insists that it be planted immediately. He planted the seed, whispered a wish, and prayed that it would change their difficult situation. He pondered the role of the father, but resigned himself to the fact that hoping for rescue was in vain. Although he imagined various scenarios in his head, he cautiously extinguished hopes. Reality rarely matches what you desire or remember. Planning an escape route, he continued working, while nearby a horned girl silently watched. The next morning he woke up with a fever and exhausted, immediately realizing that something was very wrong. He understood this was not an endemic phenomenon but a simple cold. His only hope was his own immunity. Lying sick, he compared this discomfort with the familiar weakness of his previous life. Curled up in a ball in his wooden hideout, he shivered under the weight of the illness. Dark tentacles of cold and weakness entwined him, intensifying loneliness and a sense of vulnerability. The night dragged slowly. He lay unconscious, wrapped in silence under the moonlit sky. The girl with horns found him unconscious and asked herself if he was really going to die. Desperately wanting to help, she tightly embraced him, hoping that her warmth would revive his body. She held him close all night, frightened but resolutely not letting go. In his fading mind, he felt warmth, a sharp contrast to the cold penetrating his body. They lay pressed under the blanket, her body protecting him through that long cold night. They woke up together, relieved that he survived. She quietly whispered how sincerely glad she was. He thanked her, puzzled by the intense memories. She nervously asked if he was afraid of her. She equated herself to a terrible devil and wondered if her appearance scared others as much as it scared him. He smiled, gently reassured her, and called her sweet. She did not expect that at all. When she approached, he was overwhelmed by shame and panic. Their cultural and emotional differences simply overwhelmed him. She confessed that she had lived alone on the island all her life, born during blessing rituals. Previous children feared her. Some suffered attacks, others weakened, and eventually she was blamed and abandoned. The ghosts of past defeats haunted her, and she believed she deserved loneliness because she could neither protect nor help anyone. He reminded her that she saved him, cared for him, and was never truly alone. Reaching out warmly, he introduced himself as Kai and asked to be friends again. In a soft voice, she took his hand and whispered, "I am Abyss." Smiling sincerely, Abyss greeted Kai truly for the first time and called him her master. Kai, although surprised by such a title, still agreed. Abyss decisively declared, "Kai is my lord." Yuta slowly woke up in the tent, yawning, while the morning sun peeked through the fabric. Abyss jumped onto his bed without hesitation, said a mechanical good morning, gripping tightly. Worried about Yuta's health, Abyss began to ask questions and learned with relief that he had slept peacefully all night. Although she behaved strangely, Yuta accepted the Abyss. That day became the beginning of their shared life. Now working side by side, Abyss watered the plants, and Yuta reinforced the hut and fields. Abyss came across a strange sprout. You would worry about them, they had little food, and again only potatoes and beans. He explained that it was a mysterious seed, while Abyss hoped for meat and imagined the most fantastic possibilities. Days passed, the bud swelled unnaturally and grew rapidly, but no one knew what was hidden inside. Finally, from the soft earth silently crawled a creature with closed eyes and feline features. Stunned, they both screamed when realization dawned on them. What had grown turned out not to be food, but a living child who was breathing. Abyss suggested preparing this creature. Yuta panicked and refused to eat anything that even remotely resembled a living being. Despite doubts, they still started digging. Abyss became increasingly skeptical. Was it just a giant head? You would gently lift him. The creature turned out to be smaller than you expected, but clearly more than just food. He stared into her face, and suddenly the creature opened its eyes. Both instantly shuddered. To their surprise, the fruit started waving straight and cheerfully. They could not believe their eyes and wondered where it had come from. Yuta wondered, is the child connected to his ability? She reacted instinctively like a warrior. Although he doubted his strength, Yuta handed him a hoe to try to help restore the land. To their surprise, the tiny creature effortlessly swung a heavy iron hoe with incredible strength. It carved neat furrows in a matter of seconds. Abyss and Yuta realized they had gained unexpected power for tilling the land. Later, Yuta realized, this is probably a working creature, strong, obedient, and simply made for cultivation. Abyss suggested hunting monsters for food, but Yuta stopped her, warning about the dangers nearby. He appreciated her care, but felt anxiety. Fully relying on the Abyss for survival and safety was frightening. Yuta, full of determination, asked Abyss to teach him the monster hunting techniques she used to survive. The Abyss hesitated, then agreed. You promised to retreat if necessary, and the warrior was to accompany them. Ready for reconnaissance, the three set out cautiously. You swore to follow instructions and learn. Learn while wandering, Abyss warned Yuta, among poisonous plants and dark zones teeming with danger. Yuta noticed unfamiliar plants completely different from those near the Lapelda Kingdom. Abyss stayed alert nearby. Abyss quickly gathered materials, and Yuta admired her. She was skilled, confident, but sometimes reckless with dangerous ingredients. Yuta saw no monsters, Abyss explained that they avoid him unless provoked because he seems tasty to them. Yuta nervously confirmed her words. The Abyss and the warrior agreed yes, he does seem quite tasty. Just as Yuta was about to leave, Warrior Kun sensed danger and jumped up in alarm. Suddenly, a giant snake emerged. Abyss noticed it first and shouted to protect her master. Yuta returned to the village shaken. The villagers greeted him and carefully examined the harvest. Yuta laughed off after the meeting, but deep down guilt and fear were raging uncontrollably. Realizing that the heat had subsided, Yuta ran back himself, determined to protect Abyss at any cost. He begged you to return quickly, but no monsters were visible. Desperately, he shouted into the Abyss. To his relief, Abyss appeared unharmed, and she calmly assured him that the threat had passed. Yuta apologized for fleeing. Abyss held him tightly and whispered that everything would end if her master died. Ashamed, Yuta thought about his escape, though he was safe. It hurt him that he left Abyss in danger. He resolutely decided, to better protect her, he would find safer and smarter ways to gather resources. Yuta came to the only conclusion. They needed to strengthen the warrior Kun, make him their unshakable shield on the front line. To protect everyone and explore boldly, he lacked better tools and greater strength in battle. Suddenly, a huge beast burst out from under the ground. Yuta fell as the beast dragged him back. A huge bird monster appeared. You just froze in disbelief, realizing that you were no match for it. Abyss ordered Yuta to run, but he resisted this time. He resolutely decided to protect her. Yuta rushed towards the monstrous bird, covering Abyss while the bird screeched and lunged in attack. A huge bird monster landed heavily in front of them. The villagers froze and Abyss shouted to retreat. The monster suddenly lunged forward, swinging its claws. The hero barely dodged, protecting Abyss. The beast jumped back in despair after missing. It glanced downward, wings spread, and aggression only grew. They watched every movement of the creature closely. There was no strategy, only instinctive hostility and raw power. Realizing a plan was needed, he shouted Abyss and dashed to the nearest tree. When there was nowhere left to run, the main hero clenched his axe and prepared. He shouted to Warrior Kun to attack the monster's legs so it couldn't move immediately. Despite the danger, Warrior Kun charged straight in, striking the creature's paws with amazing speed and strength. The boy protected Abyss, calming others and standing between the monster's claws and their escape. They executed the plan, stole the monster for a moment, and retreated together as soon as Abyss was safe. While the villager roasted sweet potato, the boy ran in, shouting about urgent fire support. He placed a sack of yams and tools before them and asked them to make sharpened wooden spears. Holding a burning torch in his hand, he resolutely explained that the materials were needed immediately to exterminate the monsters. He thanked the elf, confident in his plan. Armed with fire, he left the village. The villagers instantly rushed to help, carrying provisions. He dashed to the place where the monster was lurking, ready to fight again. Throwing himself forward, the boy struck the monster's feathers with the torch and instantly burned them in mid-flight. He received another burning spear, dodged the claws, and immediately threw it straight at the monster's legs. Warrior Kun will sneak up from behind while the boy shouts the next strike, distracting the enemy. Fueled by team strength and gratitude, he vowed never to fight alone again. The attack continued. With renewed determination, he struck for the fourth time, aiming directly at the monster's burning weak spot. The monster jumped into the air, spreading its claws. The boy tensed, waiting for another sudden strike. Flames flared on its feathers, causing the beast to wildly thrash and scream in pain in the air. The boys exploded with joy. The strike succeeded, and the warrior Kun returned. Their joint efforts finally bore fruit. Abyss did not run away. She silently watched, surprised that they stood against the mighty magical creature. Despite the burn, the monsters were still roaring, so they decided to flee before it fully recovered. The scorched monster was approaching nearby, and Abyss blamed herself. She had exposed the master during the clash. When the power surged behind her back, Abyss turned away and quietly asked not to be hated. A magical abyss hovered in the air, radiating power. With unwavering determination, it prepared its final devastating strike. From her palm burst a huge flash of lightning that struck the monster's face with stunning force. Smoke rose from its wounds and the monster collapsed, while Abyss stood calmly as silence returned. After the battle, they learned that Abyss had an inherited magical power, an ancient legacy called Wizard. The boy enthusiastically declared that Abyss was a sorceress, but she modestly and immediately refused this title. Insecure and with a trembling voice, Abyss begged Kai not to hate her despite her unknown origin. Kai gently replied, accepted her unconditionally, and asked her to stay close. They learned that Abyss was a magical battle doll, created in the likeness of a mighty wizard from ancient times. Abyss quietly called her true name Replicant Abyss, a name connected to her artificial origin. But she explained that her body is similar to a human's, yet unnaturally constructed to endure endless magical life. Although she was created over 1,000 years ago, she awakened only 58 years ago. Kai calmly understood that her appearance, abilities, and behavior corresponded to remnants of technology from an ancient magical civilization. Ashamed, Abyss confessed that she is not human, because her horned figure, as she thought, resembles a demon. Kai gently took Abyss's hands and sincerely thanked her for her trust for revealing her true self to him. He called her beautiful and vowed to protect her, because she was the one who saved his life. Kaisa perceived Abyss's presence as a blessing, and joyfully called her an incredible reward of fate. Abyss finally opened up. She is afraid of loneliness and does not know how to live alone. With tears in her eyes smiling, she chose Kai as her master and decided to live with him from now on. He learns that Abyss is a combat doll, doomed not to live freely and not to have her own choice. Recalling his past, he asks himself, is it not too late to offer her another path? The Abyss kneels down and begs him to become its master, seeking acceptance and purpose in his guidance. Embracing it, he suddenly realizes the values from his past life now guide every decision he makes in this world. Thanks to past experience, he understands Abyss and does not push it away out of fear. He boldly says that Abyss is his, believing that it will find its meaning through experience and learning. They agree to live together in peace until Abyss finds its path, and a strong bond weaves between them. Alone, he wonders if he sounded too confident when he uttered his emotional confession. Abyss defeats a giant bird using magic. The group discusses whether to bring it to the village. A child in a red hood falls, and the boy panics. He thinks the spirit of the warrior has died. They decide to ask Enel for help. He rushes through a portal carrying parts of the monster. A mysterious hand appears under fanfare. Something unexpected is about to happen. An announcement or an award presentation. I will approach and sincerely congratulate him. The bird marks their 5th milestone, unveiling village updates and new crafting opportunities. The village has risen to the 5th level. The guest system has opened. And this is a bright confirmation of a great leap in development. Enel explains how newcomers can now enter, and the state of the warriors again causes panic for a moment. They decide to celebrate the level up. The boy prepares to explain everything to Abyss. Abyss learns that the warrior will be able to recover. She softens, finally feeling relief from this good news. They actively discuss blessings and gods. The Abyss reveals ancient knowledge. Blessings disappeared over 1,000 years ago. When his power grew, the boy excitedly calls Abyss to visit his growing village. Abyss enthusiastically agrees. They hold hands and teleport together, and thus begins her first journey beyond imprisonment. They arrive. Abyss silently gazes at the village Tenohira, impressed by its quiet beauty and modest houses. She feels colossal magic. The Abyss trembles. She suddenly realizes something profound. The essence of her master strongly lingers here. Kai panics as the Abyss collapses, and Elle explains that this world does not accept everyone equally even her. Kai stands by the unconscious Abyss and worries. Everyone silently hopes she will recover from the magical shock. Suddenly, Abyss comes to life and stands up. Magic pulses within her and Kai involuntarily catches her. She explains that she moves exclusively thanks to magic, and in this world there is nothing that nourishes it. Abyss calmly says that she is not dead, just holding on with magic. Kai held his breath and wondered how her condition could be so strangely technical. Understanding something new, Kai exclaims with excitement as if struck by an idea or having just discovered something about the Abyss. Kai joyfully celebrates. After many simple meals, he finally tastes a real hot meat dish. He feasts on the monster's meat, praising it for the salty seasoning from seawater and Enel's skill. Kai extends the Abyss, but she only watches, moved by his sincere delight. 3 months past. Quiet bonfire counts the time, and life on the island silently continues. Abyss senses danger and releases magic to protect Kaya. He says he is fine and fully trusts her power. Abyss studies the island's map and discovers that it has the shape of a gorge and where a large tree stands. She recalls seeing strange green fruits. The group finds an unusual tree and examines it closely. Kai recognized that this was an olive tree. He suggested planting it to improve their oil supplies. Now they grow mandarins and bananas. Banana leaves are a real find. Food is cooked in them and roofs are covered with them. Thigh do not let water through. Kai suspects that these fruits are an ancient import and is already imagining a plan to recreate the ocean from everything at hand. Kai explains his dream with a passionate voice to one day escape, hoping to build boats and develop the village. He strives to let his relatives know that he is alive, but surveillance complicates returning home. Kai remembers his father and sister. Abyss quietly listens as he includes her without hesitation. Kai firmly says that Abyss is also family, and she quietly repeats this word, touched by his acknowledgement. Abyss, overwhelmed with emotions, hugs Kai tightly, but Kai panics. He feels that the chasm between civilizations is still vast. Kai returned home and was immersed in a warm welcome. Energetic villagers in red hoods greeted him amicably. He reports that as the village grew, new seeds appeared. One of them turned into a creature resembling a dwarf warrior. Kai thinks about what has been done and about his limits and suddenly realizes, for a ship to withstand the sea, iron and good preparation are needed. Although grateful for the help, Kai honestly admits, more hands are needed, so he plans to consult with NL. Kai, with a sly smile, asks for more seeds, insisting that they find a way to help. Over food, the village leader talks about her priorities. She supports the development of animal husbandry to guarantee a sustainable future for the community. She is convinced that horses or cows are best suited for work. Kai agrees but wants the animals to be more tame. Kai is burning with curiosity about the northern creatures and decides to set off to explore them and find out if they can be tamed. Having made sure everyone is safe, he resolutely declared, "I am heading to the northern island and will prepare." The team raised their hands together. Their next mission begins, to find livestock that can be bred on the farm. They crossed the center of the island, leading the group to scout a possible base location in the north. She was happy to be traveling with him. Her mood was light despite the numerous dangers of the island. They studied the map intently and discussed lively how magical obstacles changed the behavior of monsters in the north. Although the threats had lessened, moving would mean losing natural protection, and he realized that moving north would not be easy. On the open plains, they saw wild buffalo, valuable livestock, but attempting to tame them could threaten their safety. Abyss, although feeling unwell, still tried to cast a spell and hoped that stunning one beast would be enough. She struck the buffalo with lightning, and they feared the blow might have been fatal. The group approached cautiously, but the surrounding buffalo became hostile and were already preparing to charge without hesitation. One buffalo fiercely charged at them, causing Abyss to throw himself in front of the boy to shield him from the attack. While Abyss ordered the boy to retreat, he was rapidly casting spells, trying to disable the entire herd. Abyss struggled, trying to control her magic, while the pressure of the buffalo grew around her. In the air, she released a double fire burst. Explosive magic knocked back several charging buffalo. Despite her attacks, the herd charged again. She staggered, stunned, and he shouted anxiously. Grabbing Abyss's hand, he summoned a mysterious power and directly made a magical contract with the buffalo. He explained that she absorbs wild magic through breathing. If she restrains it, she will remain resilient. After a tense confrontation, Abyss caught her breath, and the group, exchanging glances, confirmed that everyone survived. They carefully examined the stunned buffalo. He decided to take one back, glad that it survived unharmed. Having completed the quest, they were sincerely praised and given livestock, 1 male and 4 females, so the village could farm steadily. Planning future growth, he imagined how livestock farming for meat, leather, and milk would expand throughout the settlement. When spring came, he thoughtfully recalled how far he had come through harsh seasons since arriving on the island. During the harvest, the team worked tirelessly, gathering the fruits and sincerely thanking for the season's generous yield. When it got colder, preparations began. Magic and warmth became a shield against the growing seasonal threats. Winter came fiercely, but the snow did not stop them. They continued building and living daily life inside their sturdy homes. Returning from work, he was greeted by warmth from the Abyss, now in winter clothing. Dressed in fur garments made from tanned monster hide, he enthusiastically claimed they were much warmer than hemp ones. With a glow in his voice, he told how he learned to tan hides, and in the cozy hut they sat close and shared warmth. With the support of the warriors, the construction quickly came to an end. He looked at the ceiling with admiration, grateful for the teamwork and strong shelter. Despite the thick furs, the cold only intensified, and he increasingly feared whether they would survive the harsh winter on the island. Feeling his fear, Abyss sat closer, silently supporting him while he held the warm cup. They shared gratitude, and despite the cold, both felt safe because they knew now they were there for each other. Exhausted but satisfied, they rested side by side, surrounded by warmth and loyal friends. The village prospered peacefully. People prepared food, chatted, and lived simply under the clear winter sky. A new group approached the village with goods and livestock. Their growing settlement had noticeably strengthened. He recalled the year that had passed, full of challenges, growth, and seasons, sometimes harsh, sometimes gentle. Suddenly, a bright glow spread around him. He rose to the level. Progress in the role of village head completed. Reaching level 10, he received a wooden stake and new opportunities to expand the village. She explained that this stake allows travel in the desired direction if inserted. The village barriers open permanent exits. He admired the potential, calling it a distortion point that connects distant places even across oceans. He stuck the stake into the fertile soil, hoping for a result. Working the land now brought him true satisfaction. After a few days, animal ears grew from the ground. Everyone froze in confusion, not understanding what had appeared. They cautiously examined what was sprouting. Abyss tore it off without any hesitation or fear. Suddenly, a girl with fox ears jumped out of the ground, and her sudden appearance shocked them. She proudly exclaimed that she was a powerful fire sorceress and introduced herself in an energetic, striking pose. The group froze in stunned silence. Her eccentric behavior and unexpected magical announcement impressed them. From the sky appears a powerful girl with fox ears. She was given by a high-level magical reward. Curious and energetic, she asks for a cute little name for herself and impresses everyone with her courage. Kai reflects on naming customs, recalling how people once mispronounced his name in this world. Kai calls her Ren and solemnly names himself Abyss. A new, tightly bonded group is born between them. With joy and excitement, Ren hugs them tightly, thus officially beginning their shared life anew. A terrifying magical beast appeared, but Ren calmly stepped forward and declared that this fight was hers. Focused and precise, Ren channels powerful fire magic through her fingers, preparing a destructive fire spell. Ren releases a powerful whirlwind of flames that stuns her allies and instantly vaporizes the enemy. Kai and Abyss are stunned by the consequences, unsure if what they saw was real magic. They realize that Ren's magic does not draw local mana. Her power seems to defy the very laws of this world. While Ren and Abyss guarded the outskirts, the monsters were driven away and peace returned to Tenohira once again. Kai honors the hunted beast, and the villagers joyfully celebrate the new gifts of the sea. The sea has finally appeared. Without ships, they are forced to fish only near shore. Kai instructs an L to prepare building materials. Resolutely determined to set out, Kai oversees the construction of the raft and announces their plan to move forward. Kai announces that he is setting out to travel the world, hoping to share it with Abyss. Finally, the raft is ready, and everyone gathers with excitement as Kai prepares to leave the island. Using ancient knowledge, Kai draws a map, hoping to reach a distant land to the southwest. Supplies gathered, Plan B at hand. They embrace uncertainty and prepare to depart. Before leaving, Abyss feels something strange. She silently walks away and Kai immediately follows her. Standing on a cliff, Abyss sees a mysterious ship appear. Kai freezes in shock. Kai instantly recognized the approaching Sheepa caravel, and the emblem on it clearly indicated a temple. He suspects it is not a rescue but something sinister, so he quickly hides their raft and watches cautiously. Abyss worries about her departure and Kai is silent, pondering what decision to make. Kai gently reassures her and decides to go scout alone, while Abyss and Ren remain hidden. Sheltered in the shadow of trees, Kai carefully notices movement on the Persomion. Unknown is landing ashore. A figure in a cloak led a young girl to the shore and placed magical shackles on her confused body. Kai froze in shock, quietly ordering his comrades to hide and intently stared at the mysterious newcomer. When the ship sailed away, the girl woke up on the pier alone, frightened and bewildered. Kai gently greets her, comforts her, and prepares to explain everything to earn her trust. The little girl Katie quietly cries, and Kai tells her that she will temporarily live safely on the island. Keed realizes she cannot return home. She tries to respond but slips and clumsily falls. Wet and embarrassed, Kai says that returning now is impossible but promises to help her someday. Ren bursts in angrily, threatening Keed's doll, and Kai rushes to stop her, sternly demanding that she retreat immediately. When the temple began expelling the children, Kai halted their escape plan and directly asked Ren what her intentions were. Kai swears to save all the abandoned children. Abyss, smiling, knew he would never abandon the defenseless. Keed recalls her native Godii and remains confused herself where it is on the map and what the politics there are. Kai, with a sparkle in his eyes, tells about how the temple influences the whole world and offers Kaite to complete the interrupted blessing ceremony on the island. Keed admits that she received power from an evil god, but she herself is not sure if it is truly acceptable here. Kai reassures her, it is your choice. Blessings depend on who uses them, not on religious interpretations or fear. The dwarf peeked out of the hut. Kai confirmed that he is part of the blessing of Kai's day and is probably called to protect. Kai offers to revive the abandoned field. One day Kai wonders if he ever feels lonely when working alone. Abyss explains that Kai has a family he misses, and although he is full of hope, he hides his pain behind hard work. Kite silently watches, whispers about parents, and suddenly realizes she herself is deeply waiting inside. Kaide performs a rare blessing ceremony, whispers the name of God, and Kaide watches it with obvious approval. She eagerly asks to test her new power. Kai smiles warmly and allows it. Keed awakens her divine power, temporary life, and brightly illuminates the plush animals. Suddenly, the plush bunny and kitten came to life. They moved and spoke, and everyone shuddered with amazement because they looked full of anxiety. Keed explains that her blessing is different from others. The revived dolls now act independently and communicate clearly. Seeing how useful she is, the leader enthusiastically praises Kaide. She confidently promises to help with the settlement's daily affairs. 3 peaceful months pass. Kaide integrates into the island's life, and through joint work becomes closer to everyone. Time passed calmly, and the group grew closer through shared meals, laughter, and tasks on the island. Keed stayed with Ren, guarding the house while the others prepared for the risky journey. Abyss and the main heroes set off on a wooden raft, and together sailed to an unknown coastal city. Thanks to Abyss's GPS magic, the group rushes across the open sea, breaking away from the remote island. Kite is exhausted and falls behind, while the others rush forward, relying on their decision and the map's hints. Arguments erupt. The raft cannot hold everyone, and Kite is entrusted to guard the village. Ren, though reluctantly, is chosen to stay. Abyss is needed for navigation, so there is no other choice. Returning to land, Ren helps Kite with household chores and without any complaints integrates into the peaceful daily life. Although food supplies remain, Ren doubts, is all this work really necessary now? Kaida reminds her that in trouble one must be prepared, and we must maintain independence from other villages. Kaida skillfully distributes roles and organizes helpers, and Ren reluctantly joins the team fetching water. Bored and disappointed, Ren thoughtfully recalls her dreams of fun that never came true. Although she is filled with disappointment, Ren still stands up to defend the island and supports everyone who remained. While doing house chores, Ren quietly thinks, when will their master return to the island again? A sudden sound from above grabs Ren's attention. Her ears twitch, she senses something unusual nearby. Kite lures the suspicious creature into a trap it falls, confirming her assumption. It could not move. Rumors about fierce beasts that once lived here rage in memory. Perhaps some of them survived and still hide unnoticed. Keed cautiously surveys the rocky area. Although everyone says it is safe here, something disturbing stirs among the rocks. Keed feels someone's presence, her eyes widen with fear. She freezes, clutching her plush friend. Suddenly, a monstrous bird descends. Kite tightly presses the plush toy, preparing for an attack. From the raft, Abyss hears Kite's distant scream and immediately activates wind magic toward the island. Thanks to the wind spell, Abyss's group breaks free from the current. She creatively uses supportive magic. Lucas admits that in battle Ren is much stronger than him, and despite how everything seems, he understands. Her value exceeds even his own. Ren arrives on time, and with an explosive strike in the air knocks down the beast before it can harm Kide. With precise spells and instant strikes, Ren eliminates the threat. Her instincts are hardened by survival. Ren proudly calls herself Kide's protector. Kide sits safely, overwhelmed with emotions but feeling relief after her rescue. Kite burst into tears. Ren hugged her and promised to always be near and protect her. On Ren's back, Kite apologizes and regrets not trying harder to protect herself earlier. Returning home, Keed quietly asks herself if their brother will ever come back. The thought that she will never see him again shakes Kaida and awakens a fear she cannot ignore. Tears welled up in Ren. She does not want to imagine being abandoned and forgotten forever. Keed realizes her words hurt Ren. She sincerely apologizes and, full of regret, does not know how to comfort her. Keed hugs her. She gently soothes Ren. He will return and soon everything will be fine. Under the evening sky, Kaida and Ren promise to wait until their brother returns. Later that night, a strange rustling woke Kaida, and Ren something was moving behind the walls of their quiet refuge. Kite cautiously peeks outside and sees warrior-kun figures silently gathering in the moonlit forest. With relief, the girls see that those creatures are completely harmless. They happily dig under the glow of two shining moons. Ren explains that they reproduce naturally, and Keed watches with curiosity, still unsure whether it is magic or some kind of ritual. After a few days, even more warrior-kuns appeared, and Ren explains. They multiplied thanks to seeds given by their lord. The more there were, Ren said she felt less lonely, but it was hard for her to admit it openly. Keed tightly hugs warrior-kun and promises their brother that they will all wait together for his safe return. A distant island emerges on the horizon, Lucas, and the group finally spot land after a long sea voyage. Although sore from the journey, Lucas, using the topographic map of Abyss, confirms that their course was accurate. Lucas realizes that teleporting in the middle of sailing is too risky, so he decides to temporarily dock his raft. They finally land on the shore. Lucas asks Abyss to find a nearby river, hoping to come across signs of civilization. Abyss says the road will take 3 days, but Lucas insists they hurry. Cade and the others are waiting at home. Lucas urges the group to speed up. Everyone agrees, and together they head inland. Before entering the village, the main hero hurriedly pulls a hood over Abyss to hide her horns. Abyss confidently poses in hooded clothing, and the main hero admiringly praises her appearance before they set off on a journey in an ox cart. They calmly travel through rural expanses in a wooden cart drawn by 2 powerful buffaloes. Abyss catches voices nearby and hesitates. Should she approach the strangers to learn more about the area? During the investigation, they see a tied-up girl fleeing from kidnappers. Trying to escape, she stumbles and falls. The slave traders catch up and seize the fleeing girl again, mocking her resistance. They have no intention of sparing her. One thug angrily grabs her by the hair. Another warns him not to spoil their merchandise before the sale. Hiding nearby, 2 hesitate whether to intervene, and seeing the girl's condition, the hero urges Abyss to act. Abyss attacks with lightning. Magicone slave trader is instantly struck by electricity. The others freeze in fear and confusion. While Abyss relentlessly casts spells, the enemies fall one by one, and the girl stands in awe, shocked by the sudden rescue. The rescued girl doubts this magic, and Kai, sensing the tension, apologizes and gently soothes her. Kai introduces himself as a merchant, and with a smile explains that the magic was cast by his companion Abyss. The girl introduces herself as Sarah Bianchi and reveals nothing except what is visible on the outside. Sarah hints the merchants expect the return of money. Kai's vague answer leaves her doubtful whether he wants compensation. Kai asks instead for a local guide, and Sarah agrees to help. She is intrigued by his casual generosity. Sarah froze upon hearing Scorpu and hesitates. Is it worth risking again and returning to the town? She recalls her narrow escape and doubts whether it is safe for her to be a guide now. Despite doubts, Sarah agrees her conscience does not allow her to refuse the polite request of the merchant. Sarah admits that she fled alone but still has unfinished business, and calls their meeting a joke of fate. After asking for a scarf, Sarah hid her collar. Kai suspects it might reveal something from her past. Kai carefully examines the equipment of their attacker. Sarah recognizes them as mercenaries from a trading company. Stunned by the rare equipment, Kai decides to take everything to Tenohira for a closer look. He ties the men to trees so they cannot immediately chase after the group. During another journey, Sarah explains why it is restless here. Empires constantly change and port towns constantly have problems with mercenaries. Finally, they arrive at Scorpu, a bustling port town, and Kai asks Sarah what her next step is. Kai treats the group to a hot meal, delighted at the thought of tasting city food again. Kai savors and celebrates the return to civilization, while Sarah and Abbas quietly observe his reaction. As they survey the city, one of them nervously looks around it. Is her first visit to any city. Kai hesitates whether to stop for shopping before the journey home but feels magic does not work in the crowd. After calculating expenses, Kai boldly agrees to open a food stall at the busy, crowded market. Kai asks Sarah about her future, and she says she would like to stay by his side longer. Kai guesses that the one who called is just decorative, and Sarah laughs as if saying he looks noble, though he knows almost nothing. Sarah reveals the collar is a magical shackle that suppresses a sorcerer's abilities. She explains that enslaved sorcerers are sold for huge sums. Blood magic makes them a coveted commodity among aristocratic circles. Sarah apologizes for the hidden truth, and Kai suddenly realizes this world is much more dangerous than he imagined. Sarah suspects that Kai is from a wealthy house. She notices the silence and loyalty to Abbas. Abbas says that her loyalty is voluntary, and this makes Sarah wonder if Abbas's own feelings are already suppressed. Sarah says that the collar is unremovable. It was created by a blessed person with mysterious divine powers. Kai suggests escaping by boat, and Sarah, though hesitant, agrees, not entirely sure but ready to go with him. Kai promises to continue helping her, even to remove that collar. Sarah accepts his support with gratitude. Sarah feels that time is very short and is no longer sure if she can trust Kai now. Kai hands her a disguise and suggests changing her appearance for a while, so as not to arouse suspicion or expose herself to danger. Sarah, in a hood with cat ears, blushes deeply, and Kai jokingly asks her to behave like a bis. Merchants compete for the goods, shouting higher and higher offers. Demand suddenly overflows the small stall. Locals quickly gather. They are attracted by the sweet fruits and calm livestock, asking to buy in bulk without hesitation. The crowd erupts with excitement, and three bustle to serve everyone, shocked by the stunning success. Later in the tavern, they count the huge profit. The gold is enough to buy an old estate. The leader explains the value of the goods. They are rare, pest-free, and grown on a secluded island. When the profit is in the pocket, they write out all the essentials: materials, livestock, grain, and vital knowledge for production. In the tavern, they once again confirmed their plan and anxiously recalled the allies they had to leave behind. The boy offers Sarah shelter on their island and assures her that, although it is remote, it is safe there. Sarah, silently grateful, doubts their trust in her since they know nothing about who she is. He gently extends money for comfort, showing kindness without judgment, and quietly trust begins to grow between them. They watch silently. Tension rises because Sarah is about to reveal her mysterious, hidden past. Moved by their kindness, Sarah decides to trust and begins to reveal her true past and intentions. She admits that she comes from the noble Mondial, and he freezes, pretending to know that name. Sarah explains that during the fall of Mondial she served as a court sorceress and protected a fleeing princess. Bandits set an ambush for their escort. Now the bandits see them as either valuable hostages or easy prey. Confident in their own strength, the princess's guards rushed at the bandits without fear or hesitation. Suddenly, a fire spell bursts from the enemy, and it turns out that one of them is a mage. Sarah breaks through the flames, launching a counterattack with unstoppable speed and magical power. During their clash, a terrible weakness is revealed. Her magic is instantly erased by the enemy's mysterious power. While Sarah fights, another bandit grabs the young princess, and the tide of the battle instantly turns in their favor. In captivity and helpless, Sarah demanded the release of the princess, but the slavers only mocked her despair. Sarah explained that she was sold separately. She escaped captivity and during her flight encountered others. Overwhelmed with emotions, Sarah falls and implores them to save Princess Yuri Cecil before it becomes too late. Kai froze in place, unsure if he could handle it, but learned that the kidnappers were not official soldiers of the Empire. Sarah loudly says that she will give a huge amount of money to ransom the imprisoned princess. Sarah insists that she be sold, claiming that her magical status will bring an even higher price. She begs him use this money to save the princess and her companions as well. Magical lineage attracts nobles. Sarah's sale may tempt buyers to ignore rules for their own status. Kai quietly nods. The logic makes sense and he understands. Sarah's offer may be their only way out. He tests her trust by asking what she will do if he betrays her and takes everything. Kurai assures her that he will not let her down, but her proposal still weighs on his heart. Sarah insists that she fully trusts him, even though they have just met. This both pleases and worries Kai. Kai recalls all the good deeds he has received and realizes he cannot abandon a person with such a pure, sincere heart. He agrees to help but sets two conditions. The first, to believe in him unconditionally no matter what happens. Here appears the second condition: Sarah must take off her cloak to show what she is hiding. Sarah froze at the sight of Abyss. Her horns immediately suggested that she was a demon. Demons are terrifying mythical creatures. They are feared and called evil, although many associate them with divine legends. Kai worries that Sarah might panic, but instead she rejects the idea that Abyss could be evil or dangerous. Relieved by Sarah's agreement, Kai sincerely thanked her and ended the night by comforting her with warm words. When asked again, Kai confidently promised he would save the princess at any cost. Suddenly Abyss felt heat and persistently asked Kai to lie down next to her, leaving him puzzled. She is confident that a shared dream will heal her, so Kai is overwhelmed with panic and cannot believe it. Kai tries to stop her, but Abyss's enthusiasm knocks him onto the bed. She tearfully asks if he does not love her, because she misinterprets his hesitation as a rejection of her feelings. Kai nervously fusses, blurts out excuses, and then realizes he is too young to handle this situation properly. A mysterious girl with horns appears, and her demonic appearance sows confusion and fear among the villagers. Rumors about demons haunt people's hearts, and the appearance of the Abyss challenges their ancient myths and beliefs. Worried about cooperation, they argue about Abyss's appearance. Her beauty makes them doubt old prejudices. The boy gently calms Abyss and invites everyone to rest tonight. He prioritizes harmony and emotional safety. When asked if he will help, he firmly promises to save her. Confidence and quiet leadership are felt in his voice. Sarah tells him she is not afraid of slavery. What scares her is something else, that the princess will suffer much more. She asks them to befriend Uria and rely on her care since the principality is already destroyed. The boy watched her sleep and suddenly realized, although her situation is desperate, she is honest, kind, and selfless. He silently promised to save those like her people who suffer and never ask for help. He rummaged through the noisy bazaar in search of ores, but no seller had any. Sarah, confused by the local materials, did not offer any help, so they decided to buy simple iron tools. He postponed rescuing the princess, putting supplies above all else. He encouraged Abyss to say aloud what she needed. They wandered among the tents, bought vegetables, masks, and livestock, and from what they found at hand, instantly devised a plan. Although the prices were exorbitant, they bought dogs, goats, and chickens. There were no horses or pigs. They reviewed their loot tools, harvest, oils, cotton, and sugar, but still lacked supplies. Kai asked Sarah to wait, and he went to unload their heavy cargo. Kai asked Abyss to stay in place, and he carefully led the cart through the alley. He returned to the village, and a girl, burning with curiosity and wanting to know how their trading trip ended, greeted him. Pleased, armed with the results, he presented the new animals, simultaneously calming his dizzy companion. Exhausted from fatigue and on the verge of fainting, Sarah sat alone nearby, and Kai later planned how to distribute the resources. Kai returned in a mask. Sarah panicked, but sighed with relief when he assured her of his loyalty. Sarah confessed that when she was alone, she felt weak. Next to Kai, she found the strength to move him. Kai asked for directions to the princess. Sarah revealed her location. She was inside a trading company. Inside the building, a mysterious woman gently combed the princess's hair, unaware of the rescue attempt. The trader coldly greeted the princess, seeing her only as valuable merchandise without any freedom. He warned her that her wizard had abandoned her, and others would not be kind to her either. He insisted that her fate in the hands of slave traders or soldiers would be even worse, like flowers crushed underfoot. He mocked her imprisonment, saying that a fallen princess should only be in a beautiful locked cage. Suddenly, magical power shot from her body, sharply throwing both captors across the room. The princess instantly raised a transparent barrier, and the man sharply demanded that she immediately remove her magical protection. Irritated, he burst out shouting. A warrior named Fazil arrived and with obvious mockery commented on his boss's disgraceful behavior. Fazil confirmed that no attack would break through the barrier. The boss ordered him to get rid of her. They loudly argued about past failures. Despite the mistakes, Fazil assured that her strength did not allow her to flee. The boss warned about the inadmissibility of failure. Fazil agreed with a self-satisfied smile, but tension grew due to their old battle exploits. Fazil accepted the order to appear later and warned the princess that her struggle would only worsen. The princess again withdrew into herself and summoned a protective barrier, while the maid looked at her puzzled. Kai in disguise appeared near the company building, confidently preparing to carry out his plan. Sarah was puzzled, but Kai stubbornly insisted that he had a plan and began to pretend to be noble. Resolutely, Kai opened the door, fully transforming into an arrogant upper-class aristocrat. Kai entered confidently, called the owner, and announced that he was going to make a big purchase. The host warmly welcomed the group, completely unaware that deception was unfolding right before his eyes. Kai transformed into a king under a mask, introduced himself to Mylene, and did not even suspect that Kai was manipulating the situation. Sarah and Abbas quickly staged a dramatic return, as if they had brought back a captured fugitive. Mylene fell for that performance, and Kai began demanding a reward for safely returning the slave mage. Kai insisted on compensation. Mylene questioned his motives, but Kai cunningly shifted the conversation to the prices of mages. Kai lied. Supposedly she begged him to resell her and give the money to someday free the princess. He pretended to be impressed by her devotion, saying such sincerity gave him the right to demand a decent payment in return. Sarah, in tears, reminded him of the promise she doubted there would be enough money to carry out the plan. Kai quietly assured her that his intention had not changed. He definitely intended to buy and save her. Kai quietly whispered that he was not short of money, he just wanted to better deceive Mylene. He presented the situation as a benefit for all, covering up Sarah's collapse and her emotional breakdown. Kai asked to be told where the princess was. Mylene agreed and allowed Sarah to meet her before the final sale. Kai subtly flattered Mylene with her own cruelty, and she, although knowing the reunion would be emotionally painful, still agreed. Mylene boasted about the soldiers' failures in the slave sources, and Kai inquired, and it turned out they were located in another room. The disguised trader mockingly sneers, hinting at the value of the mage while the girl trembles. He says that she voluntarily agreed to the sale because she wanted to use the proceeds to free her captive princess. Her devotion amuses him. The rare loyalty of a slave justifies his manipulative sincerity in matters. She cries, reminding him of the promise, and her words awaken guilt in him, although their entire exchange was coldly calculated. He quietly and confidently soothes her and swears again to buy the princess, no matter what happens. The merchant presents the silent girl as a slave of the highest quality before the hero in the mask. He carefully examined her features: golden hair, gentle facial expression, and did not know whether to believe the merchant's words. She reminds him of someone from the past, and inside him awaken doubts and quiet curiosity. The merchant names a wildly high price, enough for a modest house in the city. Noticing that the offer hides a secret discount, the hero accepts it with cautious confidence and sincere interest. The trader praises Yuri Cecil, calling her the Pearl of Mondal, admired even by kings. 3. Sarah rushes forward, overwhelmed with emotions. The merchant admits that it was her return that made this transfer at a reduced price possible. Tormented by past actions, Sarah sinks into reflection. She is ready to accept her fate if it will save Yuri. Sarah apologizes to Yuri, feeling guilt and gratitude at the same time. She admits that she should thank her, not pity her. Holding back tears, Sarah asks for a final farewell before they part, and she loses her forever. When Sarah reunites with the girls, the masked boy silently watches, absorbing their touching reunion. He calmly asks to buy more guards as well, mentally making a list of the next purchases while the merchant steps away. The lonely merchant looks closely at the boy and thinks, who is he, really too refined for his age, yet strangely grounded? Sarah pleadingly asks the boy to buy each of the remaining guards because she fears they will be separated again. Understanding her pain, the boy apologizes, feeling her despair and the full weight of her request. One girl cuts the ropes holding Sarah. Everyone is stunned, and the boy shouts that he will not let her suffer. She swiftly cuts the ropes of the others, and this raises an uproar. The captives prepare to act. The boy calls everyone to run, igniting a spark of hope, though he has neither evidence nor a clear plan. He promises to create a chance, and fervently urges them to act if they truly want freedom. Seized by determination, Yuri steps forward. Her appearance surprises everyone and further strengthens their faith. Yuri notices his gaze gentle, determined, unlike the greed of the merchant or the pitying look of the mercenary. She quietly ponders, while his eyes, unlike hers, are still full of hope so strong they can move others. Moved, Yuri suddenly grabs Sarah's hand, showing that he trusts her and awakening a wave of unity. Sarah gathers courage again. Everyone forms a circle, preparing for the plan the boy devised. At the boy's signal, magic flares, light envelops the group, and their desperate escape begins. The guards reported the failure, and the chief, upon learning that the mage was found, harshly scolded them. The merchant froze in panic, hearing that his people were ambushed, stripped, and tied to trees in defeat. Angry at the news, the merchant pounds the floor. The room shakes from his wild rage. He orders reinforcements to be called, but panic spreads. An unknown enemy has already infiltrated their base. Through the broken wall emerges a mysterious figure, and at the moment of her appearance, the room freezes in shock. The girl in the cloak breaks through the wall. The merchant shouts to his men, chase her. Falsel appears, and the trader insists that his failure was caused by magic and Yuri's loss. Irritated, the merchant demands decisive action. Falsel, overly confident, assures that he can handle it alone without any help. Despite Falsel's arrogance, the merchant is insanely angry about the escape, and Falsel reluctantly agrees to take responsibility. Hiding in the alley, the girl prepares a distraction. She will pretend to be a cover to deceive the pursuers. While fleeing, the girl hesitates, whether to use magic or not, and quietly worries about her master's safety. Sarah panics as soon as she arrives, Unfamiliar landscapes and sudden change of surroundings overwhelm her. The group found themselves in a quiet glade, and everyone froze in confusion, asking how they suddenly teleported here. Kai calms Sarah. The others remain restrained, especially Yuri. She stands without any emotion, and her unshakable calm astonishes them. The cheerful girl happily greets Kai and asks about their supplies, while Kai avoids answering and focuses on gathering weapons. Kai apologizes for the deception. Sarah, relieved yet embarrassed, wonders where they actually ended up. Kai swings his sword, breaks chains, and pushes others, while Yuri quietly asks where they are. Yuri explains, the space was created by her blessing, and if they leave, triggers activate that instantly return them back. Kai denies any connection with Mondial, says he accidentally met Sarah and helped without hesitation. Kai admits saving everyone was his goal. Sarah tries to make sense of this misunderstanding that she was supposedly sold. Old Cecile remembers how she lost her country and people. Now she simply lives as herself and is grateful to Sarah. Kai frees another prisoner, thinking that Cecile sees Sarah as a sister, but will not say it aloud. She was rushing down the snowy street, and behind her soldiers were shouting and chasing her. Realizing her inhuman speed, they panicked. She was not running away, only buying time for others to escape. Recalling her master's order, she resolutely began to hold back the pursuers even if she had to use force. When she was accused and laughed at, she calmly said that all the slaves had long since escaped. Releasing her power, she prepared for battle. Lightning crackled. The goal was clear: to defeat them and cover the escape. Abyss unleashed a lightning strike. The enemies froze in shock, and her hidden magical combat power was revealed to all. Surveying the destruction, Abyss wanted to return as soon as possible, but another mage stepped forward and smiled confidently. A powerful enemy mage challenged her to a duel, eagerly wishing to test her stunning magical power. Meanwhile, the master gathered everyone, and when Abyss held back the pursuers, gave the signal it was time for their final escape. He explained their plan. As soon as Abyss fulfilled her role, they would all rush out of the city at full speed. The slave trader waited, grumbling about the delays, unaware that the group he was hunting was already nearby and watching. Suddenly caught, he panicked as the group boldly stepped out of the shadows behind him. Armed and serious, the girls cornered him with sharp blades. His resistance fell silent before he could react. Hearing a fight in the distance, the group quickly tied him up and prepared to move together. There was no time for questions. They brushed off his outrage, reclaimed their freedom, and captured the names of friends. In the quiet town, a distant explosion rang out. It was a signal that the Abyss fight was still ongoing somewhere behind. The group prepared to flee, loudly arguing about how to carry the exhausted so everyone could keep the same pace. Suddenly, armed enemies appeared. Recognizing the fugitives, they instantly surrounded them, allowing neither retreat nor reaction. Trapped and outnumbered, panic spread, but Kai remained calm, ready to decide their next move. Realizing that Abyss was facing an experienced mage, Kai grew worried. Her lack of combat experience could prove dangerous. Others insisted that Kai retreat with the princess. They themselves prepared to defend them, though the odds were against them. Kai confirmed their expectations and noticed that the strongest mage had not yet returned. This gave them a brief advantage. Kai asked his friends to cover him for a moment and instantly disappeared to make his next move. Kai returned with powerful reinforcements, combat experts ready to counterattack and turn the tide of battle in their favor. Chaos erupted as the experts rushed into a clash with the enemies, and the guards nearby only heard the noise and never learned the details. The guards approached the wounded soldier and barked at him for causing illegal trouble within the city limits. The Chaos Guard demanded submission and was about to enslave everyone again until reinforcements suddenly appeared ahead. Kai unleashed his secret army cute and at the same time deadly warrior kuns, secretly trained specifically for this unexpected moment. The enemies panicked in the darkness. They were overwhelmed by small, agile attackers, too fast and unpredictable to stop. While the warriors dominated the battlefield, the girls stood watching in awe and realized with relief, this time they were allies. Kai praised the raccoon warriors for the stunning victory, then gently ordered them to rest like seeds. He raised everyone up and shouted to run fast before enemy reinforcements arrived and trapped them. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, explosive magical attacks by Abyss fiercely lit up the streets. The enemy mage was frightened and froze. The endless magical power of Abyss and its continuous hail of spells simply stunned him. He tried to turn the energy into defense, but the pressure of the Abyss did not relent. Its magic was stunning and endless. From afar, Kai and the others watched as Abyss began to dominate the duel, unleashing a barrage of explosions. Seeing her alive and victorious, Kai shouted. The Abyss smiled with relief, seeing her master safe. The exhausted enemy mage, barely holding on, asked why during their national war was no one with power like hers involved. Kai explained that he did not belong to any country, he just happened to help. Though drained to the limit, the mage refused to give up his pride, demanded one last fight, no matter what. Kai proposed a plan. Abyss would distract him for 3 minutes by changing the angle of attack. The enemy mage charged forward with all his might, while Abyss and Kai instantly scattered in different directions. He aggressively broke through the smoke, unaware that they were leading him straight into a coordinated counterattack zone. Abyss immobilized him with precise magical shots, and chains exploded, locking his movement from all sides. Seizing the moment, Kai rushed from behind and finally knocked the exhausted warrior to the ground. Kai proudly shouted Tenohira, and the enemy who had questioned his origin froze in surprise. A sudden blow knocked the armored man off his feet. He lost consciousness and slumped beside the surprised attacker. He woke up confused under the bright sun, in a field that seemed peaceful, surrounded by animals and strangers. Still disoriented, he stood up and screamed in shock upon seeing an unfamiliar village. The boy ran away together with the elf, while the man stood, not understanding what had just happened. Alarm signals sounded, and the girl warned the villagers, ordering everyone to take up arms. Enemies were approaching. The girl rallied the villagers to defend themselves, warning that bandits would steal the harvest if they were not stopped now. She spread fear, saying that if no one stood against the threats, they might even take the daughters. The man in armor shouted for peace, saying he had only cut down one boy, which confused the armed crowd. Misunderstood and outnumbered, the man warned them. He was a mage and would not give them an easy victory. Before he could move, something invisible knocked him off balance. He froze in shock and did not understand why his magic did not work. Panic gripped the sorcerer when he realized there was no mana here. The villagers were crowding closer, while allies stood silently watching. In despair, he squeezed out his reserves of inner magic, swearing that he would not be underestimated or mocked. A fiery sphere burst from his palm, frightening the peasants. They responded with coordinated strikes and panic. The peasants screamed in fear but did not retreat. One man bravely lit a torch. Stunned, the mage grabbed his sword, disappointed that he had to fight hand to hand. Cornered and enraged, the mage gritted his teeth, unable to believe that such a humiliating resistance worked. Looking down on the boy, he could not accept that he lost to someone so ordinary and inexperienced. The peasants swarmed him, exhausted and bruised all over. He collapsed. The elf woman finally drove them away. The peasants celebrated joyfully. The children watched with curiosity as the unconscious mage was carefully tied up. Walking alongside, the elf and the boy pondered. Human threats now seemed scarier than the wild monsters outside. Aniel encouraged Kai with a gentle smile. She believed in his choice and sincerely supported his determination. Night fell and Kai checked the bound mage, planning to hide him and quietly gather. Under the cover of darkness, the group moved quietly, making sure the mage remained hidden and far away. Abyss felt guilty about her limitations, but Kai gently reassured her their success was entirely thanks to her help. Moved by his words, Abyss smiled and asked to be hugged so that her heart could calm down a little. The group watched as Kai warmly embraced Abyss, lifting the mood and surprising the other girls. They thanked him for the rescue, but Kai brushed off the praise and instead calmly asked where they were heading next. Kai silently hoped they would join him, but did not dare force anyone to go to his island. The girl admitted that their group had nowhere else to go and suggested giving herself into slavery. Kai froze in surprise. They believed that slavery would protect them, but he embarrassedly admitted that he was not a traitor. Kai said that their base was a harsh, isolated island where survival was only possible through complete dedication. Interested villagers bombarded him with questions. Kai confirmed that the land had forest and water enough to start anew. They mocked the bad reputation of their homeland, and this struck Kai had underestimated how little it could offer. Kai asked for a promise in return, leaving old ties behind and immersing himself in island life. He resolutely declared, "Revenge is forbidden, only those who choose peace will be allowed into their new beginning." She admitted that revenge now made no sense, there was no one left, so she chose peace. The group walked together full of curiosity and admiration, heading north to their new destination. Kai explained that the path leads to the island, and with a plea in his voice asked them to cooperate. They passed through the portal and found themselves before a huge cliff looming over the entrance to the island. Kai gladly welcomed them on the island of no people, but immediately said, "It is empty here, so at first, it will probably be a bit boring." Ren, this fox girl, pushed Kai and sharply scolded him for returning too slowly. Kai apologized for being late. Through tears, Ren admitted that she was afraid he would never return to her. Together again, the younger girl tightly hugged Kai, and the group sighed with relief. Everyone returned together and safe. Kai introduced the newcomers as new inhabitants of the island. Then Kai politely greeted those who already live on the island one by one. Kai explained that they still cannot return home. Despite family ties, this place has become a refuge for everyone. The main character shows the empty island and explains, they will have to start from scratch, there is nothing here. He shares a development plan: farms, houses, roads, wells, gardens, and builds a functioning settlement from nothing. He says openly, the goal is not just to survive, but to create a country that everyone can call home. The peasants were inspired. Some joyfully chant, others promise their support in his grand plan. They see hope. One girl quietly decides to follow him, calling herself family loyal beyond duty, bound by trust. Grateful for a second chance, The women hope and believe that together they can rebuild a life full of meaning. Someone gently squeezes his hand, silently encouraging, "Hold on and lead us forward." Her words move him, he agrees, and together they vow to build a country without sorrow. Suddenly, another woman declares herself his wife, and this throws the observing group members into complete confusion and embarrassment. The peasants watch intently as the girl quickly chops wood. Her strength immediately arouses suspicion and anxiety. The children sincerely stand up for Abischan and insist that she is kind, nothing like those terrible demons they have only read about. Renchan releases flames, and the peasants whisper about her origin, debating whether she is a beast person or something else. Though somewhat hesitant, the peasants accept Renchan. They are won over by her fluffy ears and cheerful, completely harmless nature. The group discusses the lack of equipment. Worn-out shoes clearly show how much they need better clothes and supplies. Kai stood before the peasants, declared himself the moderator, and solemnly opened their first gathering of islanders. The peasants fervently raise questions about tools, food, hygiene, and clothing, thus the daily needs of their growing settlement become evident. Yuri takes notes and Kai finally understands. Some problems like plumbing cannot be solved by simply quickly gathering materials. Yuri explains, to create a nation, territory, citizens, and authority are needed, and he especially emphasizes what this island lacks. Kai sees that the territory and authority are already in his hands, but he puzzles over how to quickly and effectively increase the number of citizens. Yuri throws out an idea on how to grow the population, subtly hinting, the solution lies in Kai's personal efforts. To everyone's astonishment, Yuri directly states that having children is the fastest way to grow. Yuri solemnly proclaims Kai the king of the new country, emphasizing her royal origin. She stubbornly says that there is no way without an heir, and this drove Kai into even greater panic over his new responsibilities. Kai awkwardly agreed with the arguments. Yuri asked for some informal closeness, and this further deepened their unexpected political and personal connection. Kai, sitting next to Yuri, blushes. He is still embarrassed by her motives and does not understand what intentions she has toward him. He suspects that her decision was dictated by royal duty and is not sure that it came solely from her personal feelings. Everyone froze when Yuri suggested that she and Sarah immediately move to live with Kai. Kai plans a stronger house for the winter and asks if anyone has construction experience or knowledge. Inspired by volunteers, Kai joyfully declared that together with raccoon warriors and peasants they will build 10 houses. Yuri suggests building only one large castle, saying one king only needs one palace. Kai panics because of her grand proposal, realizing she is serious and waiting for magical help. She insists that mages are both army and citizens at the same time, so living together in the castle is logical. It is more efficient and strengthens unity. Kai admits that she is right. Keeping many homes for 14 people would be too wasteful and impractical. Yuri talks about his dream. One exquisite castle, a shared home where everyone lives together as equals. Kai and the group stand shoulder to shoulder with one common goal. They begin to build their own country. Yuri proclaimed that the castle is their courage and symbol, a shared home under the sacred tree. Everyone agreed to put the castle first, not for luxury, but to avoid loneliness and separation. Kai sets off to Tenohira, searching for materials to realize his dream to build a real castle. The village reached level 20. Everyone is delighted and eagerly awaits rewards and support from the city for expansion. A cheerful elf Koromo appears. She introduces herself as Inel's younger sister and a clothing specialist. Koromo proudly says she can create clothes, which fascinates Kai, who still didn't know what to wear. Kai enthusiastically praises Koromo's talent, and Inel firmly defends her role, listing tasks from monitoring food safety to caring for the nutritional value of dishes. Kai admits he was wrong and underestimated Inel, and now sees she is vital for protecting everyone's health. Kai sincerely thanks both elves, and Koromo promises to provide a new outfit every 3 days if materials are supplied. Kai requests leather boots. Koromo agrees and estimates how much time it will take to make them from scratch according to the local Tenohira time system. Kai rushed away in excitement, and El reminds that other functions have also been unlocked. The village has transformed into a magical hidden settlement, which gained new functions and rose to a new level of development. Although there are no mages here yet, the village feels magic. It remembers those battles when combat spells were used. Seed synthesis allows combining creation seeds to make raccoon warriors stronger, but these seeds have sprouted again. Kai wonders with interest and anxiety how to make the village reach the next level, and for a mage to be born, he does not know what is needed for this. Meanwhile, the villagers rest by the water, enjoying free time while everyday life quietly goes on. In 3 days, Koromo shows stylish boots made of buffalo leather, and her skill amazes everyone. Kai immediately tries on the boots, and Koromo watches anxiously, waiting to see if they will fit. They fit perfectly. Kai rejoices in Kuomo's success and asks her to make boots for everyone else. Koromo boasts that he is more useful than Enel, sparking a rivalry between them over who has done more for Kai. Kai quietly smiles, looking over the new boots and enjoying the playful banter of the girl in the background. Sarah asks Kai to point out a well or water source and suddenly she realizes, filling with deep gratitude. Inspired by Sarah's idea, Kai decides to look for clay and mold pots for water. The main character suggested making clay vessels to store water and cook food for their settlement. The girl admitted she had little experience and warmly recalled how her merchant father would watch silently during trades as clay pots were molded. Unsure about the materials, they turned to Abyss, but she did not recognize clay and did not know where he was. Another girl pointed to swampy areas, believed that clay might hide where moisture gathers under dense vegetation. Following Ria's hint, they dug in the mud on the riverbank until Oza emerged triumphantly, holding a basket filled with clay. The main character examined the sample more closely, but the clay's viscosity still was not suitable for pottery. He tried to convey what the texture of the clay was like, but without a translator and the team of creatures looked confused again. Despite the language problems, the creatures enthusiastically repeated after him, as if they understood his instructions well. He and Abyss stood watching the group, all covered in mud, unsure if their explanation had really been understood. They had not yet found good clay, so the group decided to search in open areas along the nearest cliffs. Suddenly, Wasp emerged from the water, proudly carrying a large basket full of clay. Other OSS followed them, eagerly throwing down their clay baskets, surprising the main character with their coordination and energy. The main character touched the clay soft and pliable, perfect for later molding water jugs. He was praised as knowledgeable, but he honestly admitted he understood only superficially, mostly from observation and memory. With clear instructions, they set to work on the clay, drying, pounding, and carefully sieving it until all impurities were removed. The main character chose Tenohira for killings and construction. Here time flows faster, and resources are abundant. From memory, he described in detail a kiln with several chambers, and the group froze in amazement at its unusual appearance. Peasants eagerly responded, some even shared their experience working with bread ovens to help with the construction. Everyone worked together, molding bricks, forming chambers, and smoothly assembling the complex oven structure. After several days of exhausting labor, the multi-chamber oven finally stood ready to fire the first pottery products for the village. Although the oven was roofless, the hero finally realized its frame was ready. It occurred to him, by showing examples, he would give the peasants the opportunity to learn through their own attempts. While others were dozing, he came across a girl with mysterious companions, and they immediately caught everyone's attention. He was fascinated by the agility of that creature. One girl invited him to play, but he had questions. She asked to join the trip to Tenohira, and the main hero immediately agreed with joy. Arriving in Tenohira, the girl gasped how much the village had grown. She noticed wheat fields and new houses, impressed by how the village was progressing and how more people were living there. When asked, she admitted that she missed her parents and wondered how they were back home. She recalled walking to the castle with her mother, and joyful moments of her childhood came alive in her memory. She promised to someday find her native town, even if she had to wait. The girl tenderly recalled the kindness of her parents. Meanwhile, the leader was preparing an important announcement. The hero revealed his plan and amazed the villagers by igniting a glowing magical flame. They explained that the killing required a dry fire and gathered everyone to witness the magical ignition. The crowd was introduced to the so-called sorceress of Hellfire, and this stunned the villagers who had no idea about her power. Everyone eagerly awaited the demonstration. She nervously agreed, and the main hero reminded her not to overdo it. The sorceress directed controlled tongues of flame into the furnace, and the villagers froze. Her powerful, precise magical fire amazed everyone. The crowd erupted with admiration. They witnessed real magic. When the furnace proved it worked, people began making real pottery. Kaidi silently molded clay, fully focused, carefully shaping her first work without saying a word. Others struggled with the form, while Kaidi impressed them with her skill, responding with only one word. Kaidi carefully reviewed her results, deeply fascinated. Another villager proudly presented her finished creation to the master. Cade proudly showed her clay doll, but the protagonist warned about the risks during firing hollow items. Sarah laid out a huge collection of kitchen utensils, energetically highlighting practical items for cooking and storing supplies. As the pottery dried all over Tenohira, Sarah quietly admitted that her work brought her joy. Again, the group loaded finished ceramics into the kiln, preparing for their first full firing. The villagers helped with the final steps, and the hero watched closely, determined to do everything properly. Kai did not want to open the kiln early, and Anal explained that it needed to cool gradually to prevent cracks. The next day, the villagers eagerly began learning to work with kilns, and knowledge slowly passed from Kai's group. Kai carefully looked inside. Although there were small cracks, the fired clay products mostly turned out well. The group burst into applause. Most of the works survived, and everyone rushed to find their creation. The kiln proved to be functional. The village erupted in celebration. Pottery officially began in the world of Tenohira. Although satisfied, they understood that this was only the biscuit firing glazing, and the final firing were still ahead. A loud strike splits the ground, leaving a wide crater in the very center of the camp. The villagers are digging a well because they are tired of constantly running for water to rivers and distant villages. A young girl excitedly pulls him aside and insists that he follow her. She urgently wants to show something. She led the group to a clay shed and with a quiet smile confessed that she wanted to bake something special. Inside the shed they find a huge clay golem, and why it is here they do not yet know. Kite explains why the clay golem is so fragile and advises firing it to strengthen the structure. Keed suddenly coughed in the middle of a sentence which worried the others. She tries to hide her discomfort and Ren immediately offers help. She quietly admits that her throat hurts and the group asks Ren to stay and help her. Ren brought the huge golem to the square and asked the villagers to allow it to be fired in the kiln. The villagers argue about its complexity but eventually agree, and with Alamiel's blessing their pottery skills continue to grow. As demand for ceramics increases, everyone says it is thanks to Sarah's cooking skills and her cheerful spirit. Kite warmly smiles and greets Kai while cooking. She has been preparing something truly special for the village for some time now. Kai approaches the street oven and here Sarah asks him to help carry more ingredients inside. Sarah suggests changing their staple food, and Kai gladly agrees. He is eager to try something other than the usual potatoes. From ingredients from Scorpu and Tenohira farms, they prepare a richer lunch for everyone. They prepare ingredients looking optimistically at the future harvest. Kai says that now they have wheat flour. Sarah scrutinizes the package of wheat flour. Its texture and appearance immediately make her wary. Surprised, she notices that the flour is too fine, and white its quality is not at all what she expected. Kai explained that he ground the grain on a water wheel. They bought the main grain in the city. Puzzled, Kai rushes to ask someone, while others suspect that his unusual perception changed the course of events. They concluded that Kai's faith touched the flour and purified it, suppressing the yeast and wheat bran. Anil says that because of Kai's perception, everything looks different, even the food no longer seems safe, and the chicken raises doubts. Exiled later, under the influence of Kai's rules, transform and in his logic become safe. Kai wonders how the logic of the world was distorted by his false knowledge and careless assumptions. Returning confidently, Kai says, "The flour is genuine, it is just again distorted by his perception." Kai and Sarah start baking. To Kai's surprise, in her world there are both eggs and dough for bread. Suddenly they realize they don't have a leavening agent. Kai thoughtfully asks, did she mean yeast? Instead, Sarah offers a flatbread. Kai suggests searching Tenohira, and Sarah meanwhile recalls someone with baking roots. Kai finds Enel again. She confirms with a smile that no one here bakes, and jokingly remarks about his frequent visits. Kai learns that the villagers make noodles from wheat, and Enel says that is another thing that reflects Kai's preferences. Kai suddenly suggests noodles instead, realizing they don't have a leavening agent. Sarah is puzzled but intrigued. He admits that he desperately wants them. Sarah recalls Scorpu's street noodles and suggests making them again. Sarah proposes to cook again the dish they once tasted together, to become even closer through shared cooking. They agree and start making the dough, filled with joy from the shared memory and new purpose. While the dough rests, Sarah is already planning the sauce and Kai worries, will dinner be ready? While preparing the ingredients, Kai stopped and asked Sarah if she is satisfied with her current life in the village. Sarah smiles warmly and says she feels fulfilled even without magic, because she finally found a place where she belongs. She happily reflects, feeling the peace and meaning she never had when she previously served kingdoms. Sarah quietly confesses that her happiness is cooking next to Kai, and this deepens her emotional connection with him. Kai blushes and turns away embarrassed. They silently continue cooking side by side as if in unison. Kai comes to Katie at night with warm food to help her recover from a cold. He offers Scorpo-style kamatama udon, warm and rich, specially prepared to lift Katie's spirits. Kate slowly eats, savoring the warmth. Her face softens, showing how she enjoys the cozy flavors. Sarah and Kai proudly shine as others praise Katie's reaction to their delicious homemade dish. Kai serves more food. The girl asks what happened. He silently turns and looks at the newcomers. Everyone gathered together, savoring the warm dish and feeling the comfort it gave them. Later, Sarah was alone in the kitchen preparing ingredients, focused on creating something meaningful and heartfelt. Abyss quietly approached Sarah and confessed that she wants to learn to cook and someday become more useful. She admitted that lately she feels useless, unable to support her master as others do. With sincere eyes, Abyss promised to gladly feed the master, hoping to soothe him with her dishes. Sarah opened the drawer, smiled warmly, and began to explain the real difficulties of cooking. Abyss eagerly accepted the challenge, and their training began with preparing a simple, modest omelet. Kaide bakes a sturdy clay body, while others gather magical energy to breathe life into it. Kite's partner directs her spell at the clay figure and fills it with artificial life force. The newly created golem awakens, bows politely, and impresses everyone with its smooth, flowing movements. They watch the polite golems with fascination, and Kaide explains where they come from once they were made as living dolls. They decide to test its abilities. Keed gives commands and the golem responds enthusiastically. At Kaide's signal, the golem suddenly lunges forward, launching into a high-speed sprint. It steps thunder throughout the settlement, raising wind and dust as it races through the terrain. The spectators are stunned despite its fragile-looking ceramic. It impresses with unexpected speed and strength. After completing the sprint test, they set a new challenge for the golem to lift a heavy stone. Keed suddenly realizes it's not just a stone but a massive boulder, and she is unsure if the golem can lift it. To everyone's surprise, the golem successfully lifts a huge boulder high above its head. They praise the might of the golem, and it turns out that Kite is the chosen one with hidden power. Kaide suggests that the golem's strength obeys his logic, impressing others thanks to the extraordinary blessing of a Lamilla. Filled with pride and a sense of being valued, the girl promises to create 2 more golems for their village. With the help of the golem, the villagers build structures, prepare hearty meals, and efficiently cultivate the fields together. Their daily life improves. Somewhere else, a traveler carves a message on a stone, leaving a quiet proof of their arrival. Keed walks among the peaceful fields, villagers warmly greet her, and the community steadily prospers. They cheerfully talk about the sprouting wheat and eagerly await the harvest to bake bread. Wren with fox ears excitedly reminds Keed about today's celebration. It has been 4 months since everyone arrived together. Keed prepares to depart, and the others gather nearby, finally ready for what lies ahead. At last the castle stands. The villagers celebrate, savoring food, fishing, and chatting happily. Abyss proudly shows her first homemade dish and shyly offers it. She has just learned to cook. Kaide impatiently grabs food. Abyss watches tensely, waiting for his reaction after the first bite. Kaide praises the taste, and Abyss beams with pride. She is delighted with her first successful meal. They look at how their home has grown and with quiet, modest tenderness and pride, call it their royal fortress. She called the castle the heart of their nation and inspired everyone to give their best. Kaide is given the most honorable place at the banquet table. He is revered as the king of the community. Surrounded by joyful villagers, Kaide silently decides to work even harder as their responsible and reliable leader. Later that night, Keed found himself in the bedroom right between 2 determined girls. Both girls argue over who will sleep next to him, and playful tension flares between them. Who really deserves that spot? Keed is confused by the situation, and the other girl quietly says she will wait her turn. The girls cuddle tightly, calling Keed their king and insisting that they are the ones who should keep him warm. Keed panics inside as he realizes that their idea of loyalty does not at all match how he imagined leadership. They agreed to spend the night together peacefully, says Keed, glancing at the overly large bed that Yuri personally arranged. Kaide tries to fall asleep, but Yuri suddenly rushes to him, obsessed with the thought of securing the future heir. Yuri questions Kaide's motives. She feels that behind his obsession with genealogy and inheritance issues lie deeper intentions. Keed is still recovering and quietly listens, while others say they want to interrogate Yuri in more detail. Here Yuri calmly recalls her blessing, implying that she is ready to discuss it over a cup of tea. Kaide admits that he knows almost nothing about her blessing, so he arranged this meeting to learn more. She explains where the secret of the temple came from, but now that Mondial is gone, there is no point in keeping silent. Yuri, smiling warmly, agrees to tell about her blessing, while Keed prepares to listen attentively. Suddenly, she demands something in return, saying that this opportunity is too valuable to give away just like that. Yuri jokingly asks for hugs as payment, and this completely caught Kaide by surprise. She instantly blushed with embarrassment. Embarrassed, Keed tries to pull away from the hugs, but Yuri quickly approaches without any hesitation or restraint. Yuri pounces on him and hugs tightly, playfully declaring herself, and Keed is completely stunned. Keed pushed away from Yuri's embrace and jumped back suddenly. A mysterious invisible wall appeared behind him, blocking his way. Yuri reveals his divine blessing, granted by the line of the god of shields, which creates an impenetrable protective barrier. In Sunday school, children were told how saints protected people with blessings, not destructive magic. Priests insisted that blessings were peaceful miracles, but the boy in the midst of war doubted if they really were. Later it turned out that the blessing of the girl, granted by the god of the line of shields, concealed incredible combat power. Her ability created invisible barriers as already done on Scorpio, forming a defense called Warmaiden Sanctuary. He doubted the range limits, but she only smiled confidently and said she could expand them even more. She deliberately narrowed the barrier to have an excuse to stay close. With a confident smile, she chose Kai, the perfect person to test her ability to create a divine shield. Their moment was interrupted when Abyss appeared, confused by the barrier that suddenly divided their voices. The girl's barrier even muffled sound, showing its tactical power and unexpected weakness in communication. With a knowing look, she launched something else, leaving Abyss even more confused and suspicious. The girl firmly embraced Kai, driving him crazy and having no intention of letting go. Abyss looked confused, showing how awkward everything was, and expressed anxiety because the boundaries inside the private barriers were being violated. Suddenly, energy surged around Abyss as she activated her blessing, preparing to strike back with full force. Rushing forward with a fierce attack, Abyss struck the barrier, aiming directly at the surprised couple. Just before the strike, Kai and the girl met eyes, frozen in the unbearable tension of the moment. Abyss hit the barrier with all her might, and was shocked it did not crack or even budge. Kai assured her that it was invulnerable, but Abyss clearly misunderstood and took it as a real threat. He shouted about cancellation, but she hesitated, clearly more worried about something deeper than just safety. Kai shouted to Abyss, sensing that behind her increasingly strong and growing magical explosion was inner pain. Others demanded that Yuri disable the ability, but she clung even tighter and teased Kai amid the chaos. Kai tried to shout the cancellation words, but Yuri interrupted him with an urgent emotional outburst. She admitted that something remained unspoken. Her thoughts were still trapped while the barrier gently pulsed around them. Meanwhile, Abyss intensified the magic's building trembled, and she had no idea about their internal conversation. Kai realized that her tactics had crossed the line. If she was not stopped, she would set the barrier on fire. In despair, Kai shouted to Yuri and Cecil, hoping to finally stop everything. Yuri's eyes softened, and seizing the moment, she decided to release her protective barrier. Sighing, Yuri turned off the sanctuary and finally retreated while the magic quietly faded. Abyss instantly rushed forward and tightly embraced Kai, mistakenly taking his release as a distress signal. Kai assured her that he was fine. Yuri calmly reproached Abyss for being too defensive again. Yuri warned that Kai might get tired of her and insisted that both behave more reservedly. Yuri firmly reminded Kai that mages serve the defense of the country and cannot succumb to personal emotions. Kai stubbornly claimed that Abyss was not just a weapon. His feelings for her were deeper than usefulness in battle or duty. He declared Abyss his family because he saw in her a copy, a protector, a friend, even a savior from ancient times. Surprisingly, Yuri agreed that Abyss could become his lawful wife, but only if he took the rest as well. Kai denied any romantic relationship, explaining that the Abyss embraces everyone, but its closeness still confused and made Yuri blush. Kai firmly stated that he does not yet feel romantic attraction to anyone, neither to Yuri nor to Sarah. Alone, Abyss asked if he would ever get tired of her constant presence and devotion. Kai smiled and promised that he would not, soothing her with quiet warmth and confident words. The tension in Abyss finally subsided. Kai whispered to her, "Be yourself," and her face blossomed with a deep smile. Watching them embrace, Yuri muttered that Kai is as protective as Abyss herself. Yuri ran into the room, overwhelmed with panic due to a recent magical surge near Kai. Kai downplays what happened, calling it a lover's quarrel, and Yuri awkwardly relaxes while questions grow in her mind. The girl questions Kai's mysterious power. Her ability to create, supply, and deliver resources is simply astonishing. She compares this power to religious myths, shocked by its scale. Kai remains silently thoughtful. Kai finally gathered himself to tell everything, realizing that now that she lives here too, honesty is necessary. Kai warns them the truth is dangerous. If the temple finds out, their lives are at risk. He calmly utters the name of God Alamla. The girls react with obvious shock and tension. Kai tells that Alamalu was called an evil god, and hidden even in the most secret circles of the temple. The children whom Alamelia blessed were expelled here, and the girls understood the cruel hidden purpose of the island. Kai bitterly confirms. He was exiled in the middle of the ceremony, forcibly separated and left on the island without any explanations. Kai explains that once the island teemed with monsters, he and Keed were supposed to die immediately. The conversation turned to her incredible ability. The girl can breathe real life into dolls and golems. Kai fervently asks them to think deeper. At least 13 gods clearly do not fit into the official doctrine. Old priestly records are silent about 7 gods. They were never announced. Only 3 were known. Kai suspects a conspiracy. The last 3 gods were simply erased, even from the priest texts. They argue whether Alamelia belongs to the hidden gods, or she was simply unjustly condemned as evil. She is stunned, cannot believe that such oppression existed, although once temples were part of daily life in Mandal. Ceremonies that took place only in large cities, and the lowly children whom Alamelia blessed could be recognized at first glance. The Inquisitor, a priest in a black robe, judges the children. Perhaps one of them attended their last ceremony. Kai explains the dark cycle. Every spring a ship comes here to throw out the cursed children. They wonder why death was not chosen instead. The children were expelled to distant, uninhabited islands in the middle of the sea. Kai swears to survive and help every abandoned child live again with hope. A dream is born in his soul to create a country where outcasts can live freely, without persecution. They tense up. If the temple discovers the survivors, revenge may come quickly and mercilessly. If the temple becomes hostile, they fear that the military will come, impose control, and open war may break out. They agreed the new nation must become strong. Only strength can give it lasting security and freedom. Kai silently sits in the room and thinks. not knowing where to start building a strong country. Memories of former weakness flood back. He swears to live with strength and die without regret. Suddenly, Keed falls on top of him, and his room is instantly engulfed in confusion and physical chaos. Jealous of Yuri, Kaida declares that he will repeat that act, which causes her amusing irritation. Kai is stunned. The Abyss clings to him, stirred by jealousy and misunderstood love. With a determined look, Abyss promises to protect his master, regardless of any danger ahead. She promises to protect him from monsters, enemy soldiers, and even from Yuri's unpredictable antics. Kai reflects on Yuri's efforts. She unites the group and selflessly thinks about his future. While plans are being formed, Kai considers Yuri's words. If war comes, they will soon need military power. Kai asks Anil for advice on how to craft weapons for the raccoon warriors, because supplies are dangerously low. Anil says they lack iron, and their raccoon warriors barely hold back the onslaught of enemy archers in battle. Kai learns that traveling merchants have visited the village. They distributed iron tools and unexpectedly pushed the village toward development. Enel says he traded for tools but cannot give Kai what the villagers have not produced. Enel suggests trying seed synthesis, and Kai eagerly agrees. He is curious whether stronger or more diverse warriors will be born from it. Kai activates the synthesis, raising 2 red seeds. A bright glow flares between his palms. A mysterious purple seed appeared and shrugged, not knowing what would grow from it. After a few days, Kai learns that the purple seed has produced another warrior, a raccoon, and everyone happily celebrates this success. Suddenly, Anil announces that a new religion has arisen in the village, entirely built around their growth. Kai stands speechless, stunned that his actions somehow sparked a religious movement, although he did not want this. The village of Tenohira was steadily expanding. Once a border outpost, it now resembled a quiet, peaceful settlement. Wandering alone, the boy noticed a new shop building and cautiously approached its entrance. Inside, as the girl was sharpening tools, a sudden noise made her nervously look outside. She entered, her heart pounding wildly. She called into the empty workshop, and the creak sounded threateningly. Startled, she screamed, but it was only a friendly traveling merchant who approached and greeted them cheerfully and briskly. She insisted that those strange sounds were real, while the merchant doubted, thinking it was her imagination. Suddenly, the hoe hovered in the air. They both froze and watched this impossible sight. Flying tools stomped chaotically in the air until they fell. Frightened, they all rushed out of the workshop together. Elsewhere, an elf woman cheerfully announced that a new religion was being born, naming Kai its first prophet. Rumors spread, tools flew high, food disappeared, doors moved by themselves, and all signs pointed to Kai's mysterious behavior. Kai remembered how he entered and lifted the hoe. The frightened peasants immediately misunderstood everything. The elf confessed that she taught the peasants to believe that Kai's deeds were divine, and thus a religion accidentally arose. She assured that Kai brought prosperity, while he skeptically frowned at her vague words and did not know how seriously they believed in it. Worried, Kai wondered if it would be dangerous, and too confusing, if he revealed the truth about the world, his creation. She calmed him down. The peasants would not understand anyway. She simply simplified everything for their sake. Kai admitted that the whole world depended on him, but secretly dreamed that the peasants would live without suspecting this truth. They encouraged him to live long and strong, but Kai knew their peace was fragile. The girls swore to help Kai together and promised to stand by him no matter what happened. Kai finally acknowledged their bond. The whole village, even Enel, now shared his fate. When they began unveiling the statue, Kai quietly hoped to someday show the world beyond it. The peasants solemnly unveiled the statue of Kai. He held a fruit in his hands, and everyone honored him for his divine deeds. Kai stood without saying a word. The elf proudly smiled. She was the one who led the creation of this unusual statue. She explained that it is a monotheistic religion, focused on Kai and built on his image and miracles. Kai accepted this story. The irony is that the statue's voice was once exiled for religious contradictions elsewhere. Somewhere else, a strange figure in a mask suddenly broke a tree as if hinting that a new turmoil is approaching. The stone axe cracked. Kai sighed bitterly and regretted that there were no strong tools in his native village. Kai openly stated his goal: to become independent from Tenohira through farming, firewood gathering, and improved infrastructure. The conversation shifted to the weather, and Kai unexpectedly warned about harsh winters on the island. This completely surprised the others. Alone at night, Kai trembled in bed. The cold season had clearly started early. The Abyss appeared silently and gave warmth. Her face was calm, but her intentions felt direct. Kai tried to persuade Abyss to live in separate rooms, but she stubbornly insisted that she was his futon. The Abyss clung to Kai and whispered that he could die at any moment. He barely protested, obviously stunned. Confused, Kai fled the conversation, apologizing that he had to check Kuromo's clothes because of the cold. The Abyss silently loomed. Meanwhile, Kai consulted with Kuromo, asking about winter gear called Deutera. The celebrations exploded. The girls joyfully announced that they had raised their level, loudly congratulated Kai and the growth of the village. Kai's group joyfully celebrated the 25th level and noticed that creating a religion gave them the same sharp leap in progress. A mysterious black television appeared silently standing idle, with a remote and instructions lying nearby. Kai and the others were convinced it was a television somehow delivered to Enel's house. They understood that it showed the place where Kai's ability was first activated, not some earthly programs. Enthralled, the elf decided that it happened because of her desire. She impatiently prepared to observe everything. She loudly declared that the television gave her an unobstructed view of all of Kai's actions, even his pranks. Enthralled, she turned on the television, and on the screen appeared a demon lying on a large bed. Abyss lay alone and stared at the ceiling with a vacant gaze, her body strangely motionless and tense. The group understood Abyss was not sleeping, she was just idling. Kai felt her gaze on him and was embarrassed by her quiet devotion. The elf again insisted that she was his futon. Kai hid, once again overwhelmed with shame. Kai reluctantly agreed to allow Enel to observe from afar, but only if she remained cheerful. Kai turned to Abyss, who stood silently waiting. By the bed, he greeted her hesitantly. Abyss threw herself into his arms and, without hesitation, suggested spending the night together, hugging him tightly. Watching the television, Enel blushed, shyly explaining that Abyss's adult form warms better. Kai thanked Abyss when she hugged him tightly, and Enel watched with tender satisfaction. From the top of a tall tree, he carefully surveyed the northern wilderness of the island, the land that had not yet been explored. 2 years had passed since arrival, and the northern part of the island still remained untouched and shrouded in mystery. His crops, onions, turnips, garlic began to grow abundantly, and the orchards and wheat fields steadily increased their yield. Although they were moving forward, everything was boring. He was preparing to descend and ordered his companion to securely fasten the equipment. The creature drove a pointed stake, shouting orders and swiftly sliding down the trunk. Kai rushed to Sarah. She, with a blush on her cheeks and stumbling, asked about ingredients for preparing lunch. Seeing her high temperature and pale face, Kai panicked, and Sarah admitted that she was dizzy. Although she insisted on continuing to work, Kai ordered the raccoon companions to take her to rest. Sarah was gently laid in bed. 2 little creatures watched over her while she slept quietly. Then another girl, noticing the cold, offered to take care of Sarah herself, while Kai nervously hesitated nearby. Kai warned that the cold was spreading, insisted on washing hands and resting, and planned to consult with the Abyss himself. Despite all warnings, Kai feared the illness would worsen. He knew that without treatment it could become truly dangerous. Kai asked Yuri for something for Sarah, primarily something light and easily digestible. Others offered strange advice, but Kai stubbornly demanded warm, nutritious food to recover faster. Yuri remembered the potions sold in the temple, but effective medicines were still scarce. The potion treated colds, but was too expensive. Kai bitterly regretted not buying more before winter. Burdened by guilt, Kai blamed himself for all the troubles that befell the people because he brought them to the island. Yuri reminded him of their warmth, food, shelter, and clothing, all of which they built together, shoulder to shoulder. The villagers looked at him and, full of gratitude, said they were no longer afraid and thanked Kai for hope in these difficult times. Encouraged by their unity, Kai promised to survive together, drawing strength from each person's faith in him. Planning for winter, Yuri persistently reminded Kai that in spring they needed to strengthen their defensive forces. She feared that exposure could turn into a bloody reprisal, so after the military defeat of their homeland, she insisted on preparation. Kai understood her trauma and silently promised not to allow such a tragedy again. He imagined how the island geography, steep cliffs, and narrow approaches would become his tactical advantage against the invaders. Inspired, Kai proposed to make not just a map of the island, but a map of the entire world for defense. The container rolled and thudded dully. It became clear. Serious planning was beginning. Kai gathered everyone together and ordered Abyss to draw the map from memory. With superhuman accuracy and speed, Abyss began making sketches, capturing every detail with full concentration and skill. On her drawn map, coastlines and continents emerged in endless worlds stretched beyond the island. They marked their island, the Imperial Territory, and Scorpiton, precisely indicating all important strategic points. Kai learned that the Empire controlled most of the western lands, and began asking about countries that produced iron. The group instantly recalled the merchant from the Magni Federation, the one famous for his negotiations about iron trade. The Federation of Magni lay directly south of their island, although trade negotiations had previously failed. Kai regarded the Federation of Magni as the next stop, weighing it as a strategic option. Then he asked where Laverda was, seeking new allies and resources for his future plans. Yuri apologized for not understanding trade, while Kai increasingly sank into uncertainty and difficult decisions. Kaidi and others showed a new boat still under construction and brought Kai food and thanks. Kai explained that Ren would join the journey, although the boat still lacked proper safety measures. Kaida tearfully begged to be taken along and insisted she could help their mission. Despite her pleas, Kai hesitated, and others advised her to seek her family on her own. Kai enthusiastically explained how teleportation stakes allowed travel between the island and the city across the ocean. He detailed the stake system and offered Katia a way to visit the city briefly. Kite joyfully agreed. She promised to wait and support him, but behind her smile hid a bittersweet feeling. Inspired by the desire to help in any way, Kite decided to act in her own way at home. When the cold pierced to the bones, she suggested building a large bathhouse so that everyone could warm up together. The fox suggested building a real bathhouse, and this stunned everyone who was used to washing only with cold water. Winter was retreating, spring was sneaking, and the village was actively preparing to grow and welcome new conveniences. The plan was agreed upon. The group set out to gather supplies, ready for a big shopping run. They raised the sails and headed to the Magni Federation, aiming to trade and purchase necessary building materials. Kai relaxed with his comrades, and Enel cheerfully brought drinks. They celebrated their progress in their quiet village. Meanwhile, Abyss stood outside with a frowning face, and Kai looked at her, wondering if she was more than just the village gatekeeper. Returning home, Kai proposed a new task to Abyss to help pave magical paths into uncharted lands. Sailing away from the island, the group set off. Kai rested and Abyss silently kept watch. Approaching the new land, they saw steep cliffs, and Ruddy asked if they could land, but the approach seemed extremely dangerous. A hidden local girl watched their ship, her heart tightening. What should she do as they approached the shore? Kai rejected the path along the coast and decided to climb the mountain, although he felt that a monster route lay nearby. He ordered the demon to climb the cliff and drive a stake to securely fix the point for the ascent. For a week, without hesitation, Abyss rushed upward, jumping from ledge to ledge and heading straight to the summit. Quickly reaching the summit, Abyss drove a stake into the ground and firmly secured the path while others only watched. Estimating that the journey would take half a day, Kai set up a guard and at the same time mentally mapped out the route through the mountains. During the ascent, Kai barely managed the traps, rock walls, and swamp, clearly unsuitable for off-road travel. Embarrassed but determined, Kai insisted that not everyone needed to climb. He wanted to avoid further personal difficulties. When asked about other routes, Kai smiled and revealed his plan to use palm bend magic to bypass the slope. Rowdy himself offered to go ahead, drive a stake, and signal when it became safe. As they moved forward, a pack of fierce monkey-like monsters appeared on the forest path and blocked the way. The beasts howled and charged forward, bursting with incredible strength and obvious cruelty without any hesitation. Calm and steadfast, Abyss and Rudy prepared magic, mockingly calling the attackers mere trifles. Quickly coordinating, they unleashed powerful attacks and swept the monsters away with fire and magical force. From afar, Kai watched the end of the battle, calm, confident in the incredible strength of his comrade. Kai noticed a signal from Abyss at the edge of the cliff, a sign that it was safe to proceed. He sincerely thanked his comrades and warned that there were more monsters ahead, urging them to go carefully through the dense forest. The path was difficult, but now it became easier to walk, and Kai doubted whether any town existed at all. They noticed that their steps strangely circled. Although they moved forward, they felt lost, and silently the anxiety only grew. The magical GPS Abyssa guided them and quietly reassured Kai. The summit was near, despite the doubts. Above the jungle canopy, a dazzling light flared and something huge slowly descended, casting wide shadows. The group noticed a figure above and could not decide, bird, human, or monster. A winged girl appeared, quietly hovering in the air, her feathers shimmering, and her eyes cautiously and curiously examined them. She landed right in front of them. Huge claws touched the ground. Everyone froze, stunned by her powerful presence. She asked why they were here. They explained that they were from the island, not knowing that this mountain was sacred ground. He explained that they had climbed hoping to find a town, and she only asked were they lost. She looked at the group with curiosity. Before helping, she first needed to clarify one thing. She asked if those girls were his slaves. He firmly replied, "They are family, not property." Surprised by his kindness, she understood that they were not ordinary people or beast folk. Her suspicion vanished. At first, the sun set. She invited them to her village. He agreed gratefully and somewhat hesitantly. The group froze in amazement. Deep in the mountain rocks, a village was hidden. She offered shelter. Kai, filled with gratitude, introduced everyone. They accepted her kindness without fear or hesitation. Her name was Label, a winged creature. She greeted them with a bright, cheerful smile. Kai asked about the hidden village, and Label calmly explained that there was nothing strange about it. It was simply carefully concealed for safety. Label revealed to them the sanctity of the mountain. Their village remained hidden, and she asked them to keep this truth. Kai doubted whether it was really worth trusting strangers, and Label, as if not worried at all, answered with naive sincerity. She smiled brightly and said that he could be trusted. Kai responded with a smile, surprised by her casual warmth. They reached the entrance. Label rushed ahead to explain why they were here, leaving them waiting. She led them to the village, simple wooden huts surrounded by forest, which made up the home. While they walked, Kai silently observed. The village was peaceful but noticeably backward and poor. Ren hesitated whether to accept the hospitality, but Kai insisted that they stay. He was sincerely grateful for Label's trust. Libella turned around and smiled broadly. Behind her stood the village elders, silently watching the arrival of the guest. The elders questioned Kai's group. He told about their journey. Hospitality was offered despite limited resources. Kai awkwardly thanked them. The elder met him with calm wisdom and unexpected kindness. Jian arrived at the village. The beast people warmly welcomed him, offering peace and loyalty. He questioned their loyalty. They responded decisively. They were not slaves but a family bound by choice. A young beast girl believed in Jean's kindness. She saw in him something different than in cruel people. Although hidden from the eyes of the world, the beast person knew no fear, only quietly trusted Jean. Jean pondered. The village was secret, but its people lived openly as if they had nothing to hide. Jian found a strange dark stone, heavy and unfamiliar. It was not ordinary coal or just a stone. Interested, he picked up several stones nearby. Their weight and feel suggested that it was something valuable, metallic. He questioned the village elder. The origin of these stones troubled him. They were not from here. The boss said it was iron ore, and their job was simply to dig it up. He offered to pay but learned that all supplies were already reserved by contracts, so he proposed to buy the next batches. Jian offered help in negotiations, confident that he could squeeze better terms than their old contractors. But the elder hesitated, bound by a promise, and no one knew when the next delivery would come. Jian looked at their modest huts and wondered, why do they live so poorly, selling such valuable iron? A young animal-like girl shyly brought him porridge, simple but made with love. Jian realized it was not porridge, just rice water, but prepared with soul and incredible sincerity. Jian smiled gratefully and took the porridge, hiding his reaction behind a strained, polite joy. To thank for the kindness, he treated them to potatoes and invited La Belle to join their simple meal. Out of happiness, La Belle agreed and, excited, rushed off, promising to tell everyone in the village about everything. Jan quietly pondered, watching Ren intently. Even Katie, as always serious, silently expressed her approval. The porridge that night was simple and thin but unforgettable. It tasted of effort, warmth, and unexpected tears. In the dead of night, Jan woke up. Outside the village, there was a movement that carried the echoes of centuries. Label appeared in the doorway, out of breath. She insistently asked him to get up. Something was wrong. The city guards reached the foot of the mountain. Their appearance threatened the hidden werewolf village. Jin learned the truth. People were never allowed to enter here, and the werewolves lived in complete secrecy. He agreed to leave quietly. Libel waited patiently, and his companions silently prepared nearby. Jan thanked them with food. A pot of potatoes surprised and delighted everyone. Libel prepared for flight. Jan hesitated, but still with cautious determination climbed onto the wooden sling. Seeing this strange belt, Jan realized, this is not a cart, it is for flying. They soared through the sky. Jin panicked when the world disappeared beneath them. He was afraid he would fall now. They landed safely. The girls teased him, laughing, and Jan trembled. His courage had melted away still in the air. Zion sincerely thanked Lebel and others and promised to keep their village a secret. They said warm goodbyes. Lebel was glad to have met strangers again and hoped they would meet again. She joyfully flew away. Zion waved goodbye, leaving a gift in her house. They safely reached the city gates. John and his companion were tense and tried to blend into the crowd to remain unnoticed. After a long journey, John first ordered meatballs. Hunger overcame all plans, and their life in the town began. John noticed a large crowd and learned that this city was an important pilgrimage site. Interested, he asked if it was possible to open a shop, and it turned out that sellers needed permission to trade. The merchant explained how everything worked. John had to go through the state trade guild. Zion agreed and immediately began investigating. He decided to first gather information and contact allies. For privacy, he asked comrades to form a human curtain while he secretly prepared something. Jin noticed KDE wandering the streets. Her eyes shone with surprise, and she carried vegetables with childlike delight. She smiled broadly. Many years had passed since she left the island, and everything seemed fascinating. They decided to ask around. The city was teeming with people. Someone had to know something. Ren steps onto the bustling city market, calmly leading the animals behind him while merchants loudly trade around him. Noticing a guild worker, Ren raises his hand, hoping to ask if he can sell his goods. The merchant looks over everything with open admiration and asks Ren where he is from, and Ren explains that he came from distant Scorpu. While inspecting the goods, Ren's companions started talking about a huge castle, and the locals seemed confused about its name. They point to the largest building, the old cathedral. There is no castle here, only growing uncertainty ahead. Ren looked at the towering cathedral. The name of Saint Tess Rukia touched something deep inside him. When Ren heard about the miracles, he felt pain. The saint's name reminded him of his missing sister. His sister Rukia bore the same name as the saint. Perhaps this journey was connected more than he realized. Though he was trembling, Ren insisted. First, let's find the town of Katie, and the team agreed. They watched over both together. Despite the failure, Ren's trade business flourished. With the money earned, he planned to build something entirely new. Ren first grabbed medicine and iron. He intended to send them from Kaiti to the island. The group was wandering the city streets, questioning people at every step. The locals listened but still did not give clear answers. The group of pilgrims recalled Godier, a distant town. that a soldier once told about after his journey. This name stirred ancient memories. It belonged to the old Lime League Empire, which was once a mighty power. Finally, they had a place. Grateful Ren brought gifts, and this brought them one step closer to the lost city of Kaidi. Ran assures Kedi, if they follow the imperial paths, reuniting with her parents is possible. Cade smiles through tears, calls him Anishin, filled with new hope and sincere gratitude. When the sun sets, Vren stands firm, ready to face any trials. The journey must continue. They collect holy water in the temple, preparing to move on with divine protection in their hands. Ren learns that the trade of iron is controlled by the temples, and all materials pass only through the hands of temple servants. Ren suddenly realizes that the temple is not just a religious place. Secretly, it controls national industries, such as iron production. The temple controls the islands through intricate supply chains. Ren thanks the clerk and dives deeper into the investigation. Ren suspects treachery. The temple buys iron for pennies from the defenseless settlements of winged people. Through her demonic appearance, Ren could not summon the abyss, so she prepares to investigate herself. The cleric addressed the blacksmith, avoiding conversations about raw materials, and this left the blacksmith disappointed and uncertain. Two mighty horses pulled a heavy cart. Ren sharply turned around, shuddering at its formidable appearance. The temple cart arrived with tribute, and Ren silently watched as priests gathered around him. And inside the cart, Vren recognized a familiar iron, the very one he once gave to the village of winged people. This only confirmed his suspicions. The temple collects tribute under false pretenses and profits from villages without giving any explanations. Returning home, Ren found himself face to face with his group. They were irritated and exhausted. They were fed up with constant delays and poor communication. Ren intercepts a video broadcast from the temple in the shadows. Figures are visible, confirming the suspicious delivery of cargo to the bishop. The bishop disdainfully rejected demands to return the hostages and coldly admitted they are weakened and suffering from malnutrition. They plan to use the prisoners even more, but exposing them to risks will reveal how exhausted they are. The bishop does not allow himself to be exposed. He hides the truth, manipulates events, and adjusts outcomes to avoid accusations and the watchful eyes of people. He accumulates stolen goods, hides behind moral excuses, and decides that only a blessed girl can be a witness to the hostages. The bishop raged they were executed anyway. He thought the townspeople believed they were already extinct. Ren silently boiled with anger. In the temple's delusion, he no longer saw even a drop of light. Enraged, Ren cursed the temple. He and his comrades rushed forward without hesitation or fear. They dashed to the carriage to expose secrets and put an end to the temple's insidious plans. Inside, the girl feels the presence of Libel. Ren realizes that the village spirit still lingers nearby. Ren shouts, exposing the temple's lies. His group faces resistance and is warned not to overdo it. Summoning hellish flames, Ren unleashes a terrible magical power. The burning heat swirls around, and the enemies realize they have brought the storm upon themselves. Ren's comrade attacks. Her beastly magic explodes and shocks the priests. Their power is no longer hidden. The mage with fox ears summoned flames to protect the cart, and nearby guards and curious passersby jumped up. Kai rushed to Libel, while soldiers reacted aggressively to the sudden appearance of the beastman. Libel trembled in Kai's arms, grateful for his protection after the fierce magical clash ended. The villagers gathered, whispering in horror as the beastman's flames flared near their sacred ritual path. Fear spread throughout the city. People pointed fingers, winged creatures and beast people appeared again, awakening ancient memories and anxiety. The peasants, blinded by fear and prejudice, shouted furiously and threw stones to drive away the beast people. Ren trembled with rage, confused by their hatred, while Kai begged to keep calm and quietly retreat. Kai decisively ordered Ren to create a distraction with magic. The divine soldier approached suspiciously fast. Ren released a huge fiery flash into the sky. Everyone froze and averted their gaze downward. In the chaos, they simply vanished along with the cart, leaving the soldiers confused and empty-handed. Angry over the escape, the priest ordered his men to immediately summon the heavenly commander. Meanwhile, Lebel panicked and screamed when she realized they had been transported to a completely unfamiliar place. Kai gently calmed Lebel and said they were inside Tenohira Kumura, a sanctuary created by divine blessings. A cheerful girl greeted Kai with drinks, impressed that he returned safe and sound with everything despite the chaos. As they regrouped and sipped tea, Kai confirmed their exit route: hidden, inconspicuous, and fully prepared. Ren swallowed calmly, but hidden anger made itself known. She imagined punishing everyone who would expose them. Kai looked at Label. She had already calmed down and, holding her breath, was admiring his blessing and the village with awe. Together they returned to the tavern, where Abyss was already waiting for them with a smile, rejoicing at their safe return home. The Abyss welcomed them warmly. Label was stunned when she realized that this was not the only hidden refuge. Elsewhere, the villagers were loading iron, and the temple servants watched as if hinting at secret plans ripening in the mountains. The exhausted bird people begged for mercy. They had been gathering iron for months, and their bodies could no longer endure more work. The priest insisted that everyone was struggling, claiming that the temple workers lived better but their families were still separated. The villagers begged to see their relatives, but the priests did not allow it until the term passed. A desperate father begged for mercy, but his daughter did not. For 6 painful, lonely months she teased her mother. With a heavy heart, the priest finally relented. He let in only the daughter, no one else. The priest found a clay vessel, declared that it was not for the villagers, and suspiciously asked where it had come from. Despite all objections, he claimed it was stolen and ordered the soldiers to immediately take it away without any evidence. The soldiers looted the forest warehouse and scattered the carefully gathered goods without remorse and without considering anyone's property. The priest mocked their despair and revealed the truth. This food was not for people but for livestock. Leibel could not bear it and burst into tears, realizing that the peasants had been deceived simply because they had no strength. Kai quietly watched as the tension in the room thickened, and Leibel finally spoke. Outside, a crowd gathered, troubled by recent events, and Kai ordered Abyss to take them to a safe place. Abyss said goodbye to Kai with hugs and promised to travel unnoticed, resorting to magic only if truly necessary. Waving farewell, Abyss set off to Tenohira Kimura, while Kai prepared to act in her absence. Abyss slipped into the city unnoticed, cloaked and focused, blending with passers-by as she moved. The city residents begged Bishop Sama to intervene. Rumors of beast people and resurrected winged ones filled them with terror. The peasants argued and spread lies about the winged people, accusing them of thefts, diseases, and claiming they supposedly had primitive minds. The bishop calmed everyone, raised the divine warriors to their feet, and voices of dissent fell silent in the cathedral. Despite protests, the bishop smiled coldly and said that winged people never existed. It was always a myth. Suddenly, the alarmed bishop heard a scream from inside. The name Mariella echoed through the holy hall. The bishop called for elite reinforcements. He feared that even the divine warriors themselves would not cope with the werebeasts and the consecrated threats. Calm and intrigued, the mysterious priestess finally agreed and directed her gaze straight at Kai's group. Later, in a funny scene, Ren confessed that she burned her clothes in the middle of the battle, and everyone was left speechless. Leibel dashed forward, wings spread wide, and her father hugged her tightly. Tears welled up in Leibel's eyes as she admitted everything they believed in was a lie. Kai saved her. Their kidnappers never planned peace, only manipulation and hidden intentions. Kai whispered everything he knew. Gazes fell on the enemy, who stood calmly and without reproach. Kai decisively declared that patience was over. They would save everyone and break free. The villagers insisted that they were safe in the temple, praising it as their only home and reliable refuge. They spoke of slavery, persecution, and survival of a history buried under rituals and stone dogmas. Kai noticed strange inconsistencies. No pilgrims, strict isolation, and the teachings concealed invisible chains of control. Leibel shouted the temple's promise was a trap, their agreement a complete lie. Leibel had special gifts. They used her gift to find iron all for their hidden purpose. Leibel confessed her blessing was Mitra, the god of search, who endowed her with the power to detect. While some doubted the true role of the temple, others defended its rules, despite the internal struggle. Tears streamed down the cheeks. Leibel demanded freedom from burdens, loneliness, hunger, and a life in constant hiding. Kai watched as Leibel curled up in pain and heard her truth. Determination flared in his eyes. An ally with sharp hearing warned that enemies in armor were approaching. Kai recognized the divine warriors. A clash was imminent. Scouts estimated 30 minutes. Tension thickened. Would they manage to talk, or would blood be shed? Kai ordered the villagers to hide and observe, while he would go forward and try to establish peaceful face-to-face contact. If negotiations failed, he commanded, protect the winged ones. Their safety was now above all. One of the allies suggested erasing evidence by disposing of the bodies. Kai recoiled. He was shocked by this cold, calculated cruelty. Kai did not succumb to pressure. No killing. If confrontation occurred, they would fight but not kill. Kai knew he was not ready yet, but the world gave no choice. It demanded action, not peace or delay. He ordered Abyss, if trouble comes, strike quickly and immediately knock out any damn enemy. Leibel sincerely apologized. Kai resolutely promised to act quickly. If negotiations fail, he himself will free the imprisoned women. Kai revealed his plan to save the mothers, and then together escape forever from the temple's control. Ahead awaited a new home, food, nature, shelter. Leibel and her people could finally live freely. Leibel doubted Kai's kindness, but he only smiled and said that fate alone had brought them together, nothing more. Encouraged, Leibel offered to help. Would she manage to find something more than just iron? She promised to try. Leibel summoned her gift, the eyes of a cormorant, the eyes of a hawk, God's eyes. A vision awakened beyond the usual. Her eyes instantly flared, a wave of images surged. She could now see from afar. Leibel noticed soldiers hidden in the trees. Kai quickly asked, how is that? She concentrated. She noticed 2 enemies near the mountain and accidentally saw Kai himself right in front of her. Leibel felt the women approaching were strong, both blessed and dangerously foreign. A group in armor approached the village. Complaints about insects masked their intent, domination and control. A beast broke out of the jungle and lunged at the dark-haired woman with savage, dazzling speed. Before it could strike, the curly-haired girl intervened and delivered a powerful blow to the warrior with divine precision. The woman with black hair stood opposite the beast, calm and composed. A terrifying, irresistible confidence emanated from her. The guard shouted, dust rose behind the trees. The delegation in armor arrived. She walked through the village, brushing off greetings. Her guard was significantly larger than usual. She sharply interrogated the elder, searching for the beast witch and her elusive master. Lebel was cornered. When asked about the kidnappers, she hesitated and answered uncertainly. Her memory was clouded. Irritated by Lebel's vague answers, the woman frowned. All this was simply wasting her time. She decisively demanded that they hand over Lebel. Her guards calmed her. The blessed had become temple priests. Lebel screamed, refusing. For her, family was above all. She begged them not to separate her again. She mocked diplomacy. Their true mission was clear, to take Lebel by force without excuses. Coldly smiling, she turned to her soldiers and hissed, then do your job. When the mage was not nearby, she struck. No offense, she said with a smirk, tightly clenching the slander. Her eyes sparkled. She whispered her spell, the puppeteer who binds souls. Control and cruelty merged into one. The puppeteer who ties souls appears and unleashes dark forces, and Yudo and his allies find themselves trapped, helpless. The puppeteer is suddenly shaken. The explosion passed through her, and her control over the allies was broken. Overcome with shock, a battle cry is heard. The fight intensifies, but the attack hits unexpectedly. Yudo and his comrades face the soldiers. Tension rises, because with every step the truth becomes more evident. The Eye of Truth reveals lies, exposing deception. Yudo remains calm. He knows the truth. The Udophanes activated the Eye of Truth. It revealed the bitter truth. The soldiers only wanted to kill them. The soldiers panic, get lost, and do not know what to do. Yudo's determination only grows stronger and orders ring out around. Determined, Yudo and his allies stand firm, ready to resist the advancing attack. A huge magical burst exploded in the air as Yudo and his comrades unleashed their powerful spells. The warriors, now gripped by fear, realize the power of the mages. Yudo demands that they surrender. Yudo doubts the intentions of the soldiers and suspects that a deeper conspiracy with the winged men is behind this. The soldiers reveal their prejudice. They say that the winged men steal the harvest and live reclusively. The winged men protest and defend themselves. We are simply following orders and living quietly in the mountains. A woman with one wing shouts out, condemning the soldiers' unjust verdict. Her anger is met only with indifference. Yudo and his comrades anxiously discuss the next step. Ren's absence raises questions, so they make plans. Yudo laughs off, briskly choosing clothes for their winged friends, but behind the laughter is barely noticeable anxiety. Suddenly an uproar arises, a whirlpool appears and throws everything into chaos. Yudo cannot believe what is happening. Emerging from the chaos, she teases Yudo and checks if she is safe, showing their closeness. A new, powerful opponent enters the scene and loudly declares that Ren belongs to him. Yudo's determination hardens. Tension rises. Yudo realizes what is at stake and feels guilty for escalating the situation. Gloats reveals that she turned Ren into her puppet. Yudo is stunned and enraged. The puppeteer demonstrates her control over Ren. He stands like a doll, and Yudo is left speechless. Ren slyly smiles as if sensing her control and teasing others. Yudo is worried because of her blessing. The group began to doubt. Was Ren hypnotized? Her behavior is completely out of place. The puppeteer orders to act, threatening to deal with anyone who stands in her way, even Yudo. The puppeteer teases Yudo, enjoying holding Ren under control. Yudo struggles with his feelings. She mocks him with her actions, pushing him to doubt the consequences of his deeds and fueling the conflict. Yudo demands answers about the winged people and pressures the puppeteer for information before it is too late. The puppeteer, as if it is a trifle, calmly explains. She sells people with wings like expensive items. The Birdman, stunned and enraged by her indifferent devaluation of life and how she uses others, lunges at the puppeteer. The puppeteer exposes the dark truth. The bird girls have special traits that make them valuable. Yudo is furious. The puppeteer calculates her next steps, already planning to boast about catching Vren, displaying her as a trophy. Chaos erupted when Ren suddenly attacked, and Yudo found himself in the midst of violence. Despite the clash, Ren calms Yudo. It was all a cleverly planned trap to extract the needed information. The group learns about Ren's blessing. It allows her to use another god's ability without any restrictions. Yudo gently calms the Birdman, explaining how his timely intervention saved their lives, and they share a quiet understanding for a moment. The Birdmen were resolutely preparing for battle to protect their village, despite the odds being against them. Resolutely deciding to change their fate, they swear never to be weak and ignorant again. The young bird girl sincerely thanks, moved by Yudo's support and his determination to help their village. Yudo leads the assault with his team, planning a rescue mission to save the village and spill as little blood as possible. Kai flinched when the fox girl got so close, immediately worried what if Abby gets jealous and angry. Libelle looks suspiciously and asks if something is happening here, but in reality, everything is completely innocent. Kai and his comrades soar over the mountains, searching below for possible enemies. Libella came across 8 blessed people in a distant city, but says there are no mages there. Kai and his allies noticed a dark building, and he felt that his mother was inside. One of the team members reports seeing soldiers in the house, but they sighed with relief the blessed are still alive. The group froze suddenly. The enemy, it seems, has some mysterious ability to see them. The Fox and Kai understand that the security in the building is much stricter than they expected, and this only increases the tension. Ren and the Fox girl prepare for a fierce attack, using fireballs to distract attention. Their efforts caused a powerful explosion that shook the building and gave the signal the battle begins. Kai orders a temporary retreat and strongly urges everyone to remember their place. It will be needed when the time to act comes. The group stops to gather themselves, and before them unfolds a panorama of mountain ridges warning of danger. The old Griffin leader assured the group in a firm voice, "Staying in the mountains is our only option." The decision to remain hidden is challenged. Some ask if it is really worth continuing to hide. A young girl insisted she would stay with Kai anywhere as long as they were together. The Griffin leader thoughtfully recalls their struggle for freedom and with a heavy heart realizes more battles ahead are inevitable. 2 tiny feline creatures quietly prowl in the darkness searching for needed items. One of the characters, sighing with relief, finally finds the needed item while they carry out their mission together. In the neighboring tavern, rumors spread throughout the town. Supposedly, the winged people are still alive. Anxiety grows. The peasants whisper about their fears and ask themselves whether those winged men really pose a threat. A figure in a cloak fearfully says that those winged ones must be destroyed so that there will be no problems in the future. Another figure stood up for the rights of the winged men, fervently insisting that their teachings must decisively reject any discrimination. The one who spoke before feels the pressure, withdraws from the dispute, and clearly hesitates due to the constant noise. The winged men openly protest, holding signs, demanding their rights, and shouting for justice and recognition. The protest does not subside. The city is divided. Kai intervenes, gathers support, and calls for peace. Kai talks about the cruel treatment of the winged. They were forced into hard labor and sent to secluded mountains. A shocking discovery. It turns out the temple controls the distribution of iron, and evidence of corruption was nearly destroyed. Kai prepares for the demonstration, ensures it proceeds peacefully, and resolutely defends the rights of the winged men. The group nervously wonders if their plan will work. Pilgrims arrive, and the city lives in fear of the winged people. The plan is to reach out to the pilgrims, who may have more progressive views, to strengthen their cause. Kai passionately urges the group to act, insisting that the truth must be revealed to the people. Tension rises as Kai fervently insists that they must stand against the temple's atrocities to prevent further harm. Kai appeals to the pilgrims, begging, "Tell the truth and side with the winged men." The conversation becomes emotional. Kai and his comrades plead for unity, emphasizing shared beliefs and the pursuit of justice. The crowd freezes, listening attentively as Kai delivers a passionate speech, while others whisper about the growing unrest. A huge crowd gathers before the shrine. Winged men and city residents march side by side. The bishop and his assistants react to the unrest. With every noise, they become increasingly agitated. The bishop freezes in horror when he realizes the situation is escalating and tension in the cathedral is mounting. The bishop rages, realizing that their plans have failed because rumors about the winged people have spread like wildfire. Hostile forces prepare tensely for battle, and the bishops anxiously begin to question the failure of their plan. The winged men proudly march into battle, declaring themselves and standing together against oppression. With burning determination, the leader of the winged men vows to break free from his chains forever. The temple looms huge as the man desperately demands the return of his wife and daughter. A passionate rally gathers near the temple. People loudly protest against the unfair treatment and exploitation by the church. The bishop exits the temple, bewildered by the commotion stirred up by the angry crowd. The man beside his faithful bird begs the bishop to fulfill the promise he made a year ago. The bishop pretends to know nothing, dismisses the man and all his claims, and the tension instantly rises. The bishop manipulates the crowd, calls the accusations lies, and accuses them of serving the devil. The bishop, full of rage, threatens the group with violence and shouts that their disobedience is blasphemy. The confrontation intensifies. The man challenges the bishop, exposes his lies, and accuses him of hiding the truth about winged women. The bishop slyly smiles, pretending innocence, rejects all accusations, and confidently declares he is guilty of nothing. Tension mounts, allies discuss strategy, and one is already preparing to act, determined to protect the group. The bishop conspires with his ally, promising strict security so their secrets remain safe. The guards around the chambers of the winged women proudly boast that no one will get through easily. The determined ally launches a powerful attack that cuts through the defense with furious force. The leader commands the squad to rush forward, urging, "Faster, let's break through the enemy lines." A fierce clash swept across the battlefield, sending shockwaves, and the guards barely hold back the onslaught. The group rushes through the building, tense from sensing the proximity of winged women hidden inside. The winged women, pressed close to each other in fear, did not realize that the rescuer was already approaching while they waited for freedom. The rescuer bursts in, burning with determination, and reassures the women that he has come to free them. The winged women froze in shock when they learned that their husbands were alive and not dead. The group rushed to flee, the women impatiently eager to break free, still not believing they had been saved. 2. The bishop rejects the accusations, hiding behind the fact that the city is large and full of discrimination to justify his actions. The bishop coldly brushed off the pilgrims' fears and denied the existence of families of winged women. Tension rises. The bishop orders the arrest of protesters, accusing them of creating chaos. The bishop's mask slips, and he angrily denies that winged women were here, but his words tremble. Suddenly, winged women burst into the room and challenged the bishop, his lies, and his authority. The audience gasped and froze in shock when the winged women displayed undeniable evidence of the bishop's lies. The mother tightly embraced the child. The joy of reunion overwhelmed them, as if driving away all their troubles. The family was together again. Now the father with wings was nearby, and everyone felt a light relief from being reunited. Once a chaotic city now witnesses a powerful spectacle. Dozens of winged figures rise in unison. The bishop found himself face to face with the decisive moment. Before him stood the truth and the defiance of the women. The bishop, still in denial, tries to brush everything off, suspecting that a subordinate orchestrated this scheme. A figure praises the hero for his courage and calls him a man of justice because of these deeds. The hero, not knowing what to do next, listens to the priest's praise but remains wary of the upcoming trials. The priest's smile darkened as if hiding a greater plan, while he said he would bring the bishop to justice. With the last ominous word, the priest says that the real judgment is still ahead for the bishop. The mysterious figure named herself B. Closser, the infamous Inquisitor, and a wave of shock rose in the room. The bishop nervously tries to hide it, brushing it off as just a coincidence, but doubts still remain. Calmly, Bihi reveals the Empire's plan to invade Ravalda, preparing the ground for even greater chaos. The main hero felt a flash of horror when he saw the sinister figure, the shadowy evil god. Terror gripped the hero when he recognized Bihi, the one who sent him to the island. The protagonist is stunned by the news of the Empire's invasion. His hometown is under threat. Inquisitor Biha Closser, with an excited gleam in his voice, praises the main hero for his sense of justice, comparing him to a saint. Bihi admits the gods controlled the hero, proving that his actions are part of a higher design. Having completed the task, the hero says goodbye. The women with wings sincerely thank him. Seeing that he was tired, the companion gently encouraged him, reminding him why this journey is so important. The main hero assures his friend that he is fine, although heavy, unbearable thoughts press in his mind. In a comforting gesture, the companion embraces him, giving a quiet moment of peace amid the chaos. As they hug, his companion gently holds him and whispers that everything will be all right. Overwhelmed by what happened, the hero cannot help but smile. He suddenly realizes how much he has actually gained. With new determination, he vows to be strong and promises to lead his people to safety and a better future. Kai stumbled upon an underground water vein, a discovery on which the development and survival of the village depend. The group agrees to dig a well near the bathhouse. Now getting water will become much easier. Exhausted from hard work, the team finally rests, enjoying peaceful moments together. A week passes. Kai's group warmly welcomes newcomers, feeds them, and gradually makes life on the island better. However, worry appeared on Kai's face. His thoughts lingered on the deeper problems of the island. Libel asks Kai to gather firewood and happily invites him to go with her to help. The mountain towers in the distance, its steep cliffs reminding of the island's secrets. Libel recalls her old clashes with the temple and feels deeply grateful as Kai protects her here on the island. Libel desperately worries about Kai. Since they returned, something is wrong with him. Kai's friends resorted to comforting lies, suspecting that his silence might be caused by family concerns. Libel resolutely decides to search for Kai's family and vows to fly across the ocean to find them. Libel is eager to take off, but her friend loudly warns, such a reckless act can be very dangerous. Libel's desperate flight is stopped by her friend. He grabs her and prevents her from flying out of control. Libel objects, but her friend insists. She is worried, especially since her impulsiveness could further disturb Kai. Libel considers calming down, but the desire to help Kai feel better is stronger than what is happening. Ren suggests trying the water and the bath, joyfully excited. This is the first real test of the well. Kai sits alone on the shore, watching the waves and reflecting on the actions of the Inquisitor and the role he might have played in the past. Kai recalls reading about the history of the temple and their cruel treatment of heretics, and the truth shocks her. Kai wonders how the Inquisitor could be involved, and worries that the survival of the island is at risk. Despite doubts, Kai is not sure if the Inquisitor really knows about the curse that haunts him. A man warns Kai about the upcoming invasion of the Empire on Leverdu, and hints that danger is already approaching their island. La Belle, shocked by the news about Leverdu and the Empire, fears the Inquisitor's role in this conflict. Kai, with the burden of responsibility on his shoulders, decides to protect everyone on the island and swears to become their king. La Belle notices Kai's detached gaze, but he moves on with the burden of responsibility he carries alone. Libella, determined to help, demands that Kai go with her without any questions. Her determination is evident in every movement. The golem picks up Kai. He is completely confused, not understanding at all where they are heading and why. Dragged to the half-built site, Lebel demands the golem to undress him for something. Kai loudly protests when the golem tries to undress him, insisting that he will do it himself. He came across an unexpected sight. Many women gathered as if preparing for something he did not expect at all. The women warmly welcome Kai and promise to heal him, which completely changes the mood of the moment. The women tell Kai about the custom of naked communication in his country, and their ease takes him by surprise. Libella offers Kai a warm bath and gently reminds him that it is exactly for making him feel better. Kai enjoys the bath, but the unfamiliar customs of this new world simply overwhelm him. Lebel sits nearby and carefully checks if Kai is comfortable, worried about his reaction to the water. Lebel teases Kai, saying that he is the real star of the day today and praises him. The bath turned out great. The girl with a sparkle in her eyes exclaims, "I am first in line to be next to Kai, and all the others just watch." When the bath fills up, several women reach closer to Kai, creating playful chaos. Libel smiles and tells about a method she learned from her big sister Nell to lift Kai's mood. Kai wonders, was his gloomy mood really that noticeable, if Lebel claims that everyone noticed his change. One of the women gently says that Kai is a king loved by all and comforts him as he reacts. The group calms Kai and promises to stand by him, no matter what path he takes. One of the women encouraged Kai to open up and speak out his worries, gently reminding him that he is not alone. Holding her hand, he realizes that by sharing his problems, he will become stronger thanks to the support of his people. In a newly built treehouse, two gay men sat on the horizon, patiently waiting for guests. The boy, worried, talks about unpredictable appearances, hinting that there are long pauses between them. In a distant temple, a sacred ritual marks the moment when a child receives the divine seal. Looking at the island, they discuss their mission to help the children marked by the evil god. Thinking about the past, they puzzle over the mysterious organization and the strange timeline that unfolded over decades. A mysterious bird flies overhead, as if it knows the true intentions of the secret Farley religion. After the morning patrol, they said, "No ships in sight. The island remains cut off from the world." Discussing the dense trees of the island, they suddenly realize smoke from the fires where food is cooked helps spot ships. The bird-like companion went to wash, and the tension eased a bit until the annual threat to the island passed. They talked about how the little bird loves to bathe after flying, and for a moment melted into light, cozy camaraderie. While they watch the bird, the young man feels the coolness of the sky, although it is warm outside. The bird-like companion excitedly shares everything indiscriminately, knowing no bounds. The girl hands Kai a strange stone and says he has never seen anything like it before. Stunned, Kai realizes what kind of stone it might be and feels that something deeper is hidden within it. The girl proudly explains that it is iron from their village, which grew and formed on the island. Kai was surprised when he learned that the peasants call that stone amifugane. This word has a special meaning. Realizing that it might be meteoritic iron, and amazed at how history is rewritten here. Laughing, they joke that they absolutely do not want meteors to fall on the village. They walk through the village, lively discussing how by trial and error using the new iron they make clay pottery. The character enthusiastically suggests using magic to make the iron more spectacular, but Kai disagrees. A peasant enthusiastically joins the magic lesson, practicing fire magic REN. The peasants began learning magic, and some were already showing their new skills, summoning bright tongues of flame. Kai watches in delight and dreams that he too could control the elements fire and lightning. When one of the peasants teases Kai about his envy of magic, a playful moment arises between them. Kai thoughtfully senses the difference. Ren's magic is a completely different powerful level, while the peasant's skills are simple and basic. They are still learning. The group discusses the arrival of the ship, and Kai sternly warns, everything he does not recognize is better to avoid. Suddenly, a bird-like companion appears, urgently warning Kai that something is wrong, sending alarming signals. In panic, a comrade shouted that a ship was heading towards the island, and this only heightened the tension. They frantically ask for all the details. How many ships? Are there any special people on board? The anxiety only grows. Cameron approaches and gently calms Kai, explaining that in the distance there is only one tiny boat. Kai, burning with the desire to feel the heavenly swing, asks to try it first. He needs a better view. When they approach, they see the ship barely moved. It is neither approaching nor retreating. The ship clearly emerges into view, a simple vessel with only a few people on board. And thanks to sharp eyesight, they notice the crew throwing a net into the sea, which only fuels their curiosity. Looking more closely, they decided, It is a fishing boat, although there was still a chance it was actually a reconnaissance ship. Without hesitation, Kai ordered to keep watch on the boat. He is not going to jump into action until more is known. Kai landed and discussed the condition of the ship, and Cameron dryly remarked that it was just a fishing boat. They both pondered the mystery of the island, and Kai asked if the ship knew about their hideout. While they were throwing out options, the ship sailed away without docking, leaving more questions than answers. Feeling a possible threat, Kai begins to recheck the island's defense, and with horror realizes that it may not be ready for an attack. The next day, Kai knocked on Enel's door and with hope in his voice, asked to try synthesizing a few warrior Kyun seeds. He calls El, but not hearing a response, he goes inside and looks around. While he is still looking around, suddenly a celebration breaks out. He reaches level 30. The announcement caught Kai by surprise. He stood confused while others loudly congratulated his success. Feeling the full weight of the moment, he notices that the village sign has been updated and now speaks about this new milestone. Kai is shocked when he learns that the village was renamed to Village of the Mage of Hellfire. In the village, Kai and Cameron watch as the ordinary settlement grows and transforms into the land of mages. The village council launches a new feature, the Mage of the Village of Hellfire, with a special trading zone. Cameron explains that craftsmen have come to the village. They create unique, one-of-a-kind items that villagers can now buy. The idea of special shopping with real money appears, and Kai skeptically asks, "Why do we need those gold coins?" Walking around, Cameron recalls the village's iron products already in circulation and tells Kai about new things that we'll soon see. Kai and Cameron come to the smithy and look with admiration at the bustling place, where everything is boiling with work and the constant sound of hammer blows is heard. In the smithy, the experienced blacksmith urges the apprentice, "Keep hitting the hot metal." The blacksmith closely watches the delicate work of shaping the metal, leading his team with precision and confidence. When the metal cools, the blacksmith resorts to his magic. He releases fire to complete the work. The spectators, including Kai and Cameron, watch with admiration the power of the blacksmith, who combines magic and craft. Kai and Cameron gaze in awe at the skillful hands of the blacksmith. He also protects the village. Cameron advises Kai to accept the offerings left near the statue erected in his honor, as if he were a god. Kai approaches the statue and asks himself, is this the offering he should accept? Holding a knife, Kai thoughtfully looks at how far the village has come and feels, this is an important step forward. The villagers enthusiastically greet Kai, glorify his divine presence, and notice that the knife is suspended in the air. Kai understands that the villagers have created a new faith around him and now glorify his influence. Kai reflects on the village's progress. It is already at level 30 and ahead are even more opportunities. Kai gathers everyone to discuss the village's plans for the future, with the main focus on defending the island. Kai worries about possible threats from the temple and seriously considers relocating the village for safety. The villagers said they are loyal to Kai and will follow him wherever he goes. The villagers anxiously worried about the children. The temple is going to leave the island. The girls trust Kai's decision and ask him to find a safe place before the temple strikes. Yuri reproaches Sarah, but others tell her that Kai is very concerned about everyone. Kai faced a difficult choice, to abandon the island or lead it with him. Kai stands firm and confidently says that the place does not matter, only the people and their well-being are important. Kai addressed the villagers with a difficult choice. Will you stay and fight the temple for your land? All 49 villagers raised their hands, unanimously deciding to stay and defend the island. Kamorian asks if anyone was against it, but Kai firmly says that everyone agreed to stay and fight T. Kai anxiously speaks about possible threats from the powerful forces of the temple, feeling a real danger. Cameron reassures Kai, saying that despite the threat from the temple, they want to stay with him. The peasants, full of gratitude, told how much better life had become on the island despite the difficulties. They swear to fight the temple if it comes for them, but Kai insists they need to prepare. Kai speaks with fire in his voice, calling those who still want to follow him to join his cause. Cameron thought gloomily, leadership is a cruel thing and Kai will have to make hard decisions. Kai the Resolute says he needs only one thing for everyone to be happy while they live. Kai finally decided to live to the fullest to make up for what was lost in the past and move forward. Kai outlines a plan to defend the island, focusing on strengthening the hidden landing site where enemies might come. A peasant asks Kai if they will fight on the island if the enemy attacks before they have time to prepare. During strategic discussions, Kai keeps thinking, a safe retreat plan is needed if the temple forces attack. Kai insists for tactical planning we need a detailed map of the island. Kai orders Abyss to draw a larger map of the island so they can better plan their actions. Abyss energetically works on the map, and as a result an expanded version appears showing the plan of the island. Kai sincerely thanks Abyss for the map, and intends to seek help from the winged people to work on it in detail. Kai asks Abyss what she thinks about the unexplored northern side. The magic there felt somewhat unnatural. Abyss admits that she also woke up on the northern side of the island. Kai held his breath when he heard Abyss's revelation. On the northern side hides a laboratory over 1,000 years old. The group slowly ascends the mountain by cable car, heading into the very heart of the forest. Interested, they argue whether to go explore the ruins, but some are afraid. They say it is dangerous there, everything is falling apart. In the ruins, they find strange stones like a clue that a human structure once stood here, long forgotten in the wild wilderness. Ahead lies danger, so they consider how to use fire magic to burn obstacles and secure their path. While they were exploring, one of them stumbled, clearly shaken by something terrifying in the ruins. Abyss feels unwell, and this worries the whole group. Everyone is concerned about her condition. They decide to take Abyss back south, avoiding the dangerous path through the village Tenohira. To secure Abyss, they devised a lightning-fast plan to move her back as quickly as possible. With determination, they rushed through the wilderness, every step bringing them closer to safety. Abyss was returned quickly, and safely. Everyone was stunned by how swiftly the journey ended. Abyss says that everything is fine now, but she is tormented by the thought that she might be a burden to others. Abyss admits that she has amnesia. She only remembers that she was a copy of a mage 1,000 years ago. The group thinks that Abyss might have been created without her memories, like a blank slate. The team decides not to rush into the ruins again, first to prepare thoroughly and take care of Abyss's safety. Abyss apologizes for what happened earlier, and with a light smile says she always relies on Ren. Yuri suggests building a defense system, while the team passionately debates various ways to fortify the island. Ren's enthusiasm faded when she heard their plans to explore the ruins were postponed, and she felt empty. Kai carefully examines the detailed map of the island, mentally calculating where best to build the fortress. The group tense discusses that they will have to enter the forest to break through to the next zone. A new plan has appeared to install long-range strike means that will outpace the enemy and prevent ships from invading. Kai fervently proposes to dig a deep trench in a strategic location, so that breaking through the defense becomes almost impossible. Yuri notices the place is far from the coast, it is hard to spot from afar. Kai emotionally explains why both bows and magic are so necessary when digging the earth to build defensive walls. Kai compares this situation to a tower defense game. He is having fun and is already devising a strategy. Kai realizes our defense cannot hold and decides a new weapon is needed to cover the entire defensive line. Yuri, with a mischievous sparkle in his eyes, suggests betting on the seeds, but Kai firmly says they will just keep working without any bets. Kai makes Monk-chan's white seeds, but they are so beige that they are hard to distinguish. Kai tries to create a camouflage seed, but the pattern turns out so that it completely blends with the countertop. Next, they create a transparent seed, but it is so hard to see that they fear will it disappear completely. Kai counts the created seeds black, camouflage, and transparent, but stubbornly cannot figure out the last one. The next day, the scene changes. 3 small creatures quietly nap in bed. Kai and the others do not believe their eyes. Their creations grew so quickly it's already time to harvest. Each creature has its own special abilities. Mage Kun uses all 4 elements, Ninja Kun skillfully acts in the shadows, and Angel Chan enhances magic. The little creatures seemed instinctively drawn to the first warrior Kuns who were born earlier. Ren jokingly says that warriors do not suit her and teases them because of how they behave. Kai sincerely talks about the progress of the regime's construction. Ren suggests using magic to burn the tree roots. Ren wonders if Kachin can really make the trees leave on their own, while Kai meanwhile praises his skills. Kai skeptically asks if the shape of the trees matters for the spell, and Ren smiles and says no, it does not. Kai asks Ren if Kei-chan can carry the dug-up earth to the fortress, and Ren agrees to try. Ren uses her magic to move the dirt, but something unexpected happens. A giant slimy creature forms. Ren successfully creates Dirtkun, a strange slimy creature made of dirt that begins to move. Kai wonders, will this earth come to life if given at least a name? Ren hesitantly tries to breathe life into the earth, although she is not sure if it is even possible. Kai begins to think that, although the conditions are similar, naming might work and it's worth trying. To everyone's surprise, the creature made of mud twists into shape and seems to come alive, appearing with a cheerful, smiling face. The muddy creature named Dirtkun impresses Kai and Ren with its movements, showing what it is capable of. Ren happily says she is glad how useful Dirtkun is, and Kai jokingly adds that she is praised only for the painted face. Kai says that due to population growth, they need to go on an expedition for supplies, and Ren joins this plan. Ren quietly confesses her goal is to find Keed's family, and this journey is very close to her heart. Ren imagines that she can meet her parents again and holds on to a tiny spark of hope. 2 plush animals look inquisitively at the village in the distance, and the sign reads, "Temporary Life." Kaitai, sitting on the grass, excitedly tells her plush toys about a dream that was about them. Keed recalls her 5th birthday moment when her father gave her 2 plush toys. Caddy looks into the horizon, wondering if her father will ever find her tea. Tears are in Keed's eyes, so dreams of seeing her parents again. Keed hopes to meet her parents again. She wants to reassure them and say that she is fine and safe. Kaide bitterly regrets and calls herself stupid. She suddenly realizes the risks, although the atmosphere is already tense. Plush toys embrace Keed with warmth, reminding her of her father's love and fueling hope for rescue. Kai, immersed in heavy thoughts, feels there is no hope. His older brother has already given up. Kite is now more determined, says she doubts help will come, but cannot hold back her sorrow. Keed is cheered by her plush toys, which gently say that showing your feelings is normal. Keed decided to act to do everything in her power, and promised to do her best to improve her situation. Kai discusses his plan for an expedition back to Scorpu, preparing for the next challenge. Worried about Kai, she warns him, a slave trader might be hiding in the city. Kai thinks he may have found a solution for Sarah's collar, and it wildly excites her. Ren talks about his experience in the village of winged people and their powerful priestesses. They discuss how Kei-chan tried to remove Sarah's collar with her power but failed. Kai suspects that the one who called might be a consequence of a blessing, and does not know what to do about it. Kai addresses the captive and asks if she knows anything about slave collars, promising her freedom in exchange. The captive confesses. It is a magical collar attached to the ceiling, but she insists that it is in no way connected to her own blessing. The prisoner explains that her blessing is not strong enough to break the collar, but it is dangerous. She says she is quite sure a blessing was placed on the collar, making it unbreakable. Kai is intrigued by how she seeks to uncover the secret of the collar. After all, it is a hidden secret. The captive admits the collar is a tool for controlling mages and female slaves. She hints only the one who put it on can remove it. Kai recognized Marina, a slave trader from Scorpio, and immediately understood this is a new obstacle on their path that must be overcome. While discussing the search for Kaida's family, the conversation about the collar turned into a request for help. Kai, with a burning gaze, says he wants to fight for the country because he believes mages are its indispensable strength. Kai is thrilled and cannot wait to see Sarah's magic, a rare opportunity, although Sarah herself is very modest. Sarah, blushing, asks Kai to go with her as soon as she leaves the island and regains her magic. Kai smiles and agrees to try what Sarah suggested the other day, waiting with a slight thrill for the new experience. Asking around what to bring from the expedition, the group cheerfully discusses alcohol and grapes. Wondering where the master is, Ren notices the horses and wonders, are they not looking for a bridegroom? The group notices the boat for Keed's experiment, and their gazes instantly focus on the new project. Delighted, they feel the boat rushing while Keed's experiment brings unexpected sharp sensations. Kai marvels at the speed of the boat. Santa Maria-chan, named after him, it rushes incredibly fast. Keed excitedly tells Kai that she will go with him on the next walk. She craves adventure. Kai insists on going with him because she knows the sea can ambush those who stay alone. Kai reluctantly agrees, realizing that having the power of Kai-Day on their side on the road is a huge advantage. The boat rushes forward. Keed shouts, "More power," and Santa Maria-chan speeds up. Keddy, full of determination, vows to do everything possible to see mom and dad. Kai and his team have already left the island, and their friends anxiously discuss their departure. On the screen, Kai, in a shock moment, his wild expression vividly highlights the unexpected turn. The team is thrilled with the new boat that Kai created, amazed at how smoothly and almost magically it works. Kai takes a short break and tells Kate that he will rest for a minute while they prepare for the journey. Kaida joyfully greets Kai, marveling at how she survived that wild boat trip without any problems. Kai rests on the grass and Kite jokingly threatens, "I'll kick you out." Katie is ready to comfort Kai with everything she can and asks him to rest if needed. Kai, still tired, agrees to tea, and meanwhile Kai-Day orders Koromo to bring it to him. After 4 days, the group reach the destination much faster, but Kai is still exhausted. After the last chaos in Scorpio, Kai decided to be cautious but again found himself in a mess. Kai entrusts Abyss with an important task to stand guard while they go to the market for supplies. Kide offers to take care of Kai, even when he continues to carry out his plans. The group arrives in Scorpu, carefully combing the streets and studying the town plan, preparing for the next steps. Kai and his team sneak through the market, trying not to attract attention. In the noisy market, Kai and his comrades look at various items but remain vigilant. Kai receives an unexpected offer for the cow, and the bargain suddenly takes a completely unexpected turn. Kai abruptly interrupts the negotiations, unwilling to delay, emphasizing the importance of the abyss. The price negotiations heat up, and Kai, to avoid raising market prices, agrees to a fair offer. Kai finally agrees to sell the cow for 7 gold coins, hoping this will finally conclude the deal. After the sale, Kai and his group are ready to buy everything they need and set off. Kai energetically communicates with a local craftsman, checking on the progress of the items he ordered. Kite excitedly notices another big catch and joyfully calls Kai to look at the new find. Kite proudly shows off his latest purchases: grapes, barrels, glass, and even 2 stallions. Keed was stunned with surprise when it turned out that one of the purchased items was a special sword, and she proudly shows her new sword, teasing Kai while she prepares to reveal what makes this truly unique. Kite excitedly shows a fiery sword, but Kai feels that this name is too simple. Kite explains that the sword costs 5 gold coins, and the flame in it is created by magic. Kai is worried he has no magic, but Kite reassures him anyone can use magic. Kai hesitantly tries to activate the sword, and suddenly tongues of flame burst from the blade he froze in surprise. Kite enthusiastically praises Kai for activating the sword, while they ponder how this weapon can help in their future plans. Kai said goodbye to the woman standing with a tray and went to carry out his next task. Kai follows the woman lost in thought as they walk through the village. Kai involuntarily remembered that Scorpu once belonged to Mondial, and the woman thoughtfully said that the town had not changed. Abbas joins Kai's team with fervent enthusiasm. An important mission lies ahead, and they are gathering more and more allies for their cause. The group approaches the ominous house of the slave trader Marina, gathered and tense preparing for what lies ahead. The group discusses their plan, preparing to use magic to deal with any resistance that may arise. Approaching the house of the slave traders, the group sees closed doors and not a soul inside. A woman from the house explains that the owner is temporarily absent attending to business. The woman quietly confessed that the master had gone to the port city of Namel to observe the war. Kai, hearing about Namel, slammed his hand, and at that moment realized what an important port city it was. Kai and Sarah discuss the upcoming journey to Godir, and Sarah is glowing with joy at joining him. Sarah asks Kai to take her with him. Her voice trembles with anxiety because of the collar and its burden. Kai hesitated for a moment, but eventually allowed Sarah to join him on the journey. He sincerely valued her company. Later that night, the group settles close together, falls asleep together, and quietly shares a peaceful, cozy moment. Kai, seeing the cramped space, quietly asks Sarah and the others to spend the night in the neighboring room. After breakfast, the group busily prepares for the trip to Nomel, lively discussing plans and options on how to remain unnoticed. When Kai and his companions entered the dining room, someone noticed them and instantly recognized Kai. His face had been seen before. The man who recognized Kai turned out to be a former comrade of the maid-slave trader. The road passes too close to the Imperial camp, so they decide to take a detour. The mercenary, released from his previous position, offers the group his services in exchange for work. The mercenary finally reveals the truth. He is a former mage of the Empire who could not join the war and now explains his situation. The group looks at the mercenary suspiciously and whispers that his offer to join might be a trap. The mercenary smiles and confesses the real reason he was defeated by this group. The mercenary admits his gut tells him, if we follow that group, a good fight awaits us. Ren and the group tensely discussed how serious this mercenary was. His knowledge of the Empire's geography spoke for itself. The group, though cautious, decides to trust the mercenary and allows him to lead them on the road. The group wonders, was hiring this mercenary a mistake? They doubt his true intentions. Despite the mercenary's dark past, some still believe he can be trusted, yet he remains potentially dangerous. The group fell silent, discussing the mercenary's past, his strange departure, and hints of noble origin. The group heatedly argued about how carefully allies must be chosen, warning that for money they might betray. The group is tormented, whether they can really trust this mercenary because his loyalty raises doubts. The group argues whether it is easier to hide in isolation than to risk trust, but they reject life in loneliness. Although doubts gnawed at their hearts, the group agreed to move forward, putting trust first but with caution regarding the mercenary. The mercenary intervenes at the last moment, laughing that he will not get angry, and says he wants to remove his collar. 10 days after setting out, the group finally arrives in the bustling port town of Namel. The group enters the market, looking into the lively streets teeming with merchants and townspeople. Suddenly, they realize with horror that they do not remember what the old man looks like at all, although they searched for him all over the city. The mercenary guesses that the old man is probably sitting in a bar killing time until he organizes his people. A powerful man near the bar counter, angry, demands the readiness of the Imperial army, banging a barrel on the table. The men were actively discussing how to assemble a fleet, especially considering that the Empire has no official fleet at all. A man named Fozel enters the bar, and the burly guy who recognized him greets him with obvious surprise. Fozel's comrades ask if he will join the fight, but he admits that he has another matter. The conversation turns to the figure in the mask, and immediately the question arises, who is he really, while the group looks on in confusion. In the bar, an angry man recognizes Fozel and orders his men to seize him immediately. Fozel confidently stated that he now works for this young man, pointing to him, his current boss. The group retreats to a quieter corner, where they discuss matters privately and prepare for the next steps. Fozella is forced to answer for the collar's spell, and tension grows between him and the burly man. A fierce negotiation unfolds. The burly man offers Fozel more than his current employer to switch sides. The burly man, interested in the masked figure, offers a deal and asks how much he is paid. The burly man accused Fozel. He steals goods and turns people into obedient slaves, saying this with obvious contempt. The masked figure threateningly warned the burly man, If he refuses to cooperate, he will regret it. The burly man, shocked and broken, thought about how it all happened and realized how serious it was. Having suffered defeat, the burly man issues the spell needed to get rid of the one who summoned Kor's court. Sarah calms the group. She does not sense the smell of lies and agrees to watch over Fazal. Sarah asks how everything went, and the group says that Fazal, although under pressure, answered honestly. Sarah, frightened by how that call affects her, asks if she will still be accepted if it captures her will. Kyrie gently reassures Sarah, don't worry, and prepares to help her with the collar. Kai promised to protect Sarah at any cost and swore that if necessary, he would undo everything done by the one who called. Sarah activates the Corsa Corda spell, and the collar explodes with a flash of light, a sign of freedom. Sarah happily exclaimed that the collar was finally removed. She sighed with relief and beamed with joy, while Kai looked at her. Sarah, overwhelmed with emotions, rushed to hug Kai and exclaimed, "Thank you," which completely surprised him. With eyes full of tears, Sarah wonders aloud how Kai can be so kind and thanks him. Kai, nervously embarrassed, quietly confesses that he loves her too, responding tenderly and shyly in the embrace. Kai, all nervously awkward, tries to explain his feelings, but Sarah interrupts him and also confesses her love. Sarah, overwhelmed by a wave of emotions, exclaims that she has fallen madly in love with Kai and has no idea what to do. Sarah, pressed in Kai's embrace, blushes and feels calm, knowing that her feelings are mutual. Tense conversation. The man firmly demands to return to him the one who called, although the boy warns that it is dangerous. Tension rises, the characters part ways and the man coldly brushes off the old man's worries. The group enters the market, and the boy notices with surprise 3 powerful mages nearby. The team eagerly discusses their journey, and with each word the power of their mages and the boy's mysterious abilities become clearer. While the team surveys the kingdom, the boy questions how the Empire treats levered in the kingdom, sowing doubts. The group hurriedly prepares to disperse. Urgent matters arise, and the boy is confused and does not understand what is happening. The boy decided to visit a familiar boat, and the man went on his own business. The group gathers at the market, gazes at the colorful stalls, and puzzles over what to do next. While shopping, whispers reach their ears that the war continues, and people are being recruited into the army again. A loud, drunk soldier interrupted their conversation, and his rowdy behavior made the girl feel very uncomfortable. The group finds itself under unwanted attention. Some man claims exclusive rights to the girls, and tension begins to rise among everyone. Tension escalates. The girl angrily throws her accusations in the man's face. She is furious because she is stuck. The boy abruptly intervenes, loudly shouting that the man is a soldier and demands that he stop his actions. The situation escalates. Threats of violence are heard, and the group tensely prepares to defend themselves. The girl instantly launches a powerful counterattack and surprises everyone with her fierce determination. The girl, engulfed in rage, sternly warns the soldiers to behave. Her irritation and strength only grow. But when the girl demands that the men stop, the boy tries to intervene and everything only intensifies. The fight continues. The soldiers lie unconscious and a more authoritative figure approaches them. The officer assessed the situation and regretfully stated that the soldiers were poorly trained. The boy became interested upon hearing the name General Enfield and suddenly realized that it concerned someone very close to him. The boy wonders why the girl's father works in the castle. A feeling suggests that some secrets are hidden ahead. A powerful explosion threw the boy into the air, marking the beginning of a dramatic turn of events 12 years ago. Even after the defeat, the mentor encourages the boy, believes in his potential, and vows to refine him. The boy resolutely refuses treatment and swears that the scar will become a symbol of his determination. The boy confessed, and the mentor only smiled slyly. In that smile there was a hint of something deeper. The healer panics and rushes away, promising to return with a potion to reduce the daughter's fever. Old friends met. One anxiously asks about Edward, the other quietly says he has urgent matters. A tense conversation unfolds. The boy froze in shock upon learning about the missing general's daughter. The boy, overwhelmed with emotions, demands the truth about the general's daughter and that loss. In the castle, the air changed. Now only priests can speak with the once powerful general. When the general refused to go to war because of his daughter's illness, it irritated people and sowed anxiety. Fazal returned. It was clear that the long conversation had thrown him off balance. Axel anxiously awaited news about what had happened. Faisal is stunned. The general says he does not recognize him, and he suspects the general is losing his mind. At the end, Fazal returns and finds the boy asking if his case is still unresolved. The boy asks Fazal about General Enfield, feeling that there is something more between them, but Fazal seems unwilling to share. The boy impatiently inquired about the general, hoping that he is the person they need to meet. A dark, playfully sinister figure asks if the boy intends to kill the general, and the air instantly fills with tension. The girl laughed, brushing off the hint of murder, and Fazal anxiously remarked that their journey was dangerous. The boy asks about the girl's connection to the general, anxiously suspecting that she might be the very one he is looking for. As soon as the name Kaidi was spoken, Fossel's alarm flared. It was clear that the rumor of her alleged death deeply shook him. The boy and the girl exchanged a triumphant glance. They realized they had found the person they were seeking. Fossel is surprised and a little irritated by the boy's jokes, but the atmosphere remains light and cheerful. The boy confesses that Fossel once came to his home when they were children, revealing their personal connection. The girl joyfully threw herself into Faisal's arms, exclaiming Faisal Nai-chan, and they embraced tightly and touchingly. Fossel, shocked and overwhelmed with emotion, learns that Kade is still alive and cannot comprehend this strange turn of events. The boy and the girl explain to the general that they urgently need his help and reveal the difficult situation they have found themselves in. Fossel agrees to help. He sees how important Kite is and is confident that the general will soon come to his senses. The general, lonely and steadfast, whispers Edward's name with deep resolve, hinting at a dangerous turn. Keed suggests writing a letter to their father, believing that he will immediately recognize her handwriting. They devised a plan to deliver the letter and bypass the censorship in the temple, and this filled them with excitement. Keed assures the group, finding their father is easy because they know his name. Keed's curiosity about the past ignites and she teases, hinting that a certain person will join them. Keed writes the letter, thoughtfully considering her plans while the others prepare for the upcoming journey. The letter reached the palace. Someone solemnly reads it, not even guessing who sent it. Tension hangs in the air. Everyone wonders why Edward has not yet replied to the letter. Libel worries, has Edward forgotten about Katie and their promise to meet again? Katie's friends are anxious and she waits tensely, knowing that Edward still has not left his post. Milord reassures Katie, assuring her that they will do something and sincerely offers her his support. A hurried chase begins. Someone urgently demands to speak with Edward and chaos reigns around. Amid the confusion, they suddenly realized. A massive, impenetrable guard surrounds Edward. Even the priest cannot approach him. A tense conversation broke out about the state of Edward's army. Everyone doubted whether he even realized these critical problems. The army is preparing for warships are being equipped, and urgent orders are being issued. They heatedly discuss how to meet Edward in person, realizing that their current approach will not work. The mages have sworn allegiance and are ready for action, impatiently eager to follow their master. They discussed what to do next, deciding to challenge Edward even though the Empire was against it. Although the mages are powerful, doubts do not recede. They question the balance of power and the very strategy. Preparation for war is complete. The team steals their will, prepares for the unknown, and will soon set out for Laverda. Tension rises as they devise how to force Edward out of hiding and meet with them. They see the ships ready to depart, but finding the people seems an impossible task. Quickly making a plan, they decided to entrust the search for people to Libel's keen eye. Libel was breathless with shock when she came across something unexpected on the ship that instantly caught their attention. They realized the ship was almost empty, only a few guards remained nearby. Orion gives instructions, arranging the team so that they prepare precisely for the next step. The team begins the mission, heading to Tenohira Pioneer Village, rapidly breaking through the water. Before them opens a huge ship in all its grandeur. The group froze in awe of its size and capacity. They heatedly discussed the plan and decided to call Yuri and others to help them get off the island. While the bustle of preparations is in full swing, the group plans to receive many guests, leaving Biss on guard. Tension rises. Chaos erupts in the castle, and the air fills with hurried footsteps. Panic spread through the command hall. It was reported that the ships are in flames, and this increases the chaos here. The ships burn fiercely. Smoke densely filled the air, a sign of a sudden attack. The signal torch of Keed instantly draws attention and prevents enemy forces from advancing into battle. Destructive force burst forward. A powerful explosion struck, clearly showing how fierce the battle was. The enemy mistakenly took Kide for a witch with silver, devil-like hair and felt the power she possessed. A mysterious figure appears, radiating an aura of strength and confidently taking control of the situation. Kide felt a sinister premonition and wondered, could this figure be connected to his past? A close-up on the monitor suddenly reveals the face of a mysterious man. This is Fossil. Everyone cannot believe their eyes when they recognize Edward fully armed and surrounded by mages and priests. Tension rises. Kide's friends anxiously call her as fear and worry grip everyone. Panic spreads among all as Keed rushes forward, shouting, "Follow me, let's leave the village quickly." The group sees Edward on a tall tower and Kite cries out to him in tears, "Papa." A young girl watches as a group of noble figures passes by, shouting "Papa," in despair. In the castle, his comrades desperately pulled Keed away, leaving behind a worried man. And that reckless warrior climbs and climbs, driving his allies mad, while others just watch his antics with distrust. Chaos erupted when the knight charged at his allies and knocked them down, causing panic and loud accusations of betrayal. Edward lies unconscious, his comrades shout for him to wake up, and the tension around only grows. A priest casts a grim spell and the group wonders, could these be the very threads that bind souls like puppets? The team splits into groups and quickly makes a plan. Ahead lies a decisive clash with the priest. A fierce battle flares up. The mage challenges Fozil and showers him with magic, determined to win. A powerful ice attack from the enemy mage stunned everyone and turned the battlefield into chaos. The enemy mage summons a vortex of destructive energy. Fear grips Fazil and his team. Edward interrupts the priest's spell, and confusion erupts in the group. Everyone realizes something completely unexpected has happened. Falzel, determined to stop Edward, tells his comrades to deal with other threats while he takes on Edward himself. The enemies unleashed a powerful joint magical strike, and Fossil and his team were forced to go on the defensive. Worried by the relentless battle, the group anxiously asks, how much longer will their two allies hold under this pressure? They bet on earth magic to break the enemy formation and thereby weaken Edward's influence on the battlefield. The enemy panics when an unexpected force disrupts their formation, catching everyone by surprise. Fossil and his allies launched a devastating joint strike, invoking the sanctuary of the Battle Maiden against the enemies. Noticing the enemy's protective shields, the group desperately rushed to break the earth magic that restrained them. The priest retaliates with destructive magic. His attack hits and chaos erupts in the castle. In the heat of battle, a voice calls the leader, a sign that a critical moment in the clash has arrived. Fozil and his team were caught off guard when sharp icy shards rained down on them from the priest. The brutal attack leaves Fozil wounded. Icy spikes pierce his body and shock everyone around. In shock, his comrades shout Fozil's name, desperately trying to understand why he sacrificed himself. Allies gather strength and launch a counterattack precise and powerful to gain control of the battlefield. The attack intensifies, and powerful magic from the sanctuary of the warrior bursts forth to protect and strike back. Ren, determined to protect Fossil, prepares a spell and shouts to his comrades to buy him time. Though everything is tense, the group is trapped. Escape is impossible while the battle rages around them. Keed, worried about her friend, asks if everything is all right, but she seems upset about something. Keed looks at the girl confused, realizing something is wrong with her, and her gaze becomes watchful. Angry and upset, the girl scolds her father, fiercely accusing him of reckless actions that hurt others. Angry and determined, the girl casts a spell to heal the inflicted damage, shouting at those who caused it. A mighty golem awakens, its colossal size and strength shaking the battlefield, throwing enemies into terror. The enemies resist the golem, but its ruthless power simply shatters them. When the golem strikes, enemy troops instantly panic. They realize the overwhelming might it carries. Frightened enemy soldiers flee desperately, trying to escape the destructive force of the golem, but their retreat proves futile. Keed shouts instructions in panic, insisting that she immediately cancel her power. Her skill activates, debris falls around amid the dust. Her unconscious father hears her faint voice. Keed rushes forward, gently slaps his face, and assures him that this reunion is not a dream. Confused, he questions reality. She categorically denies death and insists that they are alive and still in this world. Holding her tightly, he realizes he has returned. Together they decide to save her mother next. Kai jokes about this magical reunion. Fozil, still stunned, slowly introduces himself and asks questions. Kai warmly welcomes him and explains where they are. The pioneer settlement Tenohira, a peaceful place gradually expanding. Late at night, Rukia quietly enters her brother's room, resolutely determined to uncover hidden truths. Since Rukia received God's blessing, her eyes of truth began to reveal eerie secrets. She reveals the truth: her brother remembers things from before his infancy, confirming that both of them were once abandoned as children. The blessing ceremony is not far off, but Rukia is still searching for answers about her unusual brother. Now solemnly dressed, Rukia enters the sacred hall, ready to get to the truth about him. Rukia is anxious about her brother's absence, while the priest prepares to begin her ritual. When her cloak is lifted, a mysterious divine mark appears on her chest. Observers are gripped by panic and disbelief, as the robed figure demands confirmation of the symbol. The man in the robe trembled, overwhelmed with awe and fear, calling her appearance the fulfillment of prophecy. They realize that Rukia carries 3 divine spirits within her, an unprecedented phenomenon that instills fear even in the highest priests. The man in the robe gives thanks, and Rukia suddenly understands. Her gift is not just a single divine blessing, it is much more powerful. Recalling her past, Rukia boldly utters the full name of God, hiding her deep intentions behind these words. Although surprised, the priest sternly warn her, never again pronounce the name of God aloud. Rukia asks about her missing brother, but the Inquisitor suddenly evades the question, speaking of urgency. The Inquisitor looks piercingly and orders her to forget Kai, giving no explanation for his disappearance. Officials promise Rukia a wonderful future, but her heart freezes. Unanswered questions give her no peace. Lonely and confused, Rukia doubts everything: her brother's fate, her own strength, and what the church has planned. She breaks down confusedly, begging for clarity, while the Inquisitor, hesitating, utters her name. Rukia suddenly activates her divine power. She is determined to expose the truth hidden in his words. The Inquisitor panics because Rukia's eye has ignited. She says divine providence forced her to use it. Rukia sincerely admits she is losing control. The priests sternly warn her do not abuse divine power. She learns that her brother's god is considered evil, and such people are expelled from society. Rukia realizes with horror that her brother was taken by another Inquisitor, but fortunately the blessed never kill. She accepts her new life as a nun and vows to work diligently and always be attentive. Rukia, filled with determination, rushes to search for clues, find the special Inquisitor and find out what happened to her brother. Rukia, determined to reunite with her brother again, vows to find him at any cost. With burning determination, she vows to save him herself, accepting her role without hesitation. Elsewhere, Kai wakes up in an unfamiliar place, looks up, and sinks into quiet, distant thoughts. He suddenly sits up, remembering Leverda, and quietly wonders if Rukia is still safe and alive. And next to him, a girl confirmed that it was Rukia, as if hinting that her name is still remembered. Kai woke up and, finding Abyss nearby, froze in surprise. A guest enters the room, awkwardly teasing the whole situation. Although suspecting a strange coincidence of timing, Kai thoughtfully went over in his mind Abyss's dual form and how often he appeared nearby. He looks outside, recalls the ceremony, and suddenly realizes that in this world he is now considered an adult. Edward shouted to him, anxiously telling about all the recent changes since the NOMAL incident. Edward's family begins to build their home, and Kai, helping with the new settlement, enthusiastically explains what materials everything will be made of. Kai eagerly explains how the roof tiles are laid and suggests bringing more supplies from the pioneer village. They discuss divine blessings, and Kai cannot help but notice theirs is completely different, though it comes from the same god. The man questions the morality of the gods, and Kai wonders, why has no one seen them with their own eyes? He challenges the classification of gods and asks whether any signs can truly separate them completely from evil beings. Kai openly talks about his reincarnation, and they both understand. Divine powers are undeniable even if you do not believe in them. He doubts the label evil god because he believes that the temple's prejudice does not define the blessing of his daughter. While others build, he proudly plans a shared life, perhaps overestimating Kai's intentions. He insists that Keed will stay with him, regretting that constant work demands had previously distanced them. Suddenly he froze, silenced by shock. Keed had no intention of living with him at all. Desperate and confused, he pleadingly asks for answers, but he is told to address Kai directly. Kai advises asking Kai directly, but Edward hesitates. It is hard for him to honestly admit her feelings. Edward reflects on Kai's maturity and wonders if life on the island has made her emotionally distant. Unable to ask himself, Edward begs Kai to find out why Kai avoids living together. Edward instantly pushes the responsibility onto Kai, who reluctantly agrees, while others joke that Kaide might get offended. Helping Edward build a new house, he learns that Kaida will not live there. Kaida confidently announced that she will stay in the estate. She chooses family over life with her brother. She resolutely declares her independence, insists that she is already an adult, and refuses to obediently follow her brother's decisions without the opportunity to express her opinion. Although she was teased through Ren, she insists that she is no longer a child who needs constant parental care or rules. Despite Edward's words, Kite stays. Her desire to become stronger fades because warm comfort returns with her relatives. She pretends to be independent, but deep in her heart she still struggles with attachment to her parents. Kai asks for more winter coats, and Krumo agrees, asks for measurements and assures that everything will be ready in 3 days. During lunch, they notice mysterious silhouettes on the television, and anxiety grows when something completely unexpected appears on the screen. Kai secretly contacted someone. They speak quietly, hiding. Almost no one comes here. The girl learns that she is both a princess and a burden. Her past again threatens to bring trouble to the future. They realized Kai's foresight is deeper than expected, and his sharp mind is subtly hidden behind simple, casual behavior. Kai clumsily eavesdrops. Others allow it. They see that he understands nothing but believe his intentions. They notice Yuri's silent efforts. His diplomacy eases the tension between the royal wingfolk and guards. Although brilliant, Kai avoids bloodshed. Despite his strength in the previous battle, he refrained from killing. The general questions her intentions. He knows this meeting is not just a proposal to become Kai's mentor. She rejects apologies as if wanting to preserve her pain. The meaning of that battle still weighs on her. He suspects her motives are revenge, and she acts through Kai. She is silent, emotions hidden behind her expression. She refuses revenge. Her only desire is to forget everything: the past, the pain, the empire. She admits her helplessness. She cannot act, but still tormented by the question, what good can she still bring in the future? Grief overwhelms her. Memories of losses do not let go, and forgetting seems impossible until something new takes their place. She pours out her frustration over unspoken feelings. Although he sees what she feels, he still avoids the question. Kai becomes increasingly confused. She says she trusts Keed's father but does not want to speak directly about her personal struggle. She is convinced he lacks ambition, but trusts him. He brought his entire family to the island. He swears to protect Kai, She agrees and they separate the divine power from the corrupt temple authority and from faith itself. Finally, she openly says what worries her. The mercenary whom Kai trusts unconditionally may harbor danger. Although once a mercenary for a slave trader, Fossil's skills and his peaceful arrival make people accept him cautiously and sow doubts. They say Kai and Fossil seem close, but Fossil still keeps his distance from others. He says it is envy. She initially flinched from surprise, then gradually understood. Her discomfort is her own feelings. She admits Kai's smile towards Fossil stings her. Jealousy grows as doubts turn inward. Kai downplays the closeness, and Fossil's loyalty is firmly defended. Despite suspicions, there is no evidence of betrayal or espionage. To protect Kairi, he spread false rumors that he killed his wife and quietly left everything behind. She learns that he once asked for her hand. Political tension with the emperor forced him to leave quietly. The prince rejected by Princess Mondiala exploded with rage and triggered a chain of destructive events. She realizes that the root of the war is her rejection. He believed that she was the true target. The prince hid his proud motives. His orders fell directly on her and she, overwhelmed by fear, was forced to flee. They broke free from the empire, but fell into the hands of slave traders. This proves that the real goal was not their extermination. She doubts the role of the prince, refuses to believe that her homeland was destroyed out of petty envy. She restrains the desire for revenge on Kay's advice, but the very thought of another person pulling the strings worries her. Despite her restraint, a darker impulse emerges from within, demanding justice, punishment, and accountability for the stolen future. Kay watches silently, troubled. Her inner struggle and pain awaken even deeper anxieties in him. They agree the path forward is dangerous, so this conversation must be kept secret to avoid suspicion. The group contemplates what they overheard and Kay wonders, was this too much information? Kay admits she still has not given up on revenge. He understands she will not forget just because he asked. He decides to frankly tell everything to Yuri and the people of Mondial. In the castle hall, the group urgently discussed the dwindling supplies and the lack of materials for construction. Meanwhile, Yuri worked on the drawings to exhaustion, determined to help during the leader's temporary absence. After gathering all his thoughts, he set off to the pioneer settlement, hoping to find real ways to solve their problems. When he came, Kai brought ripe grapes and proudly told how they grew without problems and that the early harvest was successful. The taste of the grapes was rich, the skin was tough. Although it had flaws, it promised a good yield in future cultivation. Kai asked if it was possible to make wine. The girls enthusiastically suggested immediately starting the fermentation of the grapes. They instantly ran inside to change clothes, and he was impressed by their zeal and sudden bustle with costumes. In dresses, the girls stepped into the barrels and joyfully stomped the grapes with their feet to extract the juice. One asked about the clothing, and another said it helped set a rustic mood. They laughed, slipping and wildly stomping, while he doubted whether this traditional method was really practical. After stomping the grapes, they scooped the juice directly from the barrel and served it to Kai. He hesitated, then took a sip. She reassured him that the juice was clean, even though it was pressed by feet. The taste was warm and weak, so they decided to let it ferment and try adding sugar. While preparing the barrel, one girl froze. She was overwhelmed by the feeling that she had forgotten something very important. After a few weeks, they returned to check, nervously prepared to open the barrel and inspect it. The barrel exploded loudly, juice splattered in all directions, and it completely caught them by surprise. Soaked to the bone and stunned, she realized too late, she forgot to release the gas that accumulated during fermentation. They remembered that the wine must first ferment and then go into the barrel. This mistake soaked their clothes and spoiled their mood. Having learned from the mistake, they started again, carefully letting the wine ferment properly before putting it into storage, while others again enthusiastically stomped the grapes with their feet. Finally, they succeeded. The sisters proudly tasted their wine and rejoiced their efforts had finally borne fruit. When the wine became a real hit, everyone started celebrating. The village gained experience and rose to the next level again. The announcement confirmed that the village had reached level 35. As a local feature, knives were now added. They unlocked a new travel opportunity. Villagers could now go out to study outside the village and return with new skills. Kai realized that better rural technology would benefit the entire island. He planned his next trip to the town. A new elf came to the village. Anil smiled quietly, feeling the arrival of her long-awaited companion. Enel proudly called herself the eldest, and Chromo, who had already fallen sweetly asleep, was introduced as the middle sister. The third sister, CL, manages the shelter. Mysterious and invisible, her presence was only faintly known. They confirmed that she had not yet arrived, and L described Seal as a reclusive homebody who rarely leaves the house. The next morning, Kai and Anil rushed outside as if they had been warned about something unexpected near the city. They arrived at a huge, unfamiliar house, probably connected to the long-awaited arrival of CL. Cayenne and Elle could not believe their eyes. The house was huge and completely different. It had changed beyond recognition. Or they entered calling for CL, not knowing at all what kind of meeting or which sister to expect. Kai froze in shock. Inside was a cozy room with video games and relaxed elven sisters. CL lost in a game and groaned, while NL casually explained their strange setup, including retro consoles. CL shyly lightly tapped the couch, and L encouraged her to properly greet the guests. CL officially introduced herself as an elf advisor on housing issues and sincerely thanked them for everything. After Kai introduced himself and Yuri, CL quietly nodded in response, remaining calm and reserved. Kai asked if her powers had expanded the house, and CL quietly, briefly nodded in confirmation. She showed her assistants gnome-like spirits. They quickly assemble things but only affect her personal space. The retro console was a replica that reproduced game memory, and Kai eagerly accepted its offer to play. The retro game screen loaded, music played, beckoning them into a simulated adventure. Kai handed Yuri the controller, and CL said they could play simultaneously. Yuri was breathless from the moving images. Kai explained how the game worked and how the game field was arranged. CL suggested Yuri play as Guan Yu. Kai took Zheng Fei and the game began. Nervous and confused, Yuri struggled with the controls and CL reassured her. She would learn as soon as she started playing. Kai helps Yuri amid the chaos of the game. She is confused by the controls, enemies press from all sides, and she doubts, is this cruelty even real? After several hours of effort, Yuri triumphantly raised her fist. She could not contain her joy. She finally defeated the enemy general. Yuri joyfully celebrates the victory, glowing with confidence. Kai watches, impressed by how quickly she adapted to the games. When level 2 starts, Yuri bursts in, shining with excitement, and Kai wonders if this really helps her relieve stress. Training begins, villagers gather, 2 women prepare magic, and the rest watch attentively. One woman tries her best to defend herself as the instructor directs a focused magical blast straight at her. Observer, she retaliated with water magic, but missed, and her laughter spread when the failed attack splashed everyone around. The instructor explains that by order of the village elder, they are learning to safely extinguish magic with water. The girls suddenly attack together to take revenge. The teacher, stunned, panics and shouts for Edward to come quickly to help. While the others rested, the main character suddenly announced that during the winter holidays, he would go to investigate a mysterious place. Hearing this, the man explained that on the northern side of the island, there are ancient ruins that were rarely explored before. They realized that these ruins are older than 1,000 years, possibly from the War of Gods and Demons. Although the island was owned by the temple, there was no mention anywhere of those ruins, so their origin seemed extremely suspicious. She confessed that the island was once used to discard the blessed Almira. Here even a sleeping replicant was among them. The group eagerly agreed to explore the ruins. They wanted to find out what secrets the temple tried to hide. The leader roles were decided. Ren and the warrior would go as escorts, and the rest would stay to hold the defense. Fearing hidden traps, the leader asked her to continue their mission if danger arose. Burdened by duty, she immersed herself in memories of him, of her past, and of those she loved. He restored her trust. Sarah tore her away and dragged her off, ignoring the panic about what would happen next. The little creature stumbled upon a broken entrance, and soon a group ran up and began cautiously making their way forward. A strange man filled the air with his presence. Everyone tensed as an unnatural force disturbed the surrounding energy field. Feeling the magical distortion, they realized something was deliberately warping the mana, preventing the abyss from entering safely. Despite the risk, they moved forward, and the leader warned, "Run if anything goes wrong." He joked about ancient traps, and the others swore to protect him even from mechanical guardians buried in the ruins. In the laboratory, he feared mass production. Dozens of abyss-level dolls could simply tear their group apart. Despite jokes about the flags of death, each comrade promised to protect the others under any circumstances. Illuminating the path with a torch, they cautiously sniffed the air, searching for the smell of poisonous gases before moving deeper. The gas was confirmed flammable. He sensed a different atmosphere and noticed an airflow hinting at another room ahead. They stepped into a huge underground hall filled with strange mechanisms and relics of ancient times. They searched the room, suspecting a research base, but found neither active defenses nor any signs of military presence. Having found waterproof materials and entire systems, they suddenly realized this structure used an extremely advanced ancient technology. Further explorations revealed piled-up boxes and shaky passages. Digging here was too risky. Everything could collapse. Suddenly, an enemy figure appeared behind Kai, and everyone panicked. A dangerous threat had emerged. Abyss intervened in time, broke through the enemies and fell, leaving everyone stunned and frightened. They carefully examined the fallen figure. Although it resembled Abyss, something about it was disturbingly artificial and lifeless. Kai brought a doll to the village that did not respond, hoping that the mana-free zone here would be safer. The curious elf carefully examined the doll, puzzled that it did not react at all. She realized this body was not a replicant, but rather an unfinished, soulless prototype, a mechanical doll. She added, real beings emit energy, and there was not a trace of life essence in this doll. She dismissed the theory about sleep mode. If that were true, Kai would have already felt residual energy. Confident in her opinion, the elf herself offered to personally care for the unresponsive doll. Meanwhile, the team sifted through unfamiliar devices, found no documents and assumed either everything was digital or it had already been destroyed. Kai froze by the suitcases, but firmly said that there was no trap in them and immediately began to open one. Inside the case lay a flawless combat suit, exactly the same one in which Abyss usually went into battle. They confirmed that the outfit really suited the Abyss's, so they hid another set of her unique clothing as a backup. In each case lay similar clothes, and strangely they remained clean, as if preserved by some unknown method. Although she remembered nothing, the connection with that ruin seemed to hint at a deeper, forgotten origin. They guessed that she was a person from ancient times, whom magic had preserved in a millennial sleep. But the further the ruins stretched inward, the more Kai felt that many secrets were still hidden across the island. Kai and his companions return home at night. The girls who waited for them greet them with warm hugs and smiles. The group gathers again inside, and relief covers everyone, especially the girl who waited anxiously. Outside, a quiet girl asks Kai about the journey. He gently reassures her and offers something. Kai extends a box to her. Interested, she agrees to open it while he watches with a happy smile. She opens the box and, with surprise, sees clothes inside, and Kai smiles and says that it is a heavenly gift for her. Kai accidentally gives her a doll costume. He confused the name Celestial with something else. Abyss explains that Celestial is a magical replica, just like her, and this causes Kai to have an epiphany and growing anxiety. Kai leads them outside and shows a human-sized celestial doll brought from the place he visited. They argue about the lifespan of replicants. Abyss firmly confirms that after death they lose their form, not what some believed. Abyss admits that she has never seen a real celestial being, but hides her data deep within herself. Kai suspects that the temple may be hiding the truth about celestials, and the Abyss scattered across ancient ruins. He fears that the doctrine's teachings may be wrong, and that someone might use its replicas for evil. Although Abyss cannot wear celestial clothing, another costume fits her, and she gratefully accepts the gift. The night quiets down and the group returns inside, warmed and relieved after the tense conversation. Winter has come. After wandering the ruins, the group plays peaceful snowball fights and enjoys warm company under a soft snowfall. Winter fun slowly fades. With the approach of spring, preparations begin for the temple's arrival. Kai wonders if the temple's ship will come. Abyss recalls the years when the ship never arrived. Abyss quietly asks if he will go to find a family for another child, and Kai without hesitation promises to help again. Abyss doubts Kai's feelings, and he dodges the topic, waving his hand. Supposedly 3 years and the meeting is unlikely to happen now. Kai insists that time does not matter, but Abyss feels that he is lying. She gently reaches for his hand. Kai admits that he wants to see his relatives, but helping others is more important to him. Abyss proposes a deal. If no new children appear, they will go look for his family. Kai agrees. He wants Abyss to meet them too, and they promise to visit his past together. Kai thinks about his growing family and imagines how his father and sister would react. After a few days, the winged messenger spotted the long-awaited temple ship was finally descending from the sky. The signals of the winged scout fell silent. Finally, the long-awaited ship appeared on the edge of the island. To their surprise, an adult disembarked. Abyss is puzzled. Adults had never been left behind before. Kai coordinates a carefully thought-out plan, and Ren and the rest stand ready in case danger suddenly breaks out. They cautiously approach the woman in the mask. Kai promises he will not hurt her while untying the ropes. Kai removes the bandage from her eyes, and a mechanical click sounds as if some equipment or hidden threat was concealed beneath it. The mysterious woman explains that her mask is a magical artifact, forever bound to her and not removable. She wonders where she has ended up and says that this is an island where a powerful witch was once sealed. Kai is stunned, and Ren carefully examines her body, searching for divine marks to make sure it is her. They come across a sign unlike theirs. Kai presses her, demanding that she reveal the name of her god. Finally, she answers. She is blessed by the god of time, Etern, and no one else knows about it. She recalls her centuries-long devoted service in the cathedral, which she only recently passed on to her successor. Kai thought she had been expelled. She laughs bitterly, holding back the pain of betrayal. Although she obeyed unquestionably, she admits she felt abandoned. Her faith and common sense nearly collapsed under the pressure. Her calm shattered, she burst into tears, shouting about 500 years of unrecognized service. Kai and Ren froze in disbelief, stunned by her age and how much time it took. Sobbing loudly, the woman in the mask panics, believing that her life ended in disgrace and exile. Kai and Ren told about their village, and she is shocked. On this island, people live peacefully. She questions their humanity because she fears the island's curse. Kai demands details about the sealed witch. Broken and exhausted, she agrees to speak. Despair overwhelms her, and she gives in. Kai asks if witches differ from demons. She insists that the witch is real and legendary. 700 years ago, a powerful witch plunged the world into chaos with her forbidden blessings. Distributing powers indiscriminately, she threatened the fragile balance. the temple raised knights to seal her influence. The hero doubts the temple's cunning methods and suspects that children were deliberately abandoned near dangerous remnants. The girl in the mask revealed her fear and a divine return came, and the slain, blessed ones awakened their power again. When the blessed are killed, cursed energy bursts out of them, their resentment spreads, and death becomes a dangerous risk. When asked what would happen if she died, the girl threatens to unleash destructive magic that manipulates time. Realizing the scale, the protagonist asks herself if it would have caused less harm if the monster had killed her. He links this threat to that past fury, magic that flared from death turned resentment into a destructive life force. A remote island reduces the trace of their actions, and the temple hides in isolation to avoid killing directly and to evade accusations. The group finally understands the temple's plan, which has spanned years, but where exactly the witch is hiding remains a mystery. Rosa says that the 4 magnificent cathedrals still send power. This might reveal where the witch is hidden. Kai and Ren finally call themselves simple islanders, cautiously hiding where they really came from. Rosa, with a smile, reveals her full name Rosalind and allows them to simply call her Rosa. She hesitated, holding his hand, doubting. Is the island safe, and are the rumors about strange magic true? He confidently reassured her, explaining that he and Abbas had gotten rid of most dangerous creatures. Interested, he pointed to her eye bandage and asked if it really worked as a magical item. She said it was placed centuries ago and no one remembers how to remove it anymore. He asked about her faith. She admitted that her father, a priest, always valued practicality over strict religious dogmas. For centuries, she devotedly fulfilled her role, and over time people began to honor her as if she were a saint. He doubted her youthful appearance, and she quietly confessed that divine blessing allows her to stop time. Her role was to stop time for the sleeping saint, hidden deep within the temple. She called that sleeping figure the eternally resting man, explaining that he was sealed for centuries. She stopped time again and again for the saint, slept beside him, but was barely conscious the whole time. She clarified only her time freezes when she is awake, although the sensation is like a dream. The identity of the saint is still hidden. They say his eternal sleep protected the world from disaster. The temple rejected her. It shared a dream of building a new nation. He offered her a home among exiles, warmly introduced himself and addressed her by name. Greeted by various companions, Rosa finally relaxed and smiled for the first time in a century of solitude. Rosa came together with Kai and a monk, while Kai prepared for a delicate request. Kai was about to remove Rosa's bandage and was already calling healing magic just in case he succeeded. Rosa turned to Kai's voice, surprised and interested when he gently called her closer. Enchanted, Rosa praised Kai upon hearing about his exploits, calling him king and hero. Cheerful and a bit embarrassed, Kai tried to curb her excitement before saying he wanted to try something important. Kai announced that he would remove Rosie's blindfold. She warned in panic that there was a deadly trap there. Despite the danger, Kai asked Kite for help, and Rosa nervously closed her eyes, fearing what would come next. Keed cast her spell Transient Life, directed the magic, and safely neutralized the curse of the blindfold. The mechanism clicked, the lock opened, and Kide made sure that Rosa was safe. He ordered her to be careful and stay away. The blindfold slowly slipped off Rosa's face, revealing her weakened, unusual for her, and stunned face. As soon as her eyes adjusted, magical creatures burst out with joyful cries, and her vision began to awaken again. For the first time in a century, Rosa finally saw sunlight with her own eyes. Overwhelmed with tears, she quietly gasped, emotions surged, and the world appeared before her. Joyfully, Rosa confirmed that she could see, shouting Kai's name with surprise and sincere gratitude. Kai greeted her again, smiling warmly, and she looked with admiration at the community she had finally joined. And Rosa tightly hugged the plush animal, while Kai invited her to eat and settle in. Rosa, seeing the abundant, freshly prepared meat dishes, could not hide her admiration and surprise. She enthusiastically enjoyed the warmth and taste, recalling only the cold food from the temple. Rosa, reflecting, felt gratitude. She was expelled, yes, but now she was free, happy, and surrounded by people who could become friends. Kai froze, stunned by something invisible, and the mood changed. Another unexpected moment was approaching. Rosa remembered Rukia, the successor, with a triple blessing, and this caused Kai growing anxiety and a strong emotional surge. Kai, frightened, urgently demanded Rukia's full name and past, his voice rising from increasing horror. Rosa recalled the girl's name and origin, Rukia from Ravelda, apparently about 15 years old. Suddenly, Kai realized that Rukia faced centuries of loneliness with a blindfold in the darkness under the temple, like Rosa. Filled with determination, Kai declared that he would save Rukia so she would not repeat Rosa's tragic fate. Kai firmly said that Rukia was family. Rosa awkwardly tried to understand the source of the sudden emotional outburst. Rosa suddenly realized Kai was Rukia's brother, whom she often mentioned but kept secret. Rukia sought answers everywhere, using blessings to uncover her brother's fate. Rosa told about the Cathedral Isolation Protocol. When it is sealed, no one will reach Rukia for 2 years. Kai asked Rosa if she would run away from her fate, and her silent pain answered for her. Rosa confessed with tears in her voice that she wanted to run away, but stayed to protect her sister who was looking for her. Kai became steadfast. He believed that only he could save Rukia from the fate that condemned her to imprisonment. Later Kai talked with his comrades, and the girl with fox ears asked again where he was from. Kai doubted whether she could multiply, and she blushed, brushing it off with a joke and feeling a bit embarrassed. At that moment she coquettishly offered to show him, changing her serious tone to something more suggestive. The fox girl understands that he said nothing indecent, but others still start teasing him. The group sets off aboard the Golden Hind, a huge living ship that swiftly carries them to the next point. Abyss calculates the route. At this speed they will reach Milwaukee in 7 days. During the journey, the hero curiously asks Rosa about her ability to control the flow of time without turning it back. Rosa asks for something fragile, and he offers a Haniwa figurine from the village nearby. A red-haired girl is amazed. Rosa activates her spell Principle of Permanence and fills the statue with stabilizing magic for a special display. Haniwa is turning golden. Rosa says that objects with time stopped by magic become completely unbreakable. Rosa boasts about her skill in making weapons stronger. Once she enhanced tools for work that lasted years. The main hero asks if Rosa ever enchanted a collar. Her past magical deeds arouse suspicion. Rosa remembers blessing a bracelet. Now it has faded. He suspects that temples give cursed tools to merchants. He confronted her, demanding the truth about those who know about her powers, and about the dangerous man sealed underground. Rosa lists the few who know about her power: the Pope, the Archbishop, the Cardinal, and the Inquisitor. The main hero confirms that there is only one Inquisitor, and Rosa, with a sparkle in her eyes, says he is literally special, a rare elite representative. He guessed the name of the Inquisitor, and Rosa instantly recognized him, surprised that he knows that infamous guy. They whisper that Klauser, the only Inquisitor of the highest rank, is supposedly a specially blessed person. Rosa admits that brought her to this island, and although he smiles, behind that smile hide eerie, almost divine abilities. He wonders if will suddenly appear in Milwaukee. Rosa admits she does not exactly know where he is. watches over duties blessed by time, but he is unpredictable and may appear at a ritual requiring actions from Rukia. Rosa talks about her loneliness. She barely spoke to anyone except spent decades in sleep and woke only for a moment. She smiles gently, accepting her fate. He quietly sympathizes, feeling her loneliness beneath her calm. Clenching his fist, he pondered. Accepting fate seems easier, but changes begin with quiet resistance. Clenching his fist, he loudly declares his determination. He refuses to give up and will no longer accept helplessness. Diving into the past, he remembered that person she will need to be protected if any clue appears. Standing on the deck, he shouts toward the horizon, "I swear I will save Rukia at any cost." Golden Hinds confidently sailed through the endless sea, carrying his determination to unknown shores ahead. After 7 days, they approach Milwaukee, and the crew checks the map to make sure the course is correct. They carefully study the map. To the east, Rukia Cathedral, standing right on the border with the lands of several powerful regional factions. Only pilgrims freely travel between countries. This is proof of the temple's authority, extending through torn political borders. He imagines that during temple border checks, priests utter divine blessings to expose infiltrators and spies. They may be called fugitives, and the unusual composition of the group may lead others to false thoughts about their blessings. Their goal is to gather information. Without experts from the temple, they understand that Rosa's knowledge is already outdated. He assigns roles in the team. Choosing the girl blessed with a shield gives their group respect among other pilgrims. Abyss asks to join. At first, he seats her on the bench, unsure how she will fit in. He hastily clarifies, "On the bench means a reserve, not excluded." Abyss froze in shock, not knowing how to perceive this role. A separate group decides that mages should not go there, because they fear enemies will notice them at the posts at the temple entrance. Detection magic does not notice her powers come from beyond the known systems of this world. They plan a quiet landing by boat, and he asks for guards who are knowledgeable about local religious customs. At dusk, they come ashore in small groups. The team prepares camouflage and adjusts clothing. Through the rocky terrain, they were led to the temple gates, where they join the queue of pilgrims. Finally, the group arrives at the holy city of Milwaukee. They are stunned by the sprawling temple complex spread out ahead. The morning crowds confuse them, and Rhea rushed forward, burning with the desire to scout the strange gathering of pilgrims. Rhea confidently returns with news. The locals praise her bravery, admiring her swift and decisive actions. They learn all these unusually large crowds this year are due to the grand celebration, the Millennium Festival. The city is a true magnet for tourists. Pilgrims usually visit both cathedrals, galleries, and nearby museums. They realized the huge crowds will distract the guards, so by posing as pilgrims, it is easier for them to wander and explore the place unnoticed. He firmly warns the group, "Do not disperse." Everyone gathers close, ready to move through Milwaukee. Bedridden, he watched on television the crowd near the Shrinias, if a scene from another life. Years later, finding himself there alone, he felt that this chaos was twice as overwhelming as he had imagined. The locals said that the real crowd gathers only in summer, and this was just the beginning of the celebrations. While studying at Honor to pass Demon War, he suddenly realized that this holiday has very ancient historical roots. Although pilgrims were given free accommodation, he doubted that during such a celebration they would have even a little privacy. In the midst of the crowd, they decided to step aside and look for a quiet place in the city to spend the night. The group claimed a room and declared it their temporary base for future investigations. The leadership divided the tasks. Someone was to comb through the cathedral while others were allowed to explore freely. The main character sent them on errands, to unobtrusively gather information during shopping and stay vigilant. One called for restraint, while others hoped that the girls enjoyed their first walk outside the island. The group set off to the cathedral, and one girl reacted quietly. Her thoughts were far away and restless. In the crowd, a boy noticed her silence and, unable to hold back, asked what had been on her mind lately. She admitted that for the first time she was calmly walking beside him in the noisy city. He fell silent in surprise, but she quietly confirmed it. There was quiet sincerity and feeling in her words. She teased him, saying he adored another girl, embarrassed him, and then quietly laughed at his denials. She proudly said she understood Sarah's behavior, teasing him with sharp remarks and sly confidence. Another girl teased her for being talkative, and she even blushed, while her friend jokingly scolded her. He sincerely explained that after removing Sarah's collar, she felt relief, and insisted that nothing indecent happened between them. The topic changed, teasing continued, and he again felt that his serious words were simply brushed off. She suddenly rushed and hugged him, accusing him of secrecy, while another girl quietly threw a bold challenge. Approaching the Cathedral of St. Perry, they talked lively about how it holds the magical prison of the sealed witch. The boy explained that their goal was elsewhere, although they learned that both saints died protecting the seal. They arrived at the Grand Cathedral of St. Arthur, founder of the mighty faith of folly. The interior captivated her deeply. She recalled the temple's advice to visit it during pilgrimage. The boy stood silently before the statue, and thoughts about faith, power, and the presence of divinity swirled in his mind. He pondered how many innocents had died to preserve such a revered and unquestioned religious authority. Seeing officials calmly eating, anger flared. He vowed to punish those who profited from sacrifice. When his rage reached its peak, he approached the priests, ready to act immediately without hesitation or mercy. He had not yet moved when Ren suddenly intervened. Her face was unreadable, but a grim determination burned in her eyes. Frightened and uncertain, he whispered her name, trembling from the power of her silent gaze. Ren without hesitation proposed to destroy everything. She was sure that by command she would erase all in moments. He was silent. The choice tormented him, and another girl looked at him with quiet anxiety. He rejected revenge, said that he did not hate everything, and refused to become what he despises. He felt the cost of the rebellion. Even the innocent would suffer, so he chose restraint, thinking about the consequences awaiting in the future. He sincerely hoped that the authorities would tolerate them here. They only wanted to live quietly on the island. In the middle of the crowd, someone quietly prayed to God, and from the unknown came an invisible voice. A memory begins. A year ago, carriages entered Milwaukee, a holy city girded by knights. Enthralled children stuck their heads out of the carriage, their eyes shining with the grandeur of the city, although they were gently reprimanded. One girl nostalgically recalled her childhood and admitted that she had lived near Milwaukee and had visited there with her family before. They remembered the food, but Rukia suddenly looked detached, and this quietly worried her companions. Rukia assured them that she was fine, but the others promised to protect her at any cost. She openly talked about her father. After 2 years in the monastery, she deeply missed him. Friends encouraged her, saying that the father was probably worried about the daughter who stayed behind. She once again firmly said that for her the most important thing is family, and someone in Milwaukee might know where her brother is. A new figure appeared, the special Grand Inquisitor Viclosser, and behind his calm, confident appearance hid unknown intentions. The large square in the capital was bustling, while preparations for departure quietly progressed. Rukia stood silently, and every thought of hers returned to the village she was soon to leave behind. Her friends noticed her somewhat distant mood and gently teased her, trying to lighten the farewell moment. Rukia, touched by their care, admitted that she was sad and realized how close they had all become. They hugged tightly and promised future meetings disguised as pilgrimages to maintain their emotional connection. Rukia does not hide it. She was summoned by the Archbishop, and she knows she will not stay here long. Despite the news, she promises to visit them someday in their distant homeland herself. Preparing to leave, Rukia quietly admits that this might be their last meeting. Determined, Rukia promised to find where her brother is as soon as possible and soon reunite with him. She suspects that something deeper is behind this, why her blessing was accepted but her brothers were condemned by officials. Escorted through the corridors of the temple, Rukia believes that the answers about her brother's fate await within its walls. She meets Viclosser, a high-ranking inquisitor entrusted with guiding her in fulfilling her sacred duties. V orders her to hide her face and adds that no one must learn about this mission. Nervous but obedient, Rukia puts on a blindfold, restraining her anxiety about what lies ahead. Unable to use her powers, Rukia descends deeper, blindly led by the secret passages of the temple. The woman in the mask warmly greets V, unaware that he has returned with a person extremely important to the affairs of the temple. V introduces Rukia as the long-awaited successor, hinting that the previous bishop was removed by force. The masked woman Rosa enthusiastically welcomes Rukia. She recognized her as the appointed sacred heir. Rosa reveals Rukia is the first blessed heir, connected to the mysterious blessing of time. Having kept it within herself for centuries, Rosa joyfully exclaims that she waited 500 years for Rukia's arrival. V tells Rukia her task to use time magic to preserve the magical sleep of the patroness. She must constantly freeze time, briefly awakening before each exhale and endlessly repeating this cycle underground. Blind with eyes tied and a broken heart, Rukia realizes that this burden condemns her to 500 long years of solitude. Trapped within the temple walls, Rukia sees her search for her brother stall days pass, but there is no progress. After a year, Rukia silently activates the time spell, marking the beginning of her duty. Rukia demonstrates a new level of mastery. She stops time for 2 years even for ceremonial attire. Rosa, with a serious expression, says, "Caring for and preserving sacred relics is also one of the secret daily duties blessed by time." Although Rosa is released, Rukia learns that now she must remain underground and bear this eternal burden. Rosa encourages her not to give up, reminding her that life can always be started anew if there is will. Rukia accepts her new burden, and Rosa departs with V finally freed after centuries of captivity. Determined and impatient, Rukia demands access to the prisoner until the temple forces her to be silent. Vi enters pretending to be formal, extends her paperwork under the pretext of needing to contact her father. Here he coldly orders her to sever all ties and forge a letter to hide that she is being held against her will. Feeling suspicion, Rukia sharply releases her Eye of Truth, aiming it directly at Vi's hand. Spells work unexpectedly a lightning vision, and in it a shocked face she had long dreamed of seeing, her brother. Rukia learns the terrible truth. Her brother is dead. V killed him 3 years ago. V says that both her brother and Rosa are dangerous. They were eliminated so that future calamities would not awaken. Rukia, shattered by this news, hears that she still has to fulfill her eternal duty underground. V emotionally pressures her, saying that the fate of the world depends on whether she seals the holy patron. Rukia freezes in shock and Weiss smiles with cruel pleasure, admiring her despair. Vi coldly leaves, telling Rukia to prepare a letter and take her magical bandage. The door closes, leaving Rukia alone in oppressive silence. Her fate seems locked with no chance of escape. Rukia, collapsed on the floor, sobs. It seems to her that her world has lost meaning without the presence of her brother or the truth. She sinks deeper into despair, realizing that the light in her heart has completely gone out. The priestess with a bandage over her eyes impatiently goes outside, thrilled to finally feel the world on the surface. Her companion suggests using divine magic to search through her memories and find out where this bandage over her eyes came from. Having received permission, she prepares to set out on an investigation, hoping to finally find at least some clues about her brother. Activating divine power, she channels energy through their clasped palms and summons the Eye of Truth. A mighty surge bursts forth as ancient sealed memories awaken in the priestess, radiating incredible magical power. As the divine power began to fade, her eyes widened. What she saw simply stunned her. She apologizes, unable to help or find her brother, and feels failure suffocating her. She saw only isolation, the priestess trapped in loneliness, resigned to an endless fate. Despair haunts her, and she fears that the same dark void and hopelessness inside will consume her. She clutches her chest, vowing to confront that mysterious man and find out where her brother is. A small winged girl activates her divine vision, divine sharp eye, to find someone. She scours the city, reports where she found one person, but no trace of Rukia Husqvarna. Kai sincerely thanks her for her efforts, and as the royal guards return, plans begin to take shape again. The residents come smiling and joyful, giving Kai and others a homemade souvenir wrapped in cloth. Inside, a sweet treat on a stick that delights everyone and momentarily relieves the tension of their search. They tell where this dish comes from, an old recipe from Millwall where sweet beans and nostalgic dango reign. Kai understood, this is dango with red bean paste. They finally found it together. The elves joyfully celebrate the discovery of rice dishes. Each flavor seems to bring them back to their native roots. Kai mocked their obsession with rice. She exploded, but then calmed down and assured him that she is learning to grow rice. They decided to send someone from the pioneer settlement outside to study how rice is grown. Kai plunges into memories of the past, and thoughts of Rukia and their younger sister weigh on him like a stone on his chest. He repents and with new determination decides to save Rukia, and she encourages him and gives him her trust. She believes in his future, and with a passionate voice says that his strength will pave a bright path forward. Kai realizes that his inner strength surpasses others, even the most powerful mages, Within him pulses a unique, incomparable power. Filled with gratitude and inspiration, Kai thanks everyone, then gathers the group to return and organize plans. The group studies the route along the river, preparing to secretly infiltrate the Cathedral of St. Arthur. Inside, they carefully examine the cathedral map and make sure that its huge, intricate layout securely hides Rukia. They worry whether he is already active somewhere else and whether this will complicate their rescue. During the conversation, it emerged that V returned by boat, but the difference in speed suggests he set off earlier than they thought. They suspect that V is secretly manipulating Rukia's mission behind the scenes, using his position and access. They fear that the Inquisitor will trace the divine power to the island and expose them because of this. A bold proposal is made to bring V directly to the island and deal with him there. Kai realized they want to temporarily detain V to buy time until the situation calms down. She implied that the offense still lives within her, and Kai cautiously weighs the plan and keeps it as a last resort. Kai decides to secretly follow V, believing that his steps will lead them to Rukia. The group united and began planning they intend to sneak into the cathedral's forbidden zone undercover. They will disguise themselves in custom-made priest uniforms to get inside. One girl confidently takes her place. Kai silently volunteered and cheered up the others, while they continued selecting participants for the secret infiltration operation. Abyss dramatically raises her hand, insisting that only she is suitable for this dangerous operation. Kai agreed to take Abyss into the team, and when he confirmed her role in the mission, she was stunned. Kai carefully distributes roles, insisting on strong protection of the cathedral and looking for allies who can withstand magical blessings. REVOL was assigned to find VIE before departure. The mission was confirmed for tomorrow. Now as rain falls over Milwaukee, the group quietly prepares in the darkness. Morning entered the tavern, and Kai slowly woke up still sleepy and tired after the previous boat trip. Everyone puts on masks in priestly robes. They feel uneasy, but the group is fully ready to sneak inside. Kai urgently asked where V was, and Reveal activated her divine ability to search the surroundings. The message confirmed V is in the eastern temple of the cathedral. Kai tensed, realizing that immediate action was needed. Kai sent Shinobi-kun to plant the exit mark. He prepared Reveal for instant transfer to the island. Just arriving on the island, the cheerful elf suddenly jumped at Kai out of excitement. Kai dodged the approach in the air. The girl pouted in irritation and insisted that she brought him incredible news. And now they enthusiastically congratulated Kai on reaching level 40, celebrating with theatrical flair and an explosion of joy. Kai doubted the speed, but Anil explained the power of Rice and finally showed the long-awaited teleportation device. When the exits in all directions started working, Kai sincerely thanked Enel for this crucial update. Kai urgently rushed away with this revelation, and El tried to reveal even more but postponed the conversation. While Reveal carried Kai away, El quietly smiled and standing behind warmly wished him luck. Kai stepped to the foot of the huge cathedral. Shadows quickly slid around as Shinobi-kun firmly planted the teleportation stake. The group entered that unusually large cathedral. It impressed with its scale. There was no visible way to go, so wandering aimlessly seemed pointless. One of them confidently stepped forward, relying on a sharp memory of a figure she had already encountered. They moved deeper inside, cautious but determined. Soon they came across a dome-shaped structure. Its resemblance to the island ruins hinted that it was of great importance. Realizing that this was the entrance to an underground chamber, they decided to move quietly, avoiding unnecessary clashes so that. To get inside, one of them brazenly slipped past the guards, pretending to be an Inquisitor sent by Lord Bai. The guard froze under pressure. The group subtly cornered him with tangled facts, and the mention of ancient changes confused him even more. Other guards argued among themselves. One was enchanted, admiring the beauty of the girl, another tried to find a reason to justify her appearance, and eventually they reluctantly allowed her to pass. And quietly, so that no one heard, praised Kai for his convincing act. His performance clearly fooled the guards. Meanwhile, underground, a figure in a robe sensed their approach, and recognizing that there were several of them, warned his comrades about the danger. Without wasting time, a girl named Celis with her eyes blindfolded was ordered to scout. She nodded in response and silently moved forward to meet the strangers. In a secluded room, a man in a robe assigned the girl with the blindfold a new role. From then on, her duties were limited to that room only. First of all, he prepared a magical blindfold, the same one that Rosalind once wore. Meanwhile, Kai's group cautiously advanced down the corridor when Ren suddenly felt someone's presence ahead and stopped the team. No one knew who it could be. Tension was rising. Kai ordered Abyss to release her lightning as soon as danger appeared. The risk of an ambush could not be ignored. Their fears came alive when a figure in a cloak emerged from the shadows. Abyss, without hesitation, responded to the threat and released an electric discharge toward the intruder. A powerful shockwave erupted as Abyss cast her lightning spell at the cloaked invader, and the energy filled the corridor with blinding force. To everyone's surprise, the magic suddenly stopped working right in midair. Abyss froze, and Kai struggled to comprehend this unexpected turn. The group gathered again, intently watching the enemy. They realized that the target was not just the escort of the priest. The skillfully used magic revealed a hidden power. A cloaked figure stepped forward. Recognizing the Abyss technique, this ancient spell drawing had not appeared for 1,000 years. Suddenly, a girl with horns emerged from under the hood. Her appearance exactly matched that mysterious figure once seen in the ruins, so Celestial instantly recognized the horned girl an artificial being, a replicant. The stranger confirmed this with a sly smile, recalling their long separation. Their confrontation intensified. Celestial was shocked that the other had survived the day of destruction, while the replicant mockingly scorned the thought of its own annihilation. Kai stepped forward and demanded passage. The replicant, following orders from her master, did not allow outsiders, and through Crosser's anxiety, one name surfaced. Kai recoiled, realizing whom she served. The woman confirmed her loyalty and with a chilling familiarity acknowledged the presence of the Abyss. Confident and unwavering, the replicant turned out to be a combat model, and Celestial, unshaken, declared she would break through, even if she had to fight. Kai tried to negotiate, pointing out that they were more numerous, but the replicant mockingly rejected the offer and gave no chance for peaceful passage. Electricity flared around her, and with wild confidence she declared her power, her overwhelming energy making it clear she had no intention of retreating. Yuri stepped forward, casting a powerful spell, Sanctuary of the Valkyrie, and unleashed a divine blast to suppress the replicant's power. The team quickly coordinated. Ren prepared to give his all, Ebis readied her magic, and together they were set to really press the opponent. Unmoved, the replicant mockingly warned them that no shield would protect them forever, and charged forward, ready for the decisive battle. Abyss cast a counterspell and completely caught the replicant off guard. Shock pierced her when she realized that her magic had been completely nullified. Both opponents raised their hands and unleashed a barrage of mana. The collision shook the air, but Ren's unexpected manipulation of power turned the tide of the battle. While the enemy staggered, Ren stepped forward, blazing in flames. Her presence intensified, and she declared herself the great magus of the infernal flame. Mocking the title, the replicant charged with fury. Sparks flew as their powers clashed, filling the chamber with a shockwave. In the heat of the battle, Ren smiled confidently and delivered a powerful strike. The blow hit, shaking the replicant mid-attack. Ren unleashed a massive wave of fire that scorched the battlefield and forced the replicant to retreat before her stunning power. Trying to counterattack, the horned girl summoned her own lightning. The attack was fierce, but desperation seeped into her movements. Ren's sudden strike broke through her defense and threw her to the ground. Stunned and confused, the replicant found herself in an unfamiliar place. Her powers seemed to evaporate, and in a moment her body completely failed. While she lay unconscious, Kai stood nearby and ordered her to rest. A new girl approached, her eyes widened at what she saw, then confirmed it was real. The group fell silent around the fallen replicant lying unconscious, and Kai entrusted her to Enel, hoping she would be protected in Tenohira. He hesitated but still reluctantly agreed. Usually they don't allow entry there, but an artificial person can be admitted as an exception under special conditions. Kai sincerely praised everyone for the teamwork, and after the battle strictly emphasized that there was no time to waste. Ahead loomed a sealed chamber exactly as Rosa had described. The door was locked from the inside and seemed to be waiting for someone to break through. The magical blindfold tightens on Rosa's eyes, and her memories come alive. Images of warm meals, shared laughter, and sleeping next to her brother flood back, and she deeply longs for the days when they were together. Tears roll down her cheeks, she calls for her brother. As soon as the blindfold was removed, her emotions exploded outward, and a sudden knock on the door startled the mage. The group finally reached the end of the underground passage. Tense and anxious, they hurriedly decide to use Rosa's ability to open the sealed chamber. Their appearance stunned Rosa. She immediately notices the one guarding them and reacts instantly. Ketty steps forward, gathers strength within herself, and touches the gates. Light scatters outward and everyone tenses. The barrier resisted so much that everyone guessed probably a protective spell stood here. Kaide's attempt to open the door failed and they grew anxious. One girl suggests summoning the replicant Celestial, a magical construct once created to ward off uninvited guests, and she believes its copy can still follow certain commands. Doubts whisper, will this replica obey? But the leader still proposes to use the same dummy they previously found in the ruins. As soon as it was activated, the replica appeared before them. The team cautiously watches as it scans the surroundings. They beg it for help, and surprisingly it agrees with an unusual manner of speech, ready to open the door, which would mark a turning point in their progress. Planning the approach, the group decides what Selly should say and notices that there is an intercom on the door. To speak, you need to press the button. When everything was ready, they gave Sellies the command to speak, while one of them persistently whispered to Rosa to stay hidden so that no one would find out she was still alive. Keelas approaches the console and transmits the prepared message. Her voice echoes through the device, and the mage on the other side responds with slight suspicion. Suddenly a command was heard. Without hesitation, Abyss releases a powerful magical blast directly at the enemy. The mage was hit with full force, the attack broke through his defense, and shook him with an explosion of destructive energy. To their surprise, the enemy withstood the magical attack. The spell bounced off without causing harm, confirming his suspicions about the approaching threat. Recognition flared when the two sides exchanged words, and the main hero suddenly remembered their previous encounter. Although they broke through, the enemy remains calm, mocking their efforts, and coldly saying that after this breach, the security will have to be strengthened. Pretending to be submissive, the mage agrees to surrender not because he lost, but as part of a strategy. Meanwhile, the squad clarifies their location and begins searching. The room has not changed, but Rukia, whom they are looking for, is absent, and doubts creep in. Did they arrive in time? The group freezes when one of them senses a foreign presence in the adjacent room. The frightened young leader rushes to the sealed door and anxiously calls Ru. He bursts into the room. In the dim light sits a solitary figure in silence. Embarrassment and tension fill the air as their eyes meet. Wrapped in tattered rags, the man looks exhausted and emaciated, with a sharp, wary expression on his face. When asked who he is, the man snorted, bitterness in his voice, and he accuses them of hypocrisy for locking him up. A wave of shock runs through the group. Someone recognizes the man. Shortly before the intrusion, a figure in a cloak sneaked up to the console and mimicked a voice command, and the wizard inside, confused by the untimeliness, granted access, suspecting nothing. Suddenly, high-ranking clergy appeared inside, and one of them, resembling the Pope, smiled sinisterly and announced that the council had decided to awaken the Holy Guardian. The mage staggered at this radical step, recalling ancient legends. Elsewhere, Rosa stood silently. Realizing that her magical role was no longer needed, she accepted it sadly. At the climax of the festival, the old priest raised his voice and proclaimed that their next step was to remove the seal from the witch and destroy her, marking the beginning of their dangerous plan. With a sinister smile, the senior priest reveals the truth. The awakening of the Holy Guardian was just a cover. The key to their plan is Rosa. Her body, thrice consecrated, conceals a divine rebound and a furious surge of power that explodes at the moment of her death. Rosa's face darkens. She suddenly understands the truth. Her death will awaken a devastating power. On her knees in chains, she confesses betrayal. Aloud, she is promised eternal imprisonment and now awaits a forced sacrifice. The priest waved off her despair and called it noble martyrdom, while another mage, disappointed, could not hold back. To them, she is just an expense in their grand plan, one that can be mercilessly sacrificed. Rosa stands next to the body of the Holy Guardian, her face petrified. She rejects the title of priestess. She no longer wants to be part of their plans. Anger and determination flashed in her eyes. She warns them, "Do not manipulate me anymore." People around begin to feel her power changing. In a sudden burst of rage, Rosa releases a forbidden spell, a scythe that reaps souls, and the room shudders as the attack bursts forth among her enemies. Strange markings come to life, and a mysterious symbol grows on the surface. Perhaps it is connected to the spell or its price. Shock washed over her face. The spell did not go as she expected. Instead of her target, another person took all the power. The mage showed a magical ring that saved him from Rosa's deadly spell, and smirked with obvious surprise, looking at how she was ready to cast such a powerful spell without hesitation. To ease the tension, the group decides to calm Rosa. The Pope says her agitation is just an aftereffect of awakening her holy patron. As Celes approaches, Rosa surprisingly feels something strange. The aura is different, darker, unfamiliar. Celes firmly refuses to be a demon. Instead, she states her name, gently embraces Rosa on command, and utters a sleep spell. When the situation was temporarily brought under control, the high priest ordered in the next command to return later and prepare for the awakening of the guardian saints. Everyone was stunned when the man believed to be the sealed guardian rose from sleep. He modestly rejects this title. Under pressure from questions, he finally reveals his real name, Arthur. Throwing off his cloak, he shows the divine mark on his body. Arthur says he is not a saint, but an apostle of the god-creator Aramira. Kai gathered allies to decide what to do next, and tension hung in the air. They awaited his decision, their eyes fixed on him. Resolutely, Kai announced that his plan had not changed. He would find Rukia and save her. The group prepared to leave the city and return to the island. Taking vital documents, Kai suggested taking the prisoner to have leverage in future talks with the temple. Turning on the portal device, Kai firmly squeezed her hand and with one command initiated the transfer. They safely ended up outside. Kai explained the last step only he could reopen the sealed room. Vren was instructed to escort Bai and the Holy Guardian back to the island through the northern exit, while another comrade offered to take on the guards to avoid suspicion. With one deft gesture, Kai activated the device and instantly fabricated a plausible excuse to explain the other's absence. Giving instructions, Kai ordered the guard to maintain order until they returned. His calm expression concealed the urgency of the mission. Somewhere else, a prisoner came outside into a modest, unfamiliar place. He felt frustration. He was not rescued, just relocated. He was annoyed by the situation, but at the same time felt slight relief finally breathing fresh air again, even in isolation. Thinking about his weakness, the man realized 10 years had passed since he was kidnapped. Time took its toll. In the small hut, he longed very much to be close to his family again. All he truly desired was to see his family at least one more time. Somewhere aside, Kai stood, lost in thought, uncertainty, and the burden of unspoken responsibility weighed on him. Yuri, sensing his anxiety, asked where Rukia was, and Rosa honestly admitted that she had no idea where she could be. The crisis intensified. The ancient holy guardian awoke, and Rukia, who was to inherit an important duty, disappeared. Worried by the thought that Rukia might have vanished to some unknown place, Kai realized there was no time to waste. Rosa suggested pressing Bei to extract information from him. Yuri asked to hold back, and despite the tension, Kai agreed he knew well what was at stake. A heavy silence hung between Kai and Yuri. Their opposing expressions revealed an inner conflict. Determination clashed with hesitation. Yuri doubted Kai's intentions. When they get what they need, what will happen to the prisoner? Will they use him, release him, or destroy him? She warned that any contact with that man risked exposing their secrets. The consequences of this decision would extend far beyond a single interrogation. Kai considered the risks of the interrogation. If they did not intend to kill the prisoner, allowing him to learn too much about them could become a threat. Yuri doubted his plan, and Kai admitted that he did not intend to kill that man. She was not surprised. She had anticipated his decision, though it annoyed her. She coldly reminded him that Bai was responsible for his exile. Yuri pressed further. Didn't Kai hate him? Her gaze narrowed as she challenged his motives. Kai calmly dismissed the hatred. He blamed the system, not Bai. What troubled him was something else: Bai's unpredictability and those unclear intentions. In response, Kai questioned Yuri's feelings. If it was about hatred, shouldn't she also hate those who devised this plan? Yuri paused, then barely smiled, acknowledging his correctness. Irritation boiled within her, and she exclaimed that she did not like bisexuals. His calm only made things worse. Meanwhile, Kai thought everything was fine between them. She sharply objected. Rukia was rejected by Bai without hesitation, as if she weighed nothing at all. Meanwhile, Kai had a connection with her even before all this began. They tried not to show irritation, probably out of respect for Bai's age and experience. The plan was agreed upon. The interrogation would be conducted very carefully. Support was promised, but they were strictly ordered not to speak unless it was truly necessary. Chained and under supervision, they remained isolated. Outside, silent guards watched the building to ensure no mistakes occurred. Osa greeted Kai with lively, joyful energy when he entered the room. Bailey was chained to the bed, and his condition was quickly checked. The interrogation began immediately. Kai ordered Bai to remain silent until addressed. When directly questioned, he introduced himself. His position: Inquisitor of a special class of the Central Cathedral, he named with pride and a barely concealed challenge. When asked in more detail, Bai revealed his divine connection. The blessing came from the goddess Fortuna, associated with fate itself. His strength was not in the body, but in prophecy. With a slight smile, he said that he saw the future of the world, knowledge that frightens and brings danger. When they learned about Bai's divine power, a chill ran through the room. His gift allowed him to look into events that reshaped the world. He did not see personal details, but large-scale changes were accessible to him. Doubt remained in the air. Kai still questioned his claim. Who would voluntarily go into captivity? Bai smiled slyly, hinting that this was part of a larger path. Suspicion flared when Kai remembered another man, and Bai's mood instantly changed. Instead of a confident smile came anxiety, because he realized that someone important had been moved. Shock said that person, as explained, was the keystone that held the balance of the world. Kai insisted further. If Bai truly saw the future, then he must have known what awaited that keystone. Bai said they had not gone far. He believed they were still in the cathedral, although the room was in a miserable state. Accusations flew. Kai suspected that someone from inside was leaking information, but calmly replied that any military operation requires support from within. With a smile piecing together the facts, it became clear. Someone leaked information, including the status of the Forbidden Island, which caused. Caught off guard, Kai panicked inside. He almost revealed the truth with just a grimace, but barely held back. Rosa screamed in shock. Kai hit his head on the chair in confusion, and Bai's deduction proved too accurate. His smile said he knew everything.